After transmigrating into a world of martial fantasy, Shen Linfeng was immediately cast aside by his fiancée, Jiang Shurui. That alone would have been tolerable, but she also conspired with her lover to annihilate his entire clan. At the moment of extreme despair, Shen Linfeng bound himself to the Divine Skill Enhancement System. It granted a quadrillion starting points, enough to max out every divine skill. Location: the mountain forest outside Guangping City. Zhufeng, Commander Yanzhou of the Great Yin Dynasty. Chase him. Don't let Shen Linfeng get away. His head is worth 1,000 taels of silver. Kill him, and we brothers will get rich. The lofty young master of the Shen family has come to this. Truly the wheel of fortune turns. Deep in the forest, Shen Linfeng fled with one hand clutching his wounded lower abdomen, while 3 burly men chased behind him. The 3 men wore standard martial robes with the character Jiang embroidered on their shoulders, marking them as Jiang family warriors. A poisoned arrow shot through the dense forest toward him. Shen Linfeng dodged the poisoned arrow with a sliding lunge and rolled behind a tree. 2 more poisoned arrows struck the trunk a heartbeat later. Young Master Shen, there's no point in running. The burly man carrying a crossbow charged over and gave a vicious grin. You're at the end of the road. Come out and accept death, and we brothers might give you a quick end. As he spoke, the man signaled with his eyes. The other 2 moved around from left and right to encircle him. Die. They both lunged behind the tree and slashed, only to find that no one was there. At that moment, a saber light flashed above their heads. Shen Linfeng leaped down from the tree. The blade gleamed once, and both pursuers fell. What? The crossbow wielder's face changed dramatically. He pulled the trigger at once, sending another poisoned arrow flying. Shen Linfeng hurled his horizontal saber. The saber collided with the poisoned arrow in midair, split it in 2, and pierced the big man's chest. He collapsed. Shen Linfeng stepped forward, pulled out his saber, turned, and walked away. After fleeing all the way into the night, Shen Linfeng hid in a cave. 18 years since I was reborn. I thought I wouldn't have to walk the orphan protagonist road. I never expected annihilation to come anyway. Shen Linfeng fetched some wound-healing salve, applied it to his injury, and let his thoughts drift. He was a transmigrator reborn in this world 18 years ago. This was a high martial fantasy world. In the Jianghu, powerful warriors could fly through the sky and burrow into the earth, split a mountain with a single sword strike, and divide a river with one palm. The strongest could sweep through 1,000-strong army alone and stand against an entire nation. Shen Linfeng had been born into a martial arts family. He never had to worry about food or clothing, and his warrior father taught him martial arts from childhood. He trained hard and possessed a fair amount of talent. Starting at age 5, he practiced through cold winters and hot summers, 13 years as steady as a single day. At only 18, he had reached the 9th layer of the acquired realm with but one step left to the innate realm. In this world, martial realms from low to high were body tempering, acquired, innate, true yuan, true gang, heavenly, human, and dharma aspect. Shen Linfeng's father Shen Tianqi was a powerful innate realm martial artist. He broke through to the 9th layer of the acquired realm at 18. His father often boasted about it, saying he had the potential to reach true yuan and even true gang, and would one day lead the Shen family to glory. But all of it was destroyed by his fiancée Jiang Shurui. The Jiang family and the Shen family were both innate families with many years of close friendship. They had arranged the engagement long ago. They only needed to wait until both were old enough to unite the 2 families. Not long ago, however, Jiang Shurui became involved with Zhou Mingyu, a true disciple of the Golden Blade Sect. Zhou Mingyu was not only an innate realm expert, he also came from an extraordinary background, being the son of the 3rd elder of the sect. With such a powerful backer, of course, Jiang Shurui looked down on Shen Linfeng. The Jiang family had been scheming to break off the engagement all along. Father Shen Tianqi was furious, but since Zhou Mingyu's backing was too formidable, he could only swallow his anger. Shen Linfeng was never a fawning suitor of Jiang Shurui, and he did not care much about the engagement. She was only one woman. The Jianghu was full of famous female heroes and refined ladies. As long as he was strong enough, a real man would never lack a wife. If she wanted to annul the engagement, fine. He would not shout 30 years east of the river, 30 years west. Never bully a youth who is poor. Shen Linfeng believed that as long as he trained hard, the day of vindication would come. Today you look down on me. Tomorrow you won't even be worthy to reach me. But he had underestimated Jiang Shurui's venom and ruthlessness. That woman was not only a sweet-faced schemer, but also a black widow. To avoid the infamy of breaking off a marriage in bad faith, and to prevent Shen Linfeng from ever taking revenge for the insult, she convinced her lover, Zhou Mingyu, to uproot the Shen family and wipe out the whole clan. 3 nights ago, Jiang Shurui led Zhou Mingyu and many experts in an assault on the Shen estate. The Shen family was massacred. Over 100 people, guards, servants, and maids, were killed. He still remembered Jiang Shurui's cold expression and icy words while she ordered the killing. Shen Linfeng, you are unworthy of me. For the reputation and future of the Jiang family, die obediently. For the sake of being your fiancé, you should be willing to die for me. He also remembered Zhou Mingyu's arrogant attitude. A base little innate family actually produced an 18-year-old ninth-layer acquired warrior. What right do you have? You are unworthy of such talent and unworthy of an engagement with Shurui. These 2 points alone are enough to earn you death. To die under my blade is an honor for your entire Shen family. To protect Shen Linfeng, father Shen Tianqi stayed behind to cover his escape, and his fate became unknown. Shen Linfeng fled the city through a secret survival passage only to be chased into the mountain forest by the Jiang family. He had fled for 3 days, his body already covered with wounds. Jiang Shurui, Zhou Mingyu. Merely thinking of those two made hatred rush through Shen Linfeng like a flood. His hatred turned into fire blazing in his pupils. As he was pondering revenge and how to shake off his pursuers, a soft ding suddenly echoed in his ear. Binding Divine Skill Enhancement System. Binding complete. Welcome, host, to the Divine Skill Enhancement System. You damned system, why did you have to come this late? I have been reborn for 18 years. Shen Linfeng could not help swearing. If you had come earlier, how could my Shen family have been annihilated? He took several deep breaths and gradually calmed down. He knew this could not be blamed on the system. If anything, it was his talent that had been insufficient. If he had broken through to True Yuan at 18, he would have crushed the likes of Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui long ago. System, what functions do you have? Ding. This system is the Divine Skill Enhancement System. The host can spend points on any martial skill already learned until it reaches max level. Shen Linfeng nodded in understanding. He had seen many point allocation systems in his previous life. Do I have to complete missions or kill enemies to earn points? No. Would this system be such an inconvenient thing? The system starts with 1,000,000,000 points, and it replenishes however many the host spends. This is the attribute panel. Please take a look. Name Shen Linfeng. Realm acquired 9th layer. Cultivation methods: Blazing Sun Art Fragment, 3rd tier, 7 styles of breaking the army mastered, void treading step mastered. Points 1,000,000. 1,000,000,000 points right from the start, and it replenishes as I spend. This point allocation system is even more powerful than I imagined. The points were equivalent to infinity, impossible to use up. Without hesitation, Shen Linfeng ordered max out all 3 martial arts I practice. The order was given. Ding. System allocating points. Blazing Sun Art has broken through to the 4th layer of Great Completion. 7 styles of the Army Breaker has broken through to Mastery and Great Completion. Void Ascension Steps has broken through to Mastery and Great Completion. The Blazing Sun Art, the 7 styles of the Army Breaker, and the Void Ascension Steps were all ancestral martial arts of the Shen family. Among them, the Blazing Sun Art was an internal cultivation method. Cultivating it to the 4th layer of Great Completion would allow one to break through to the 2nd stage of the Xiantian realm. It was only upon examining his attribute panel that he realized the Blazing Sun Art he cultivated was actually an incomplete manual. His father had never mentioned this to him. The 7 styles of the Army Breaker was a saber technique, while the Void Ascension Steps was a movement technique. As the Blazing Sun Art reached the 4th layer of Great Completion, Shen Linfeng felt a sudden surge of internal energy within his dantian. This internal energy was tempestuous and boundless, at least 10 times more powerful than his previous strength. Without a moment's hesitation, he immediately sat cross-legged and began circulating the Blazing Sun Art. The internal energy coursed through his meridians, flowing throughout his body and penetrating his Ren and Du channels. It transformed into Xiantian True Qi, seeping from his pores to form a protective barrier of True Qi over his skin. As Shen Linfeng circulated his Xiantian True Qi, the wounds on his body began to heal rapidly. Though it was not quite the instantaneous regeneration of flesh visible to the naked eye, it was several times faster than before. After the True Qi completed 36 cosmic cycles, Shen Linfeng suddenly snapped his eyes open. Bringing his fingers together, he thrust them forward. With a sharp hiss, a beam of True Qi shot from his fingertips, striking a fragment of stone a foot away and reducing it to fine powder. Projecting True Qi outside the body to shatter gold and sever jade. This was the hallmark of a Xiantian martial artist. Looking at his attribute panel, once more he had indeed broken through to the 2nd stage of the Xiantian realm. Name Shen Linfeng. Realm 2nd stage of Xiantian. Techniques: Blazing Sun Art, incomplete 4th layer of Great Completion, 7 styles of the Army Breaker, Great Completion, Void Ascension Steps, Great Completion. Points 1,000,000,000. So strong. This is the power of a Xiantian martial artist. Feeling the overflowing True Qi within his dantian, Shen Linfeng's heart surged with emotion. In a mere matter of moments, his strength had surpassed even his father's. He finally possessed the power to seek vengeance. A cold glint flashed in Shen Linfeng's eyes. Jiang Shurui, Zhou Mingyu, and everyone in the Jiang family. All of you deserve to die. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Suddenly Shen Linfeng's ears twitched slightly as he caught a faint sound of footsteps. A Xiantian martial artist possessed exceptionally sharp senses. Even footsteps 50 meters away could be heard with absolute clarity. In the dead silence of the night, his hearing extended even further, reaching up to 100 meters. He knew his pursuers had undoubtedly caught up. Grasping his horizontal saber, Shen Linfeng executed the void ascension steps, gliding out of the cave like a spectral shadow. With a light tap of his toes, he leapt onto a massive tree, concealing himself within the dense foliage. The entire process did not make the slightest sound. The realms of martial techniques were divided into 4 stages: novice, proficient, mastery, and great completion. Previously, his void ascension steps was merely at the proficient stage, leaving him with slow speed and heavy footsteps. But now that the technique had reached great completion, his speed was several times faster and his steps were as light as a feather. Fixing his gaze, he saw 4 flickering torches in the forest some 60 to 70 meters away, slowly drawing closer. From a distance, the faint sound of a conversation drifted over. Who knows where Shen Linfeng has run off to? Is that kid part monkey? How can he run so fast? The once aloof young master of the Shen family reduced to a stray dog overnight. What a splendid show. To dare oppose young master Zhou, the Shen family courted their own destruction. They deserve to die. Young master Zhou originally intended to let matters rest, and the young mistress even pleaded on his behalf. It was Shen Linfeng who wouldn't let it go, ultimately provoking young master Zhou. "Sai, isn't it better to just stay alive? Why must he seek death? If we can kill him and bring his head back for the reward, we'll make a handsome sum." The 4 were all martial artists of the Jiang family. Holding torches in one hand and sabers in the other, they walked in pairs, chatting as they advanced. They were fairly vigilant, sweeping the bushes with their blades and scanning their surroundings, alert to any movement. Unfortunately, none of them noticed Shen Linfeng's presence. Appearing noiselessly behind the 4, he unsheathed his horizontal saber, slicing through the pitch-black night and leaving a trail of silver light. Shing! A flash of blade light erupted and 2 bloody heads soared into the sky. "Old Zhaoyu! Holy shit!" One of the men in front turned to speak, only to witness Shen Linfeng decapitating his companions. He was instantly scared out of his wits. Before he could finish his sentence, Shen Linfeng closed the distance and brought his blade down in a head-on strike. The blade struck squarely between the man's eyebrows, cleaving his body in 2. The halves flew apart to either side, spraying fresh blood all over the face of the last remaining man. The last man collapsed onto the ground in terror, pointing a trembling finger at Shen Linfeng. "Why you? A pungent stench of urine filled the air as a large wet stain spread across the man's crotch. His face cold as frost, Shen Linfeng stared down at him indifferently and barked, "I ask you answer. Dare to lie to me, and I will skin you alive." Trembling with fear, the man begged frantically, "Young Master Shen, spare my life. Spare my life. I was only following orders." "Shut up." Shen Linfeng slapped the flat of his horizontal saber against the man's face, demanding coldly, "How many pursuers did the Jiang family send? Who is leading them? Where are Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui?" The man answered in a rush. Over 30 people came, led by the second master along with 2 of young master Zhou's junior brothers. As for young master Zhou and the young mistress, I don't know. What about my father? Is he still alive? This. The man stammered, unable to utter a coherent word, clearly having no idea either. After all, he was merely a low-level lackey and capable of providing much useful information. Shen Linfeng decisively swung his blade, severing the man's head. After the slaughter, he did not bother looting the bodies. Such minor lackeys would have nothing of value on them. As the young master of the Shen family, he still carried banknotes, even while fleeing. A few measly pieces of silver were not even worth the effort of searching their corpses. "Before I annihilate the Jiang family, I shall collect some interest first." Shen Linfeng looked into the depths of the forest, where faint sparks of fire were barely visible in the pitch-black night. Those people were all pursuers from the Jiang family. Taking a step forward, his figure flickered and vanished into the dark woods. Before long, Shen Linfeng had already slipped behind the Jiang family's pursuers. The pursuers were all merely Hotian martial artists, so it was naturally impossible for them to detect his presence. Leading them was a middle-aged man dressed in tight-fitting martial attire. He had a burly build and rugged features, and he was rolling 2 iron balls in his hand. Illuminated by the firelight, a scar on his left cheek resembled a centipede, adding a touch of ferocity to his face. Behind him were 2 young men, one tall, one short, one thin, one stout. Both wore arrogant expressions, occasionally curling their lips in impatience as they watched the searching Jiang family martial artists. Concealed in the shadows, Shen Linfeng recognized the middle-aged man as none other than the second master of the Jiang family, Jiang Zhonghai. He was the younger brother of the Jiang family head, Jiang Zhongwei, and a martial artist of the 9th stage of the Hotian realm. Back when the 2 families were on good terms, Jiang Zhonghai had shown Shen Linfeng the utmost care and affection. Wherever he went, he would always say that Shen Linfeng was the ideal son-in-law of the Jiang family. Yet once Jiang Shurui began fawning over Zhou Mingyu, he was also the quickest to turn hostile. On the night of the massacre, Shen Linfeng had witnessed with his own eyes Jiang Shurui joining forces with Zhou Mingyu's two junior brothers to slaughter several Houtian martial artists of the Shen family. The two young men currently following Jiang Shurui were precisely Zhou Mingyu's junior brothers. Search thoroughly. We must find that little beast Shen Linfeng. Jiang Shurui barked coldly, and the surrounding martial artists hastily complied. The tall, thin disciple could not help but curse under his breath. How long is this search going to take? We have no time to waste on such trivial matters. What else can we do? The short, stout disciple sighed helplessly. Senior brother Zhou gave the order. We must bring back Shen Linfeng's head. Why? Do you dare to disobey? The tall, thin disciple's face stiffened, left utterly speechless. The rules of the Jindao sect were strict, and its internal hierarchy was absolute. Zhou Mingyu was a true disciple, while they were merely inner disciples. When Zhou Mingyu issued an order, they had no choice but to obey. Not to mention Zhou Mingyu was the son of the third elder, possessing an esteemed status. If they failed to execute the task properly, who knew how Zhou Mingyu might make their lives miserable? The tall, thin disciple suddenly spat. If only that little beast Shen Linfeng had just quietly accepted his death, it would have saved us from wasting our time here, feeding mosquitoes on this mountain in the dead of night. I'd rather be at the pleasure house listening to music. The short, stout disciple chuckled. I heard that Shen Linfeng is only 18 this year, yet he is already a martial artist of the 9th layer of the Houtian realm. With such extraordinary talent, he is a rare genius, even stronger than senior brother Zhou. To have the chance to kill a genius like that feeding a few mosquitoes is no big deal. Hearing this, the tall, thin disciple nodded and sneered. You have a point. I've long wanted to taste the thrill of tormenting and killing a genius. They say it's far more satisfying than sleeping with a courtesan. As they spoke, they continued their search forward. With eyes as cold as ice, Shen Linfeng leaped down from the treetops, swiftly gliding behind two Jiang family martial artists. A bleak, cold flash of a blade flickered and vanished in an instant. The heads of the two Jiang family martial artists flew into the air, and their bodies collapsed to the ground dead. Having slain the two, Shen Linfeng dashed out at lightning speed, charging toward the others. The falling corpses rustled against the bushes, producing a soft, sha-sha sound that caught the attention of two other Jiang family martial artists. They turned their heads, catching sight of the exact moment their comrades collapsed. Old Zhang, old Wang Yu. Their faces paled in instant shock, but before they could finish their words, a cold, sharp blade light flashed across their eyes. Immediately after, their heads soared into the air, their vision spinning wildly. Watch out! A Jindao sect disciple roared in warning, and Jiang Shurui instantly went on high alert. Cold light flickered in his eyes as he whipped his head back. He saw no one striking, yet the heads of the two Jiang family martial artists had flown off on their own. He's over there. Use the torches. Find him. Jiang Shurui bellowed, pointing toward a patch of shadow. The remaining Jiang family martial artists waved their torches to search the area, but Shen Linfeng had already vanished without a trace. Executing the void-faring steps, his figure moved like a specter. Darting and leaping back and forth, not a single soul could detect his tracks. At this very moment, the dark night was his ultimate shroud. Puff! Puff! Up! Screams rang out one after another as the Jiang family martial artists fell one by one, all of them decapitated and left with mangled bodies. In the blink of an eye, everyone Jiang Shurui had brought was dead. He stood frozen in place, his limbs icy cold, his mind and body filled with dread as his hair stood on end. He was terrified that the hidden assailant would sever his head in the very next instant. The two Jindao sect disciples were also horrified, standing back to back with their scimitars drawn, fully on guard. Which senior is present? I am Jiang Shurui of the Jiang family. If I have offended you in any way, I beg for your forgiveness, senior. Jiang Shurui cupped his fists, shouting respectfully into the surrounding darkness. He did not suspect that the killer was Shen Linfeng. Instead, he believed they had accidentally provoked a hidden master. After all, a mere Shen Linfeng could not possibly possess such strength. The two Jindao sect disciples also shouted, "We are disciples of the Jindao sect. We pray that senior will show some leniency out of respect for our sect. If we have unwittingly trespassed upon senior's domain, we shall leave immediately." The two believed that with the backing of the Jindao sect, even if the hidden attacker was a Xiantian master, they would still hesitate. Yet the moment the words left their mouths, a cold blade light erupted behind them. Clang! A flash of steel, two strikes in an instant, and two bloody arms soared into the air. The two Jindao sect disciples shrieked in agony, stumbling and falling to their knees. This is bad. Jiang Shurai's expression changed drastically. Stamping his foot, he immediately tried to flee. However, an icy voice echoed right behind him. "Old dog, do you still remember me?" Jiang Shurai's eyes widened, his pupils shrinking as his body turned rigid. How could he fail to recognize Shen Linfeng's voice? Impossible. You. Aunt. A flash of the blade swept past, severing Jiang Shurai's right arm. The severed arm hit the ground, the hand twitching, clenching and unclenching as two iron balls rolled away. Jiang Zhonghai stumbled backward, clutching the stump of his severed arm. With his left hand, his face contorted in agony. Your strength. You have broken through to the Xiantian realm. Jiang Zhonghai stared at Shen Linfeng in horror, his eyes filled not only with dread, but also utter disbelief. Never in his wildest dreams did he expect that Shen Linfeng, who had been hunted with nowhere left to run, would actually break through to the Xiantian realm in this desperate situation. An 18-year-old Xiantian master. Such a feat had never occurred in Guangping City for hundreds of years. Even in the history of the Jingdao sect, no such peerless genius had ever been born. Shen Linfeng stepped forward, his face as cold as frost. When you destroyed my Shen family, did you ever think, you old dog, that you would fall into my hands, eh? And you too, aiding this tyrant in his evil deeds, you deserve to die as well. Shen Linfeng glared at the three armless, defeated dogs, his eyes overflowing with murderous intent. Shen Linfeng, how dare you sever my arm? You are finished. No one in heaven or earth can save you. The tall, thin disciple roared savagely. Senior brother Zhou will not let you off, and neither will the Jingdao sect. The short, stout man also bellowed. Still boasting when death is at your doorstep. Shen Linfeng swung his blade. His Xiantian true qi transformed into a sharp blade, energy splitting into two as it shot from the edge, sweeping across the remaining intact arms of the two disciples. The 7 forms of the army breaker troops inspection on the battlefield. Along with 2 agonizing screams, another 2 bloody arms soared into the air. Opt. The 2 howled against the trees, their faces twisted in hideous agony, like malevolent demons, their legs kicking wildly and tearing up the dirt. The pain of losing both arms penetrated deep into their bones, far beyond what ordinary men could endure. We are not done yet. You destroyed my Shen family and slaughtered my kinsmen. Do not think you will get a quick death. Shen Linfeng swung his blade once more, severing both of their legs. Shen Linfeng, you will die a horrible death. You bastard. Lowborn. Beast. The Jingdao sect will never let you off. You will surely be sliced into 1,000 pieces and minced into meat. The 2 Jingdao sect disciples shrieked in utter despair. As blood gushed from their wounds, their breathing grew weaker and weaker. They never imagined in their wildest dreams that they would be mutilated into human stumps. Nephew, spare my life. Jiang Zhonghai was terrified to his core. Without another word, he fell to his knees, begging for mercy. Nephew, I watched you grow up. I even treated you to the pleasure houses before. Destroying the Shen family was the idea of my elder brother Jiang Zhongwei. I tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. Nephew, if you want to kill someone, go kill him. Please do not kill me. And Jiang Shurui. She and Jiang Zhongwei, father and daughter, have hearts as venomous as vipers. They are the true culprits behind the destruction of the Shen family. Shen Linfeng's face contorted in disgust. Betraying your own kin just to cling to life. Your Jiang family truly is a pack of beasts, worse than pigs and dogs. Speak. What happened to my father? And Zhou Mingyu? Is he still with the Jiang family? Young Master Zhou. I know Zhou Mingyu has already returned to the Jingdao sect with Jiang Shurui. As for Patriarch Sheni, what happened to my father? Though he had long suspected it in his heart, Shen Linfeng still clung to a sliver of hope, having not witnessed his father's death with his own eyes. He reasoned that even if the Jiang family captured him alive and subjected him to endless torment, it would be enough to know his father was still living. Once he wiped out the Jiang family, he would naturally be able to rescue his father. But judging by Jiang Zhonghai's hesitant demeanor, that 1 in 10,000 hope was also gone. Old dog, you all deserve to die. In a rage, Shen Linfeng swung his blade and severed Jiang Zhonghai's left arm. Off. Spare me. Spare my life. I was wrong, I'll never dare do this again. With both arms severed, blood gushed forth. Jiang Zhonghai knew he was dying, yet he continued to cry out for mercy. His desperate will to survive and paralyzing fear drove him to crawl across the ground, chin buried in the mud, legs kicking as he inched his way forward. Shen Linfeng approached with a chilling voice. You don't realize you were wrong. You realize you're about to die. As he spoke, Shen Linfeng swept his blade horizontally, severing Jiang Zhonghai's legs and leaving him as maimed as before. You little beast, neither my Jiang family nor the Golden Blade Sect will let you live. You've offended Lord Zhou and slain disciples of the Golden Blade Sect. You'll meet a far worse fate than mine. Your father, that old bastard, died long ago, and you'll follow him shortly. This old man awaits you in hell. Knowing he wouldn't survive, Jiang Zhonghai unleashed his most vicious curses. Shen Linfeng spoke coldly. I'll send your entire Jiang clan to join you. They won't escape. Swish. The blade swept through, and Jiang Zhonghai's head hit the ground. His eyes remained open, filled with resentment and despair, unable to close in death. After killing Jiang Zhonghai, Shen Linfeng decapitated the 2 Golden Blade Sect disciples and began searching their bodies. He found several silver notes on Jiang Zhonghai and additional notes on the 2 disciples, totaling over 1,000 taels of silver. Among the belongings was a manual. Under the firelight, Shen Linfeng opened it to read. The manual was titled Sharp Metal Art, the Golden Blade Sect's exclusive internal cultivation method. Unfortunately, the manual was incomplete, containing only the first 7 stages. Reaching the 7th stage would allow advancement to the first level of the innate realm. The sect likely withheld the complete techniques from inner disciples to prevent the methods from leaking outside. To cultivate the remaining techniques, one must first break through to the innate realm. At that moment, the system's voice resonated. Ding, internal cultivation method detected. Do you wish to cultivate it? Shen Linfeng furrowed his brow and asked inwardly, I've already mastered the blazing sun art. Would cultivating the sharp metal art alongside it create conflicts between the 2 internal methods? It was well known that cultivating multiple internal methods simultaneously was inadvisable. Different internal arts generated different forms of internal strength and true qi. Practicing 2 internal arts at once risked having opposing qi clash, potentially driving a martial artist into a state of deviation. The consequences range from severe cultivation loss to complete destruction of one's martial abilities. In the worst cases, it could result in paralysis, permanent disability, or even death. Thus, martial artists who reached an impasse in their cultivation would seek alternative arts compatible with their existing internal foundation, but of higher rank to transition toward. This approach could sidestep the dangers of qi deviation, yet compatible internal methods were exceedingly rare. Even when discovered, they were either beyond one's means or simply unattainable. Renowned sects and martial lineages alike guarded their internal cultivation techniques and combat skills as priceless treasures, never casually releasing them. Any outsider caught attempting to steal such knowledge would face relentless pursuit until death. The internal arts appearing at auctions invariably commanded exorbitant prices. Innate level cultivation techniques were valued at no less than 50,000 taels of silver. Dinghos need not worry. With the system's assistance, cultivating any number of internal methods will never lead to qi deviation. Not only can the cultivated qi be perfectly merged, but as more internal methods are combined, the resulting techniques can evolve. Shen Linfeng's eyes lit up. He hadn't realized the system possessed this ability to merge and upgrade divine arts beyond merely allocating points. If that was the case, what was there to hesitate over? System, immediately cultivate the sharp metal art to maximum level, then integrate it with the blazing sun art. Ding host is cultivating sharp metal art incomplete. Allocating system points. Sharp metal art breaking through to the 1st stage, 2nd stage, 3rd stage. 7th stage. Merging techniques, upgrading blazing sun art. Upgrade successful. Boom. A surge of true qi erupted from his dantian, flowing powerfully through his extraordinary meridians and all 40 bones. Shen Linfeng formally broke through to the 3rd stage of the innate realm. He channeled the blazing sun art and unleashed his true qi to snap a massive tree, sensing the power of his blazing true qi had increased by roughly 10%. After merging with the sharp metal art, the blazing sun art had evolved. Though it still possessed only 4 stages, reaching perfection would enable him to break through to the 3rd stage of the innate realm. Name Shen Linfeng. Realm 3rd stage of innate. Techniques, blazing sun art 4th stage perfection, broken army 7 forms perfection, Lingshu step perfection. Points 100 trillion. So as long as I continue acquiring new techniques and merging them to level up, my cultivation can keep breaking through. True Yuan, true gang, heavenly, human dharma aspect. No bottlenecks whatsoever. At this moment, ambition surged through Shen Linfeng's heart, hot blood rushing to his skull. He stowed the manual in his chest, then strode away, vanishing into the darkness. Not long after he departed, a pack of hungry wolves closed in from all sides, drawn by the scent of blood. The corpses in the forest were torn apart by the wolf pack and devoured. Swish, swish, swish. Shen Linfeng employed Lingshu's step, darting swiftly through the forest. Now stepping lightly upon leaves, now soaring through the air to land upon towering trees, he leaped between branches, racing back to Guangping City at full speed. At dawn the following day, Shen Linfeng returned to Guangping City. Rather than charging into the Jiang estate directly, he waited until midnight to strike. Attacking during daylight would likely allow some to escape. As midnight approached, the night watchman struck his clappers, calling out each time, "Dry weather watch for fires." A full moon hung high above, bathing the entire city in silver light that dispelled the darkness. At that moment, a dark cloud drifted overhead and settled directly above the Jiang estate, blocking the moonlight. As an innate family, the Jiang mansion was magnificent. The grounds spanned a vast area divided into front, middle, and inner courtyards. At the main entrance stood 2 vermilion lacquered doors adorned with 8 large red lanterns, their glow piercing through the night. Flanking the gate were 2 stone lions, each accompanied by 2 post-natale cultivators on watch through the night. By the witching hour, even post-natale cultivators felt the weight of exhaustion. The 4 guards yawned, repeatedly slapped their cheeks, and swatted at mosquitoes as heavy eyelids drooped. One guard leaned against a stone lion, addressing the others, "Hold the fort for a moment. I can't keep my eyes open any longer." Another growled, "Are you trying to get yourselves killed?" If the elders catch us slacking off during the night watch, we're looking at 30 lashes minimum. Even if we survive, we'll be bettered in for a month. The man yawned and replied carelessly, "It's nearly midnight already. The elders have long since retired with their consorts. What energy would they have to concern themselves with us? He's worked himself ragged all night. He's sleeping sounder than a log right now." The third man shook his head, saying, "These few days are different. We have only just annihilated the Shen family, so we must remain vigilant tonight. Indeed, I heard that even the elders and even the family head himself must take turns on the night watch." The slacking guard sneered, "What? Are you actually afraid that Shen Linfeng will return to seek vengeance?" He let out a disdainful cold snort. Shen Linfeng has long since become a stray dog. Even if he managed to escape the pursuit, he would never dare return to Guangping City. Rest easy. Just as his words left his mouth, an icy, indifferent voice suddenly echoed from behind. "Are you looking for me?" Clang. A flash of blade light erupted instantly, leaving a silver arc suspended in the void. The silver beam stretched from the stone lion on the left to the one on the right, slicing through the necks of all 4 night guards in a single continuous line. Shen Linfeng flicked his blade to shed the blood sheathed it, and leaped over the wall into the Jiang residence. Behind him, bloody gashes split open simultaneously across the necks of the 4 night guards, and their heads tumbled to the ground. Astounded expressions remained frozen on the 4 faces. Having infiltrated the Jiang residence, Shen Linfeng unleashed a merciless slaughter. Cutting his way from the forecourt to the inner courtyard, he spared no one he encountered, even those asleep in their rooms. Regardless of gender or age, all were put to the sword. Even the Jiang family's guard dogs were not spared. Finally, the martial artist on patrol duty for the Jiang family spotted Shen Linfeng and charged toward him in a murderous frenzy. "It's Shen Linfeng. You actually dare to return. You walk right into our trap, seeking death. Brothers, kill him. Take his head to the family head for a reward." Jiang family martial artists surged from all directions, swarming to besiege Shen Linfeng. Drawing his blade, Shen Linfeng channeled his Xiantian true qi onto the edge and plunged into the crowd, unleashing a torrent of spraying blood. Mustering troops on the battlefield. With a single strike, his Xiantian true qi erupted and split into 7 blade auras, cleaving 7 Jiang family martial artists in half. 10,000 galloping horses. His blade swept horizontally through the air, flashing past 4 surrounding martial artists as their heads soared into the sky. The 7 army breaking styles were born from the slaughter of military formations, hence he feared group battles least of all. Among the 7 blade styles, 4 were lethal area of effect techniques. Shen Linfeng had cultivated the army-breaking blade technique to the state of great perfection, achieving the unity of man and blade. Unleashing it now against the siege, he resembled a military general sweeping across a battlefield, slaughtering all common soldiers in his path. Wherever his blade passed, heads rolled, and severed limbs flew quickly, throwing the Jiang family martial artists into utter chaos and ruin. Corpses and fresh blood dyed the ground red, not a single body remained intact. If a martial artist of the 9th layer of the Hodian realm were to be surrounded, they would eventually be worn down and killed. However, a Xiantian martial artist possessed vast, boundless true qi. Moreover, the Blazing Sun true qi cultivated from the Blazing Sun art was endless and self-sustaining, more than enough to support Shen Linfeng in prolonged combat. The average strength of this group of martial artists was merely the 4th or 5th layer of the Hodian realm. Killing them was as effortless as slaughtering chickens. Oh no. He has already broken through to the Xiantian realm. We are no match for him. Quick, go report to the family head. At this moment, the main hall of the Jiang family was brightly lit with candles. The candlelight flickered gently in the breeze, casting Jiang Zhongwei's shifting shadow against the wall. Sitting in the seat of honor, he tapped his fingers on the table, his expression somewhat dark. Why hasn't the second brother returned yet? It has already been 4 days. Has he still not dealt with that little beast? An elder smiled and said, "Rest assured, family head. That little beast was already gravely injured when he fled the Shen residence. Facing our Jiang family's pursuit, there is absolutely no way he could survive. The family head only needs to wait patiently. I believe the second master will return shortly with that little beast's head." Another elder chimed in, "Indeed, family head. The little beast is doomed to die. There is no need to worry at all." Jiang Zhongwei remained silent. As long as he did not receive confirmation of Shen Linfeng's death, he could not find peace of mind. Before Zhou Mingyu appeared, Shen Linfeng had been the ideal candidate for his son-in-law. He understood Shen Linfeng's martial talent better than anyone. Breaking through to the 9th layer of the Hodian realm at the age of 18, he was only half a step away from the Xiantian realm, showing clear potential to reach the true Yuan and true Gang realms. Had it not been for his daughter's stubborn insistence, he really would not have wanted to abandon Shen Linfeng in favor of Zhou Mingyu. Although Zhou Mingyu was a master at the 2nd layer of the Xiantian realm, even stronger than Jiang Zhongwei himself, he was already 28 years old, a full 10 years older than Shen Linfeng. In terms of talent, Zhou Mingyu fell far short of Shen Linfeng. By the time Shen Linfeng reached 28, his strength would likely far exceed the second layer of the Xiantian realm. Zhou Mingyu's only advantage over Shen Linfeng was the backing of the Golden Blade Sect. Jiang Shurai's initial thought was that since his daughter wanted to marry Zhou Mingyu, they could simply call off the engagement with the Shen family. There was no need to take things to such extremes. Yet his daughter had argued that Shen Linfeng possessed extraordinary martial talent and immense pride. Suffering the humiliation of a broken engagement today, he would surely seek revenge against the Jiang family once his strength advanced in the future. When that time came, it would be extremely difficult for the Jiang family to withstand him. Hearing this, Jiang Shurui found her words highly reasonable. It was better to be safe than sorry. If Shen Linfeng truly returned for vengeance in the future, setting aside whether the Jiang family would suffer casualties once word got out, the Jiang family would surely lose all face and become a laughingstock. Their peers in the Jianghu would all say that Jiang Shurui was blind, throwing away such an excellent son-in-law for nothing. People of the Jianghu live for their reputation, as sometimes face was more important than life itself. Jiang Shurui was naturally no exception. The more he pondered, the more uneasy he became, and the deeper the murderous intent grew in his heart. Ultimately, he resolved to cut the grass and pull up the roots, leaving no future troubles. At the same time, he could leverage Zhou Mingyu's influence to annex the entire Shen family. With the Golden Blade Sect as their backer, the Jiang family would become the premier clan of Guangping City. But now Shen Linfeng had escaped, and there had been no news of him for a long time, leaving Jiang Shurui unable to eat or sleep in peace. He certainly did not want a day to come when Shen Linfeng actually knocked on his door seeking vengeance. Just as Jiang Shurui was drowning in worry, a sudden din of battle cries and blood-curdling screams echoed from the forecourt. Immediately after, a shrill panic cry rang out from outside the hall. Family head. Disaster has struck. A blood-soaked martial artist burst into the hall, tripped over his own feet, and fell to his knees. He shrieked in terror at Jiang Shurui. Shen Linfeng is slaughtering his way in. What did you say? Jiang Shurui's face paled as he slammed his hands on the table and stood up abruptly. The two elders also bolted upright as if their seats had caught fire. Shen Linfeng is slaughtering his way in. How dare he? A mere stray dog. He spurns the road to heaven and forces his way into the gates of hell. Family head, this is the perfect opportunity to eliminate him once and for all. This time we must completely put an end to that little beast. The two elders glared with wide eyes, their gazes overflowing with murderous intent. Only Jiang Shurui remained with his brow tightly furrowed, the unease in his heart intensifying. He knew Shen Linfeng's character. Unless he possessed absolute confidence, why would he walk straight into a trap? Could he have broken through to the Xiantian realm? Jiang Shurui clenched his left fist, and with a sudden gesture of his right hand, he telekinetically drew the treasured sword from the hall. Before the three of them could even step out of the hall, several blood-curdling screams erupted outside. Immediately after, several figures smashed through the hall's windows and door frames, crashing heavily onto the floor. The corpses slid across the ground, knocking over 2 rows of chairs before finally coming to a halt at the feet of Jiang Shurui and the two elders. The messenger was extremely unlucky. He was sent flying by one of the crashing bodies, which broke his bones and caused him to vomit blood, dying on the spot. This, Jiang Ming, Jiang Tang, Jiang Hao. Looking at the corpses on the ground, the two elders felt their anger burn even hotter. For every single corpse lying before them was an elite martial artist of the Jiang clan. 3 days ago, during the annihilation of the Shen Clan, the Jiang clan had already suffered significant casualties. Now, with so many of their elites slaughtered by Shen Linfeng, barely 1/10 of the Jiang clan's martial artists remained. Their overall strength had deteriorated drastically from its former glory. Shen Linfeng appeared outside the main hall, his icy gaze locking onto Jiang Shurui. Old dog Jiang, I have returned. He slightly shifted the single-edged saber in his hand, its blade gleaming with a cold, menacing light. Blood dripped slowly from the blade's edge, leaving a trail of severed limbs and shattered bodies behind him. The night patrol martial artists of the Jiang clan had already been wiped out entirely by his hand. Little beast, you are indeed audacious to dare return here. It seems Zhonghai has already perished by your hand. Jiang Shurai's voice was low and menacing. Shen Linfeng replied indifferently. I severed his limbs first, then decapitated him, and finally fed his remains to a pack of wolves. I must say the people of your Jiang clan are beasts worse than pigs and dogs. To cling to his wretched life, Jiang Zhonghai knelt and begged pitifully. He not only deflected all the blame onto you, but also wept and shrieked, imploring me to come and kill you. What a touching display of brotherly love. Shen Linfeng's tone dripped with mockery. Jiang Shurui's brow furrowed, his grip tightening around the hilt of his sword. He did not doubt that Shen Linfeng was telling the truth. He knew exactly what kind of man his brother was. While Jiang Shurui managed to maintain his composure, the two elders could no longer restrain themselves. Little beast. Facing death, you still dare to spout such arrogance. This old man shall slaughter you. Die. Driven by fury, the two elders charged forward, simultaneously unleashing their attacks. The elder on the left lunged with his hands clawed, executing the eagle claw technique, a style that when mastered could crush human bones as easily as tofu. His claws struck out in tandem, targeting Shen Linfeng's vital acupoints. The elder on the right wielded a sword, thrusting his blade straight towards Shen Linfeng's heart. He was employing the Jiang clan's flowing cloud sword technique, a style renowned for its swiftness and ethereal agility. Both possessed the strength of the ninth layer of the Hotian realm, and their mastery of these techniques was merely proficient. To Shen Linfeng, their movements were riddled with flaws. Facing their lethal strikes, Shen Linfeng tapped his toes against the ground. Executing the Lingshu movement technique, his figure glided gracefully, weaving right between the two elders in the blink of an eye. A flash of saber light swept through the air, fierce as a raging fire, slicing cleanly across both of their necks. It was the beacon fire chains from the 7 army breaker styles. With a sickening squelch, two heads soared into the sky as geysers of blood erupted half a meter high. Before the headless corpses could even hit the ground, Jiang Shurui lunged at Shen Linfeng with his sword. True chi surged along the blade, unleashing a sudden burst of sword light. As the sword descended, a sharp gust of sword chi tore through the air, aiming directly between Shen Linfeng's brows. Shen Linfeng neither dodged nor retreated. Charging straight into the incoming sword chi, he executed the giant gate lock. Leaping into the air, he spun the saber in his palm, caught it in a reverse grip, and channeled his true chi to deliver a powerful diagonal slash. The saber chi tore through the void, not only obliterating the sword chi, but also surging forward with undiminished force straight toward Jiang Shurui. Not daring to underestimate the attack, Jiang Shurui immediately raised his sword horizontally to block. Yet upon blocking, he realized that the power of Shen Linfeng's saber chi was terrifyingly immense. The moment they clashed, the web of his thumb tore open, leaving his hand a bloody mess. Reeling from the agonizing pain, his own sword was forced back against his chest. With a sickening crack, his sternum shattered. Jiang Shurui threw his head back, spewing a mouthful of blood as he was sent flying backwards, slamming heavily into the wall of the main hall. With a loud thud, Jiang Shurui crashed to the floor, coughing up another mouthful of blood. Impossible. You have clearly just broken through to the Xiantian realm, so how can your true chi be so immense? Jiang Shurui stared at Shen Linfeng in utter disbelief, a flicker of terror crossing his eyes. Facing Shen Linfeng, he had actually been defeated in a single strike. Not only was his sternum shattered, but his internal organs were also severely damaged, stripping him of any ability to resist. Furthermore, the blazing sun true chi that had invaded his meridians was burning fiercely within him, like a raging fire, scorching his organs and causing him unbearable agony. He had fought Shen Tianqi before, and Shen Tianqi's blazing sun true chi was nowhere near as powerful as Shen Linfeng's. Stepping forward with an expressionless face, Shen Linfeng spoke coldly. I am not inclined to explain, and you are not worthy to hear it. I have only one question. Answer me honestly, and I will leave your corpse intact. Jiang Shurui eyes darted around before he suddenly let out a cold sneer. This old man knows what you want to ask. You want to ask about your father, don't you? Let me tell you, he is dead, pierced through the heart by my sword. Dead as can be. Upon hearing this, Shen Linfeng instantly flew into a rage. Facing death, you still dare to spout such filth? Soon I will throw you into a cesspool and drown you in it. He swung his saber, unleashing a crescent of blade chi that severed Jiang Shurui's right arm. Jiang Shurui let out a piercing shriek of agony, his entire body convulsing and thrashing as blue veins bulged on his neck and forehead, howling in excruciating pain. Where is my father's body? Shen Linfeng roared, a tempest of murderous intent swirling around him. Jiang Shurui clenched his teeth so hard they nearly shattered, staring at Shen Linfeng with a face full of venom. Do you truly believe this old man would tell you? Keep dreaming, for I shall say nothing. Though I must die today, Shurui will avenge me. You have annihilated my Jiang clan and slaughtered disciples of the Jindao sect. The Jindao sect will never let you off. As for your father, let him rot to ash in some desolate mountain ravine, doomed to wander as a lonely ghost forever. Having said that, Jiang Shurui raised his left hand, aiming to strike the crown of his own skull to commit suicide. Shen Linfeng's saber flashed like lightning, severing his left arm as well. Suicide? It won't be that easy. Speak. Where is my father's body? Shen Linfeng spat out each word through gritted teeth. With both arms severed, Jiang Shurui writhed in unbearable agony, screaming relentlessly. He convulsed on the ground, slamming his head against the stone floor in a desperate attempt to knock himself unconscious. Speak. Shen Linfeng stomped his foot onto Jiang Shurui's back, exerting continuous pressure until the bones throughout his body began to creak and groan. Just kill me. This old man will never say a word. Even as his internal organs were on the verge of being crushed to pieces, Jiang Shurui stubbornly refused to speak. He knew his death was inevitable and that the Jiang clan would be annihilated tonight. Yet before his demise he wanted to spite Shen Linfeng one last time. Indeed, you are powerful, truly formidable, wiping out my entire Jiang clan with nothing but a single blade. But so what? You are destined never to find your father's corpse. He will remain a wandering ghost for eternity. In this regard I have ultimately bested you. Fine. I did not expect an old dog like you to have such a stiff spine. Let us see just how stubborn you can be. Shen Linfeng gripped Jiang Shurui by the neck and tapped his acupoints to staunch the bleeding, preventing him from dying of blood loss. He then dragged him along as he charged into the inner courtyard of the Jiang estate. This was the residence of the female kin, housing the wives, concubines, and offspring of the Jiang clan's core members. Flee quickly. Shen Linfeng has breached the courtyard. Forget the jewelry. Our lives are more important. Without money, what is the point of escaping? How will we survive? Shen Linfeng stormed into the inner courtyard, witnessing middle-aged women fleeing in panic with children in tow, clutching bundles in their arms. As some stumbled, their bundles spilled onto the ground, scattering banknotes and precious jewelry. A young middle-aged woman knelt to gather the scattered banknotes when the light suddenly vanished, replaced by a dark shadow looming over her. Trembling with fear, she slowly raised her eyes only to meet a pair of cold, merciless eyes. "Spare my life, I." A blade flashed, and the young woman's head rolled to the ground. Shen Linfeng, clutching the grievously injured Jiang Shurui, hunted down the women and children of the Jiang family. He practiced the Lingshu step, his movements blindingly swift. Even while dragging one captive, his killings were relentless. "Spare me, spare my life. I am merely Jiang Shurui's concubine. Please have mercy on my child. He is only 4 years old. I will give you all the money. Do not kill me, do not kill me." The Jiang women and children knelt upon the ground, begging for mercy. Several middle-aged women clutched their children tightly to their chests, tears streaming down their faces as their bodies trembled uncontrollably. But Shen Linfeng's heart was as cold as iron, showing no mercy in his killings. One man, one blade. He slaughtered every woman and child without hesitation. For nights prior, the Shen family had been exterminated. The women and children of the Shen family had faced the same despair, if not worse. He had no right to show mercy. For every member of the Jiang family he spared, the wronged souls of the Shen family could never find peace. Jiang Shurui watched with a bleeding heart, yet gritted his teeth and remained silent. Shen Linfeng held Jiang Shurui, his gaze ice cold. The next moment, he burst into Jiang Shurui's chamber. The room was tastefully decorated with ink-wash landscape paintings hanging on the walls. Flower pots occupied the corners, their orchids emitting a faint, exquisite fragrance. Antique vases sat upon the bookshelves and desk. Jiang Shurui knew what Shen Linfeng was searching for and could not resist a mocking remark. "It is useless. They escaped through the secret passage long ago. You will never find them." The they Jiang Shurui referred to were his wife Zhao Fian and their 2 young sons. Unlike Shen Tianqi, who had only Shen Linfeng as his sole heir, Jiang Shurui had an elder daughter, Jiang Shurui, in addition to his 2 younger sons. The elder was Jiang Jinghong, 9 years old this year. The younger was Jiang Jingyun, only 6 years old. Among the women and children Shen Linfeng had just slaughtered, these 3 were conspicuously absent. "You speak too soon." Shen Linfeng scanned the room and walked directly to the western corner. He kicked a specific brick in the corner. The next moment the wall split open, revealing a hidden chamber. Jiang Shurui's eyes bulged with terror. You, how could you? How did I know about this secret room? Why could I even open it?" Shen Linfeng sneered. "This is all thanks to your precious daughter. When she was 7 and we became engaged, I visited the Jiang family for the first time. She dragged me to play hide and seek and gleefully shared the secret of this chamber with me. She said that whenever she played hide and seek with her family, she would always hide in here where no one could find her. That whore Jiang Shurui never imagined that her childhood game would cost her mother and 2 younger brothers their lives. I never expected that after all these years your secret room mechanism remained unchanged." Shen Linfeng's 6 senses were exceptionally keen. After the chamber door opened, he clearly heard 3 people breathing inside. "You are not afraid of death. But I wonder if your sons are afraid." Clutching Jiang Shurui, Shen Linfeng stepped into the secret chamber. The chamber was not small, yet there was nowhere to hide. Shen Linfeng immediately spotted Zhao Fian and the 2 boys huddled in the corner. Zhao Fian held her 2 sons, her face etched with terror. The 2 boys pressed their hands tightly over their mouths, desperately trying not to make a sound. Linfeng, are you really going to slaughter us all?" Zhao Fian was a middle-aged beauty. Though her years had passed, she had taken good care of herself. Her figure was voluptuous, her charm still intact. She gazed mournfully at Shen Linfeng, her eyes full of entreaty. "They are still children. Can you not show them mercy? I know the Jiang family wronged you, but you have killed enough. The entire Jiang family is dead. Only these 2 children remain. If you must kill me instead. I beg you to let them live. You watched them grow up. You even held them in your arms. Can you truly bring yourself to kill them?" Shen Linfeng's face remained expressionless as he shouted angrily, "Why should I not? Did you not spare a single child of the Shen family? Now you come here crying and pretending to be pitiful. Who are you trying to deceive? It only makes me sick." With that, Shen Linfeng threw Jiang Shurui aside and drew his broad blade, hurling it forward. With a sharp piercing sound, the blade struck true, impaling Zhao Fian through the chest and pinning her to the wall. "Wife!" Jiang Shurui screamed hoarsely, tears streaming from his eyes. "Mother! Mother!" The two young boys cried out desperately for their mother, but the dead cannot answer. The younger Jiang Jingyun shouted at Shen Linfeng, "Why did you kill my mother? You are a bad person, a villain. Shen Linfeng, even as a ghost, I will not let you go." Jiang Shurui stared at Shen Linfeng with bloodshot eyes, his gaze utterly ferocious, as if he wanted to tear him apart and devour him alive. If glances could kill, he would have already been riddled with holes. "Are you angry? Does your heart ache? When you exterminated my Shen family, you should have known this day would come. Tell me, where is my father's body? If you do not speak, I will turn your two sons into human swine." With that, Shen Linfeng seized the younger Jiang Jingyun and with a crisp crack, snapped his left arm. Jiang Jingyun let out a piercing scream, wailing in agony as tears streamed down his face. "Father, it hurts so much. Please save me, father, it hurts so much." Jiang Jinghong lunged forward, clutching Shen Linfeng's pant leg and begging, brother-in-law, please spare my younger brother. He knows nothing. He is innocent." Shen Linfeng kicked Jiang Jinghong away with such force that he vomited blood and crashed into the wall. "Do not call me brother-in-law. The sound makes me sick. He knows nothing. So you know everything." Shen Linfeng stared at Jiang Jinghong with icy eyes. Jiang Jinghong lay on the ground, spitting blood and weeping, trembling with fear. He kept his head lowered, daring not to look at Shen Linfeng again. "Stop! Stop it! Let them go." Jiang Shurui finally capitulated. "I will tell you where your father's body is. I will tell you everything. Just spare them. Speak." Jiang Shurui kept his head lowered, his chest heaving as he panted heavily. His voice was hoarse as he spoke. "After Shen Tianqi died, I ordered men to dump his body in the mass grave outside the city." "Where is the mass grave?" "To the west, beneath a withered locust tree." Shen Linfeng gripped Jiang Jingyun's arm so tightly that veins bulged on his neck. His face twisted into a hideous mask, his entire body shaking with rage. "Excellent. Excellent. Your Jiang family is truly ruthless." His voice was hoarse, thick with murderous intent. "You killed my father and abandoned his body in the wilderness, and now you expect me to spare your son. Old dog." Shen Linfeng roared, grabbed Jiang Jingyun's arm, and tore it clean off with a brutal wrench. Before the boy could scream again, Shen Linfeng seized his right arm and ripped it off as well. Jiang Jingyun's shriek echoed through the chamber, and the agony drove him into unconsciousness. Jiang Shurui watched with eyes nearly bursting from their sockets. "You little bastard. You." Before he could finish, Shen Linfeng gathered all his true energy and delivered a palm strike to the crown of Jiang Jingyun's head, crushing his skull. Blood sprayed and flesh splattered, coating Jiang Zhongwei's entire face. "Jingyun, my son." Tears streamed down Jiang Zhongwei's weathered face. Overwhelmed by grief, indignation, and despair, he violently spat out a mouthful of blood. He was already severely injured, his internal organs completely ravaged. Now, with fury consuming his heart, his wounds were aggravated even further. Despairing already. "We are not finished yet." Shen Linfeng cast aside Jiang Jingyun's corpse and turned his gaze toward Jiang Jinghong, who was trembling violently in the corner. Shuddering in sheer terror, Jiang Jinghong instantly wet himself. Brother-in-law, I beg you, spare my life. It has nothing to do with me, I know nothing. I will kowtow to you, please don't kill me, don't kill me." Jiang Jinghong knelt on the ground, kowtowing repeatedly, until his forehead split open, sending blood trickling down his cheeks. Shen Linfeng stared down at him and spoke coldly, "You want to live?" "Yes, I want to live. As long as you spare me, brother-in-law, I will do anything you ask." "Very well." Shen Linfeng pulled the saber from Zhao Fian's chest and threw it at Jiang Jinghong's feet. "Kill your father right now, and I shall spare you." "What? No. I can't. I can't do it." Stunned at first, Jiang Jinghong was instantly gripped by terror, his face turning deathly pale. "I cannot do that. He is my father, he is my father." Jiang Zhongwei roared furiously, "Shen Linfeng, you are worse than a beast. My son would never do such a thing, banish that thought. To force a son to murder his own father. You are more wicked than the fiends of the demonic cults. I was not wrong to slaughter your family. Your entire household consists of heretical monsters who deserve nothing but death." Ignoring Jiang Zhongwei's frantic barking, Shen Linfeng merely stared coldly at Jiang Jinghong. "If you do not kill your father, I will kill you and make your end no different from your brother's. You wouldn't want your limbs severed to be reduced to a human swine dying in agonizing torment, would you, eh? Go on, a simple thrust of the blade is all it takes. Your father won't blame you, he would gladly perish by your blade. He would do anything to save you." Glancing at his decapitated brother on the ground, Jiang Jinghong picked up the saber with a trembling hand and stumbled toward Jiang Zhongwei. Jiang Zhongwei's eyes widened in disbelief that his own son would truly try to kill him. Jinghong, wake up. He is lying to you. He is merely tormenting our family. You cannot do this. I am your father. Unwilling to die at the hands of his own son, Jiang Zhongwei tried to flee. However, with his arms severed and his acupoint sealed, he was utterly paralyzed and unable to evade. Jiang Jinghong approached Jiang Zhongwei. Though tears streamed down his face, a glimmer of ruthless resolve flashed deep within his eyes. He spoke in a trembling voice, "Father, to save my own life, I must betray you. You will forgive me, won't you? If there is a next life, I will surely repay you." With that, Jiang Jinghong raised the saber high and plunged it straight into Jiang Zhongwei's chest. Ugh! Groaning heavily, Jiang Zhongwei's eyes bulged as his body convulsed. His Adam's apple bobbed violently before a torrent of blood erupted from his throat, spraying directly onto Jiang Jinghong's face. He cast one final look at his son, his eyes filled with chilling despair, agony, and regret. Retribution. This is retribution. At this moment, Jiang Zhongwei finally felt regret. Regret for pushing things to such an absolute extreme. There was no deep-seated hatred between the two families. It was merely a trivial suspicion combined with his own petty ambition that had ultimately driven both families to ruin. To perish at the hands of his own biological son was truly a horrific tragedy. Splattered with his father's blood, Jiang Jinghong snapped back to reality and let go of the hilt in sheer panic. Terrified, he fell to the ground, kicking his legs frantically as he scrambled backward to distance himself from Jiang Zhongwei's corpse. I killed father. Tears welled up and spilled over. Staring at the blood on his hands, Jiang Jinghong hurriedly wiped them against his clothes. Yet no matter how hard he rubbed, the stains would not wash away. Shen Linfeng spoke mockingly. Indeed, even I did not expect that when I told you to kill your father you would actually do it. Your strike was steady, precise, and ruthless. A single fatal blow, clean and swift. With such seasoned technique, this is clearly not your first time taking a life. Then, brother-in-law, can you spare me now? I swear from this day forward I will obey your every command. I will be your dog, brother-in-law. Whoever you tell me to bite, I will bite. Jiang Jinghong knelt on the ground, pledging his loyalty and swearing a solemn oath. Shen Linfeng smiled grimly, his voice freezing cold. To commit patricide just to survive proves how ruthless and decisive you are. In the presence of the very foe who slaughtered your clan, you can endure humiliation and bow so submissively, showing your immense resilience and deep cunning. If I let you live, you will surely become a grave threat in the future. How could I possibly spare you? Jiang Jinghong's eyes widened in grief and indignation. But you just said that if I killed my father you would let me go. You cannot go back on your word. Is that so? Well, I happen to enjoy going back on my word. With that, Shen Linfeng struck the crown of Jiang Jinghong's head with his palm, shattering his skull and killing him instantly. With this, the entire Jiang clan was annihilated, leaving only Jiang Shurui, who had been taken away by Zhou Mingyu. Pulling the saber from Jiang Zhongwei's chest, he flicked off the blood and returned the blade to its sheath. Shen Linfeng began to ransack the secret chamber. This chamber was a refuge Jiang Zhongwei had prepared for his family, as well as his treasury. 80% of the Jiang family's treasures were kept here. Inside a brocade box, Shen Linfeng found a stack of silver banknotes. The lowest denomination was 100 taels, and the highest was 1,000 taels, totaling 59,500 taels. Additionally, he found over 20 gold leaves along with some jewelry, gold and silver ingots, and antique calligraphy and paintings. A rough estimation put their value at around 40,000 taels. The total value of all the wealth in the secret chamber was approximately 100,000 taels. Despite acquiring such immense fortune, there was not a hint of joy on Shen Linfeng's face. Instead, his brows furrowed in a grim, somber expression. For here he saw many pieces of jewelry, antiques, calligraphy, and paintings that originally belonged to the Shen family. Among them was a painting titled Spring River on a Rainy Night, which had been his father's absolute favorite. The painting depicted a vast river with a man and a woman standing on the shore under an umbrella watching the rising tide. During his lifetime, his father would often take the painting out to admire, saying it was a token of love gifted to him by his mother. The man and woman in the painting were his father and mother. Shen Linfeng's mother had died of a difficult labor while giving birth to him. His father had sworn never to remarry, pouring all his love into him, which was how he had raised Shen Linfeng to who he was today. You old dog, dying like that was far too easy for you. Overcome with rage, Shen Linfeng drew his saber and slashed at Jiang Zhongwei's corpse. A wave of blade energy tore through the air, severing the corpse's legs. Don't think that just because you are dead, I won't mutilate you. I am just as adept at hacking a body to pieces. Having gathered all the wealth, Shen Linfeng searched the secret chamber once more and located a hidden compartment. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The The moment the hidden compartment opened, several arrows shot out violently, piercing through the stone tiles and embedding themselves in the wall. Those were chi-breaking, armor-piercing arrows specifically designed to bypass innate protective true chi. Shen Linfeng stood to the side and watched, having long anticipated this. Given Jiang Shurai's meticulous nature, anything hidden in a secret compartment would undoubtedly be rigged with traps. If one were to open the compartment head-on without preparation, they would surely be killed by the poisoned arrows due to carelessness. Inside the hidden compartment lay a brocade box. Having just evaded the concealed arrows, Shen Linfeng remained cautious, probing it first with his horizontal saber. Then, standing at a distance, he used his Xiantian true chi to draw the brocade box toward him. Upon opening it, he found several secret manuals inside: flowing cloud sword art, eagle claw hand, rock shattering palm, cloud water art, blazing sun formula, 7 army breaking styles, and void transcending steps. There were 7 secret manuals in total. The first 4 were the inherited martial techniques and internal cultivation methods of the Jiang family, while the last 3 were the ultimate arts of the Shen family. After the Shen family was annihilated, Jiang Shurui had plundered them from them. Seeing his family's ancestral martial arts, fury flared up once more in Shen Linfeng's heart. Old dog! With a furious roar, Shen Linfeng drew his saber and severed Jiang Shurui's head with a single strike. Still unsatisfied, he unleashed 2 more strikes of 10,000 galloping horses, blasting Jiang Shurui's corpse into pieces, leaving only a single head to roll across the ground. His eyes remained wide open, glaring in death, unable to find peace. Ding! Internal cultivation methods and martial techniques detected. Do you wish to practice them? Practice them. Max them out directly. Ding! Host is practicing the flowing cloud sword art. Allocating points. Flowing cloud sword art has broken through to novice proficient mastery and grand completion. Ding! Host is practicing the eagle claw hand. Allocating points. Eagle claw hand has broken through to novice proficient mastery and grand completion. Ding! Host is practicing the rock shattering palm. Allocating points. Rock shattering palm has broken through to novice proficient mastery and grand completion. Ding! Host is practicing the cloud water art. Allocating points. Cloud water art has broken through the first stage, second stage, to the 9th stage, grand completion. Ding! Merging cultivation arts. Upgrading the blazing sun formula. Upgrade successful. System allocating points. Blazing sun formula has broken through to the 5th stage, grand completion. With the point allocation complete, the true chi within Shen Linfeng's body surged, erupting outward to form a fierce gale that swept through the secret chamber. His aura became sharper and more formidable, yet as he regulated his breathing, it was slowly reined in. Name: Shen Linfeng. Realm: 4th stage of the Xiantian realm. Cultivation arts: blazing sun formula, 5th stage, grand completion, 7 army breaking styles, grand completion, void transcending steps, grand completion, flowing cloud sword art, grand completion, eagle claw hand, grand completion, rock shattering palm, grand completion. Points: 1 quadrillion. After merging with the cloud water art, the blazing sun formula advanced further, evolving a 5th stage. Cultivating it to the grand completion realm allowed Shen Linfeng to successfully break through to the 4th stage of the Xiantian realm. He searched the secret chamber one last time, but found no other hidden compartments. Packing up the banknotes, jewelry, antiques, and calligraphy, he then plundered the belongings of the women in the inner courtyard. He found banknotes and jewelry worth approximately 10,000 taels of silver. With everything finished, Shen Linfeng tossed Jiang Shurui's head into the latrine pit, set a massive fire, and turned to leave. Into the dark night, Shen Linfeng drifted further and further away. Behind him, the Jiang family manor was swallowed by roaring flames. The merciless fire sent fiery serpents darting through the sea of flames. Roof beams crashed down, buildings collapsed, and everything was reduced to ashes. The sea of fire illuminated the night sky over the eastern part of the city, and nearby, people repeatedly cried out that there was a fire. But the blaze was too immense to be extinguished. The Jiang family has been wiped out. Atop a tower stood an old man with hair and beard as white as snow. He wore a black robe, had a hunched back, and held his hands behind his back. Though elderly, his aura was exceptionally sharp and formidable. The old man's name was Zhou Yi, the patriarch of the Zhou family, one of the 4 great Xiantian families in Guanping City. Looking down from his high vantage point, Zhou Yi gazed at the roaring fire of the Jiang family, his eyes deep and unmoving for a long time. Just then a middle-aged man approached behind the elder and called out respectfully, "Father." The middle-aged man was Zhou Xiong, Zhou Yi's eldest son. Without turning around, Zhou Yi asked calmly, "Have you found out who did it?" Zhou Xiong nodded. "There is no need to investigate at all. It was Shen Linfeng. I saw him leave the Jiang manor with my own eyes." The old man thought to himself that it was indeed as he suspected. Sighing with emotion, Shun Tianqi truly raised a fine son. At a mere 18 years of age, he slaughtered the entire Jiang family alone. This youth not only possesses extraordinary martial talent, but is also decisive and ruthless in character. A peerless genius indeed. If he does not perish, he will surely shake the world in the future. Zhou Xiong nodded. To possess such strength at only 18, he easily rivals the true disciples of those great sects. It is just a pity that Shun Tianqi did not live to see it. Zhou Yi shook his head and sighed. The marriage alliance between the Jiang and Shun families was originally meant to be a win-win partnership of mutual progress. Yet how lamentable that Jiang Chongwei's head was filled with nothing but filth. Not only did he push away a peerless talent, but he also incurred a blood feud of total annihilation, causing the Jiang family's century-old foundation to be destroyed in a single day. When it comes to stupidity, no one in Guangping City can match him. The Jiang family's ancestors buried underground are probably so enraged right now that they cannot even keep their coffin lids closed. Zhou Xiong agreed. Father speaks the truth. If our Zhou family had a genius like Shen Linfeng as a son-in-law, we would cherish him above all else. Why would we ever push him away? And that daughter of Jiang Chongwei, Jiang Shurui, must have filth in her head as well. Rejecting a peerless genius just to fawn over a useless fool. She threw away a precious gem only to pick up common mud. By the way, Father. Zhou Xiong's eyes suddenly lit up as he said, now that Shen Linfeng has no marriage contract, could our Zhou family form an alliance with him through marriage? As long as he is willing, he can choose any of our Zhou family's daughters, whether born of the principal wife or concubines. He can marry as many as he pleases. Wanner is 15 this year, which is just the right age for marriage. Zhou Xiong was not like Jiang Chongwei. In his eyes, Shen Linfeng was a mountain of gold. As long as Shen Linfeng agreed to become his son-in-law, he would agree to any terms. Zhou Yi snapped back in annoyance. Do you think you are the only one with this idea? This old man thinks so too. If Shen Linfeng is willing, I will marry little 13 to him. Hearing this, Zhou Xiong immediately grew anxious, looking at Zhou Yi with a face full of grief and indignation. 13's sister is only 12 this year. Father, you are being far too unscrupulous in your fight for a son-in-law. Zhou Xiong never would have imagined that his greatest competitor was none other than his own father. Now his potential son-in-law was about to become his brother-in-law. Zhou Yi glared at him and snorted coldly. Forget it, I was merely jesting. A genius like Shen Linfeng could never look highly upon the Zhou family. Besides, Shen Linfeng's blood feud is not yet fully settled. To kill Jiang Shurui and Zhou Mingyu, he is bound to clash with the Golden Saber Sect sooner or later. Our Zhou family is but a small household. Rashly entangling ourselves in such a storm is no different from seeking death. Zhou Xiong frowned, his tone grave. The master of the Golden Saber Sect is a true essence realm expert, and the sect has over 20 Xiantian masters. Not only that, but the Golden Saber Sect also maintains good relations with various factions in Jufeng County. Facing such a colossal titan, can Shen Linfeng truly win? Zhou Yi shook his head. Were it anyone else, I would say they have absolutely no hope of survival. But as for Shen Linfeng, I cannot see through him. I can only say that if he wins this battle, he will surely be like a flood dragon entering the sea, riding the wind to transform into a true dragon. Meanwhile, in the western part of the city, the Feng family, the last of the Xiantian families, also received the news of the Jiang family's annihilation. Upon learning that Shen Linfeng had single-handedly slaughtered the entire Jiang family with a single saber, the high-ranking members of the Feng family were utterly shocked. Yet amidst their shock, they felt a sense of relief. Fortunately, the Jiang family had broken ties with the Shen family, leading to the destruction of both. Had the two families actually united in marriage and allowed Shen Linfeng to grow, how could there be any room for the Feng family to have a say in the future of Guangping City? Now that Shen Linfeng has annihilated the Jiang family, anyone with a discerning eye can see that his next step will surely be to seek vengeance against the Golden Saber Sect. As a result, Shen Linfeng will depart from Guangping City. Toward this flood dragon, they only wish to respectfully usher him away. My lord, you are a peerless genius. Please do not wallow in a small place like Guangping City. It is better for you to go stir up trouble among those great sects and grand families. After leaving the Jiang family, Shen Linfeng headed straight out of the city, arriving at the mass graves on the outskirts. Graves littered the ground here, their tombstones crooked and askew. Some fractured, some chipped, and others collapsed upon the earth. Overgrown with weeds, some of the unmarked wild graves had been dug open by stray dogs and cats. Through the flickering light of his torch, white bones could be faintly seen protruding from the soil. Pairs of emerald eyes roamed the mass graves like drifting wisps of ghost fire. They belonged to the stray cats and dogs, which immediately crouched low and let out guttural growls and hisses upon sensing Shen Linfeng intruding into their territory. As he released a sliver of murderous aura, the stray cats and dogs whimpered and fled in panic. Shen Linfeng swiftly made his way to the western side, locating a withered locust tree. A flock of sleeping crows perched on the dead tree was startled awake by Shen Linfeng's arrival. Flapping their wings, they took to the sky, leaving behind a chorus of hoarse rasping caws that added a touch of horror to the mass graves in the night. Jiang Shurui had claimed he dumped his father's corpse beneath the locust tree, yet Shen Linfeng found no body here. Nothing. Why is there nothing? Shen Linfeng searched around the locust tree several times, but came up empty-handed. Could he have lied to me? Fury surged from the depths of his heart, and dark malice bred within his soul. Murderous aura erupted from Shen Linfeng. At this very moment, he wished nothing more than to charge back to the Jiang family and slaughter Jiang Shurui 10,000 times over. Yet Jiang Shurui's corpse had already been obliterated and his head had been submerged in a cesspool. Even if he wanted to desecrate the corpse, it was no longer possible. Plotting against me even in death. Shen Linfeng was vexed, but he quickly calmed down. No, under those circumstances it was impossible for Jiang Shurui to lie. Could someone have collected my father's corpse? The more Shen Linfeng thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Although the Shen family had been annihilated, his father still had a few close friends during his lifetime. Although they dared not come to the Shen family's rescue on the night of the massacre, it would not have been difficult for them to stealthily retrieve the corpse afterward. Snap! Suddenly the sound of a snapping twig echoed behind him. Shen Linfeng spun around abruptly. Who is there? With a furious shout, he did not hesitate to kick a green stone. Imbued with immense force, the stone struck a massive tree over 80 meters behind him. With a loud bang, the tree trunk shattered and collapsed with a roar. A dark shadow flew out from behind the tree, flickering in motion, before landing 10 meters in front of Shen Linfeng. Good kid, you certainly strike with ruthless force. If I hadn't dodged quickly just now, my life would have been forfeit. The newcomer had a stalwart build clad in dark martial robes with narrow sleeves and a cinched waist. A flying dagger was embroidered with copper thread upon his collar. He stood straight as a spear, his shoulders and back sharply defined like the stroke of a blade. His right hand rested on his saber behind him in a posture ready to draw at any moment. His brow was cold and stern, his gaze as sharp as a falcon's. So it is Uncle Zhao. Recognizing the true face of the man before him, Shen Linfeng lowered his guard. He knew this man. His name was Zhao Chuanwu, a centurion of the Guangping City Zhenwu Bureau. His father had interacted with him frequently during his lifetime. Zhao Chuanwu would often come to play chess with his father, though he was a terrible player. He had never won, even when his father gave him a 6-piece handicap. Every time he lost, he would shamelessly linger at the Shen household to grab a free meal before leaving. To see someone in a whole new light after a brief absence. This saying truly fits you, Linfeng. I fear your strength is already superior to mine, Zhao Chuanwu said with a sigh of emotion. Shen Linfeng stared at him without a word, and the air grew quiet. Ordinarily one would show some modesty at this moment, but he was currently in no such mood. Sighing, Zhao Chuanwu said, I was not in Guangping City 4 nights ago, otherwise I would not have stood by and watched the Shen family suffer this disaster. By the time I returned, it was already too late. Shen Linfeng replied, what is the use of saying all this now? The Shen family is gone. Your appearance here must mean you have collected my father's remains. You are as clever as always. Zhao Chuanwu nodded. Indeed, I have already laid your father's remains to rest. Shen Linfeng asked urgently, where is he? Zhao Chuanwu pointed toward the east. I buried your father next to your mother. If you wish to see him, you can go anytime. Thank you, Uncle Zhao. Shen Linfeng cupped his fists and bowed respectfully to Zhao Chuanwu. The mere fact that he had collected his father's corpse made him worthy of such respect. After paying his respects, Shen Linfeng made a move to leave, but Zhao Chuanwu quickly called out to stop him. Wait, you are leaving just like that? Shen Linfeng looked back at him, paused for a moment, and pulled a stack of banknotes from his robe, at least 10,000 taels of silver. Handing them over, he said, this is a token of gratitude for collecting my father's corpse. Looking at the banknotes in his hand, Zhao Chuanwu froze for a moment before quickly snapping out of it, roaring, I didn't ask you for money. What kind of man do you take me for? Your father was my dear friend of many years. If I took money for collecting his corpse, how could I face him in the afterlife? I wanted to ask, what are your plans next? Shen Linfeng replied expressionlessly, has an Uncle Zhao already guessed? Why bother asking? Zhao Chuanwu shook his head, advising him earnestly, the Golden Saber Sect is not easy to deal with. You might be able to kill Zhou Mingyu, but his father is Zhou Shurui, the 3rd elder of the Golden Saber Sect, a martial artist of the 5th stage of the Xiantian realm. Can you handle him? Fine, even if I assume you can deal with Zhou Shurui, do not forget that the Golden Saber Sect still has the 2nd elder and the 1st elder, who are even stronger. Most importantly, the sect master of the Golden Saber Sect, O Haoyang, is a genuine, true Yuan realm grandmaster. Facing the Golden Saber Sect alone is nothing short of a mantis trying to stop a chariot. You are courting death. Shen Linfeng's expression remained indifferent. Who lives and who dies will only be known after we fight. Right now, the only ones I wish to kill are Zhou Mingyu's entire family, but if the Golden Saber Sect chooses to intervene, I wouldn't mind annihilating the Golden Saber Sect as well. Holy crap, you kid are truly arrogant beyond measure. Zhao Chuanwu was taken aback. He felt that after not seeing him for a few days, Shen Linfeng had not only grown immensely in power, but had also become far more arrogant than before. Shen Linfeng had always been arrogant, but he had always been reserved, keeping his pride hidden deep within. To reveal such sharp dominance was a first. You mustn't let hatred cloud your judgment, kid, Zhao Chuanwu added from the side. As the saying goes, for a gentleman, revenge is never too late, even after 10 years. With your talent, you won't even need 10 years to surpass Haoyang. At that time, wiping out Zhou Mingyu's entire family will be effortless. Why rush now? Compared to revenge, I believe what your father cared about most was you. As long as you live, while he can rest in peace beneath the earth. Shen Linfeng shook his head, his tone resolute. I cannot wait 10 years. For me, a gentleman's revenge must be exacted from morning till night. Letting Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui live even one more day makes me utterly uncomfortable. Besides, I am not so foolish as to charge straight into the Golden Saber sect to slaughter people. I have a plan. Kid, why won't you listen to good advice? Zhao Ch, glaring with frustration, stubborn Shun, shook his head. I've been talking for so long. Haven't you heard the subtext of my words? Linfeng, I'll be frank, Zhao Chuanwu said, meeting Shen Linfeng's gaze with a grave expression. With your own strength alone, taking revenge is truly difficult. Rather than alone struggle with the Jin Dao sect, it would be wiser to seek a backer. With such backing, both training and revenge will be twice as effective with half the effort. Shen Linfeng narrowed his eyes as he looked at him. Are you trying to recruit me into Jinwusi? That's right. Zhao Chuanwu nodded, a look of pride on his face. Jinwusi is a court institution not under the 3 departments and 6 ministries to suppress Jianghu, investigate major cases, and is the emperor's personal army. Whether Jianghu sects or martial arts families, they will fear us to a certain extent. If you join Jinwusi, the Jin Dao sect will not dare to scheme against you. Thus you'll have plenty of time to grow stronger. Moreover, Jinwusi houses countless divine arts and renowned masters. With your gifts, you should be able to break through the Jinyuan realm in not too long. Even the Jingang realm is within reach. Linfeng, I hereby formally invite you to join Jinwusi. Jinwusi is in need of someone like you. I don't like being constrained. The court's rules are too many and I am not used to them. Huh? Zhao Chuanwu stared, startled. After all this, you're brushing me off with that excuse. This is too rash. Shen Linfeng continued, that talk of suppressing Jianghu and investigating major cases. Jinwusi isn't around anymore. If Jinwusi could truly suppress Jianghu, the Jiang family wouldn't have the guts to wipe out my Shen family. Zhao Chuanwu was suddenly speechless. Indeed, Jinwusi was founded by the Taizu of the Great Yin dynasty. It is the emperor's personal army, meant to suppress Jianghu martial artists and prevent them from breaking the laws. 800 years since the founding of the Great Yin dynasty, Jinwusi has long hung as a sharp sword over the heads of Jianghu sects and martial families. However, since the Taizu fell 50 years ago, the Great Yin dynasty's grip on the realm has weakened. The deterrent power of Jinwusi against Jianghu has waned day by day. In this world, a dynasty's stability depends on its strongest powerhouse. 800 years ago, Taizu founded the Great Yin dynasty. While he lived, the Great Yin dynasty stood firm as a mountain and the world bowed. But even a peak cultivator of the Dharma avatar realm like Taizu had a lifespan of only 1,000 years. When his lifespan ended, Taizu perished in battle, his soul returning to heaven and earth. With Taizu fallen, the Great Yin dynasty lost its anchor and could no longer suppress demons and monsters. 5 decades have passed since Taizu's fall. Though the realm is not in great chaos, it is far from stable. Jianghu sects and martial families relying on their prowess have begun to drift away from imperial control. Jinwusi desires to suppress, but is powerless. This is not the first time such a situation has occurred. Before Great Yin, in the Dafeng dynasty, which lasted 872 years, during the first 779 years of Taizu's life, Dafeng had been peaceful and the realm stable. But after Dafeng Taizu fell, Dafeng collapsed in a mere 93 years. The Great Yuan dynasty before Dafeng lasted 825 years as well. The Yuan Taizu fell in the 737th year after its founding, and in the following 88 years the Yuan perished. If the Great Yin dynasty were still at its peak, Shen Linfeng would certainly be willing to join Jinwusi. But now Jinwusi's power wanes, internal factions are rife, vying for power. Many hundred household and thousand household clans and sect families collude to exploit the common people. He does not want to enter into schemes with those demons and fiends. Not to mention, he carries a great secret. As long as he can obtain the inner cultivation manual, he can rapidly break through. Are you really not considering it at all? Zhao Chuanwu persisted. Shen Linfeng shook his head. Forget it. Sigh, what a pity. Zhao Chuanwu sighed with regret. Then perhaps this you won't join Jinwusi. How about becoming an off-the-books bounty hunter? Zhao Chuanwu stepped back and proposed another idea. Shen Linfeng frowned. What is an off-the-books bounty hunter? Zhao Chuanwu said the so-called off-the-books bounty hunter is simply a bounty hunter registered by Jinwusi. But compared with the formal Jinwu guards, off-the-books bounty hunters have no formal staff, no monthly salary, and no power. But conversely, off-the-books bounty hunters enjoy greater freedom, after completing Jinwuxi tasks, they can exchange merit for internal divine arts pills and legendary weapons within Jinwuxi. Just like your father, he was an off-the-books bounty hunter for Jinwuxi. My father too. Shen Linfeng widened his eyes a hint of astonishment. Suddenly he understood why his father and Zhao Chuanwu were friends. He also finally realized why his father would travel far from home from time to time. He remembered as a child Shen Linfeng had suspected that his father kept a mistress and an illegitimate child. Looking back, now his journeys away were for missions. Zhao Chuanwu said, ordinary bounty hunters in Jiang who kill for money, completing Jinwuxi tasks can only earn rewards. But off-the-books bounty hunters are different. Besides bounties, you can obtain divine arts manuals, pills, divine weapons, and some Jianghu secrets. For truly capable warriors, riches pale in comparison to those other rewards. Shen Linfeng nodded, knowing Zhao Chuanwu spoke the truth. Take for example an innate grade inner cultivation method. Its auction price starts at 50,000 taels of silver. But for many people, even with 50,000 taels in hand, they may not be able to buy an innate grade inner cultivation method, because there are no channels to obtain it. This is a monopolized world. Whether inner power, martial arts pills, or any other treasure, they have all been monopolized by the upper echelons. What off-the-books bounty hunters have over ordinary bounty hunters is an additional channel to obtain treasure. They are free and unconstrained with a chance to obtain divine art manuals. Shen Linfeng certainly won't refuse. Alright, I agree. Excellent. Zhao Chuanwu wore a look of joy. Although I couldn't pull Shen Linfeng into Jinwuxi, at least I've tied him to Jinwuxi in some way. He knew Shen Linfeng's martial talents well. For such a genius, you must win him over while he's still young. He handed Shen Linfeng a token saying, this is a Jinwuxi token which can prove your identity. From now on, if you complete Jinwuxi missions with this token, you can exchange treasures at any Jinwuxi branch. Shen Linfeng took the token. The front bore the emblem of a grand hall with the two characters Jinwu engraved above it. The back bore a serial number and Shen Linfeng's name. He was suddenly left somewhat speechless, so the token was prepared long ago. What if I refused you tonight? Zhao Chuanwu waved his hand. If you refuse, I will invite you again and again until you agree. After all, I am also your uncle, and I grew up watching you. You can't disappoint me again and again. Yes, you are my uncle. Shen Linfeng suddenly smiled oddly. Since you're my uncle, I won't be polite about some things. After saying that, Shen Linfeng took back the 10,000 taels banknote from Zhao Chuanwu's hand. Hey, what do you mean by that? Zhao Chuanwu stared in astonishment. Shen Linfeng turned to leave, waving the silver banknote in his hand as he spoke. Since you are my uncle, it is only proper that you bury my father. I will not insult you by offering money as thanks. Also, if possible, help me find where Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui are currently located. Zhao Chuanwu stood bewildered in the wind, feeling a sudden chill sweeping across the mass grave. Above him, the harsh cawing of crows echoed. How could someone take back money they had already offered? Was such a thing even possible? Well, Linfeng, your uncle, is not afraid of being insulted. Please feel free to insult me with money as much as you like. I can bear it. Do not worry about sparing my feelings. Zhao Chuanwu shouted at Shen Linfeng's retreating figure, but Shen Linfeng had already vanished into the distance, leaving no reply. Leaving the mass grave, Shen Linfeng channeled his true qi, pushing his ethereal steps to their absolute limit. Moving like a phantom and swift as a gale, he soon arrived at the eastern suburbs outside the city. However, instead of immediately seeking out his parents' graves, he made his way to the ancestral graveyard of the Jiang family. Upon a granite tombstone as pure and white as jade, the name of the first-generation patriarch of the Jiang family was engraved: Jiang Zhanping. It was a grand and imposing name. Over a century ago, he was a renowned figure in Guangping City, establishing the Jiang family entirely through his own efforts. Behind Jiang Zhanping's tombstone stood over 100 graves of various sizes, the final resting places of the Jiang family's successive patriarchs and elders. Offerings were indispensable when paying respects to his parents. Since he had already thrown Jiang Zhongwei's severed head into a cesspool, he could hardly retrieve it. After much deliberation, Shen Linfeng decided that the bones of the Jiang family's old patriarch would make a far more substantial offering. Old dog, if your spirit has any awareness in the underworld, go settle the score with your foolish descendant Jiang Zhongwei. The sole reason your grave is being desecrated and your bones turned to ash a century after your death is entirely because of him. Shen Linfeng raised his palm and gathered his strength, condensing his true qi into a swirling sphere within his hand. With a powerful strike, Jiang Zhanping's tomb blasted open, revealing the golden thread Phoebe coffin beneath. Stepping forward, Shen Linfeng waved his hand, sending the coffin lid flying to reveal a skeleton. He took a piece of bamboo, thrust it through the eye sockets of the skull to lift it out, then struck the remaining bones with a backhand palm, pulverizing them into dust and scattering them to the wind. Following this, Shen Linfeng excavated all of the Jiang family's 100+ graves, shattering the bones into ash and scattering them. At this moment the ashes of the Jiang family filled the air, enriching the earth. Surely vibrant wildflowers would bloom here in the coming year. Leaving the Jiang family's ancestral graveyard, Shen Linfeng ran several miles to the east until a pavilion came into view. Inside the pavilion stood two graves, one new and one old, with a brazier placed before each tombstone. Stepping forward, Shen Linfeng placed the skull of the Jiang family's old patriarch into the brazier before his father's tombstone. He then lit the ritual yellow paper and knelt before the grave. "Father, mother, your son has come to visit you." With 3 resounding thuds, Shen Linfeng kowtowed deeply 3 times. "Father, I have wiped out the entire Jiang family, desecrated their ancestral graves, and brought the skull of their old patriarch as an offering for you. If your soul has awareness in the yellow springs, you may finally rest in peace. But if you still cannot, then wait until I send Zhou Mingyu's entire family and that wretched woman Jiang Shurui down to join them. In short, not a single culprit who harmed our family shall escape, and not one of their blood relatives shall be spared." Having finished speaking to his father, Shen Linfeng turned his gaze toward his mother's grave. His mother's name was Xiao Wanu, a name that evoked the image of a gentle and elegant woman. Regrettably, she had passed away due to a difficult childbirth, and Shen Linfeng had never seen her. Yet his father had always told him that his mother was the most beautiful woman in the world. In his youth, his father had traveled the martial world with high spirits, vowing to become a renowned hero. Later, during a heroic rescue of a damsel in distress, he had fallen in love with his mother at first sight. His mother had felt the same. Within 3 months of meeting, they were wed, and a year later he was born. Sadly, the heavens were blind, snatching his mother away in the prime of her youth. From that day forward, no other woman could ever catch his father's eye. He swore never to marry again, remaining solitary for the rest of his days. Inside the brazier, the flames crackled. Having weathered a century, the skull of the Jiang family's patriarch was already incredibly fragile, crumbling to ash within the fire. Next, Shen Linfeng took out the Spring River Night Rain map and said, "Father, this was your favorite painting in life, the token of love Mother gave to you. Let it accompany the two of you now. I hope that in the next life you may reunite and continue your fated bond." With that, Shen Linfeng lit the Spring River Night Rain map and tossed it into the brazier before his mother's tombstone. As the flames consumed the scroll, it blackened and turned to ash. Suddenly, however, the great river at the center of the painting seemed to come alive, and the lines forming the river's waves radiated a brilliant golden light amidst the fire. "A treasure!" Startled, Shen Linfeng hastily retrieved the painting. After patting out the flames and shaking off the ashes, the true form of the Spring River Night Rain map was revealed. The outer edges had been completely incinerated, leaving only a portion of the central river intact. Evidently, only this section was made of a special material immune to the burning fire. It was a fragment of the scroll measuring about half a foot in length and width. The lines of the river's waves traced together to form what was clearly a route map. "It is a map, albeit an incomplete one." Shen Linfeng frowned. Never in his wildest dreams had he expected the Spring River Night Rain map to harbor such a secret. It might well be a fragment of a treasure map left by a predecessor, or perhaps it pointed to the legacy of some powerful martial artist. In any case, it was certainly nothing ordinary. What is the story behind this? Did father and mother know the secret within this painting, or did they merely acquire it by chance? Shen Linfeng looked toward his parents' graves, his mind flooded with questions. Unfortunately, his parents had passed away, and there was no one left to provide the answers. No matter. Since heaven has willed this remnant map into my hands, it must be a grand opportunity. To reject heaven's gift is to invite misfortune. Shen Linfeng decisively slipped the remnant map into his robes. No matter what secrets it held, the truth would eventually come to light. Since the Spring River Night Rain map could no longer serve as an offering, Shen Linfeng took out all the calligraphies and paintings he had plundered from the Jiang family, burning them to ashes before his parents' graves. He also buried several pieces of jewelry and ornaments in front of his parents' tomb. For his travels in the martial world, carrying only silver banknotes and gold leaves would suffice. "Father, mother, your son is leaving now. Once I have destroyed the Golden Blade Sect, I shall return to visit you." Shen Linfeng kowtowed 3 times once more, then rose and departed. Meanwhile, Zhao Chuanwu returned to his estate. As he entered his study, a voice suddenly rang out. "Did you meet him?" A figure sat shrouded in the shadows, his face obscured. Hearing the voice, Zhao Chuanwu's expression shifted. He immediately bowed and replied respectfully, "I did." However, he refused to join the Jinwu Bureau, opting instead to be an unofficial bounty hunter. "I figured as much," the figure replied, his tone flat and unperturbed. "Will you not go meet him?" Zhao Chuanwu inquired. "No, he has his own path to walk," the man replied. "To meet him now would be premature." Zhao Chuanwu expressed some concern. He is about to face the Golden Blade Sect and all the factions allied with them entirely on his own. "Are you truly not worried he might be killed?" The man's tone remained impassive. "Great chaos is on the horizon. Soon the so-called masters of the true element realm and true astral realm will perish in droves, and even those of the Deva realm will fall. I cannot protect him, and he can rely on no one but himself. If he dies, then so be it." Though these words sounded cold-blooded, Zhao Chuanwu did not dare to voice any judgment. By the time he raised his head, the figure in the study had already vanished. Zhufeng County, Jitsong City. The city's prosperity was by no means inferior to that of Guangping City. Situated along a vital trade route, it bustled with a constant stream of traveling merchants, resulting in an abundance of taverns and inns throughout the city. Yet among the hundreds of taverns, the finest was undoubtedly the Qinyuan Inn. On the third floor of the Qinyuan Inn, by a window, sat 2 tables of patrons. At one table, a man and a woman sat facing each other. The man possessed a feminine complexion with lips as sharp as blades and narrow, elongated eyes. As he raised his cup to drink, his gaze would occasionally sweep over the woman, a wicked smile playing at the corner of his lips. The woman wore a pink gown, her face delicate, her skin snow white, and her waist slender, accentuating her remarkably voluptuous and alluring bust. Under the man's gaze, she assumed a coquettish and charming posture. The woman giggled softly. "Senior brother Zhou, why do you look at me like that? You're making me blush." The man smiled wickedly and said, "Junior sister Shurui, you are simply too beautiful. Your senior brother can never look at you enough." As he spoke, he reached out to take her hand. The woman did not resist, obediently placing her hand in his, allowing him to caress and play with it. This couple was none other than Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui. After leaving Guangping City, the two of them had traveled leisurely, enjoying the scenic sights along the way before arriving in Jitsong City today. At the other table sat Zhou Mingyu's 4 junior martial brothers, all of whom possessed utterly ordinary and unremarkable appearances. Watching Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui flirt, all 4 of them revealed envious expressions. It had to be said that Jiang Shurui was exceedingly beautiful. Not only was her figure stunning, but her coquettish charm was also incredibly enticing. Had she not been Zhou Mingyu's woman, the 4 disciples would have surely wished to win her favors. Just as Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui were flirting as if no one else were around, the boisterous voices of patrons at neighboring tables drifted over. Those patrons wore martial attire and carried weapons, clearly indicating they were people of the Jianghu. A burly man said in a loud voice, "Have you all heard? Several major events occurred in Guangping City a few days ago." "What major events?" "Naturally, it's the annihilation of the Shen family." Upon hearing this, the expressions of Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui shifted instantly, and their ears perked up. The Shen and Jiang families of Guangping City originally intended to form a marriage alliance. Who would have thought the Jiang family would suddenly change their stance, conspiring with disciples of the Golden Blade Sect to slaughter the entire Shen family? It was truly a tragedy. The whole thing started because the Jiang family's eldest daughter, Jiang Shurui, hooked up with Zhou Mingyu, a legacy disciple of the Golden Blade Sect. Looking down on the Shen family, they committed this heinous massacre. Someone couldn't help but curse, disdainful of the poor and fawning on the rich, always trampling on others to climb higher. That Jiang Shurui is unfaithful and loose, while the Jiang family has no sense of honor. The whole family is nothing but trash. Hearing this, Jiang Shurui's face darkened with rage. She glared at the man who had cursed her, her eyes brimming with murderous intent. Zhou Mingyu immediately offered a soothing smile. "Do not be angry, junior sister. I will capture him shortly and cut out his tongue, ensuring he will never speak another word." Revealing her savage nature, Jiang Shurui snarled, "Cutting out his tongue is not enough. I want to sever his hamstrings and tendons, turn him into a beggar, and force him to fight with wild dogs for scraps." Zhou Mingyu looked at her dotingly. "Very well, everything shall be as you wish, junior sister." The burly man continued, "With the Shen family annihilated, the eldest young master, Shen Linfeng, was hunted down by the Jiang family. Trapped without a path to heaven or an escape into the earth, he was on the brink of death. But guess what happened? What happened?" The surrounding crowd looked on with curiosity. The burly man said, "In that desperate situation, Shen Linfeng broke through to the Xiantian realm and slaughtered all of the Jiang family's pursuers." "Fantastic. Well done. Incredible." The crowd clapped and cheered. "I've heard of Shen Linfeng's reputation in Guangping City. He is the city's foremost genius. If I recall correctly, he is only 18 years old this year." "Indeed, exactly 18. The burly man sighed with genuine admiration. "An 18-year-old Xiantian martial artist. What an astounding, peerless genius." Jiang Shurui's pupils contracted in utter disbelief. "Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could that stray dog break through to the Xiantian realm?" Zhou Mingyu's face also turned dark. If he killed all the pursuers, does that mean junior brother Lu and junior brother Meng were also slain by him? Before the two could erupt, the burly man spoke again. After Shen Linfeng killed the Jiang family's pursuers, he slipped back into the Jiang residence the following night to exact his revenge. With a single blade, he embarked on a ruthless slaughter, painting the Jiang estate with blood and piling corpses high, leaving not a single soul alive. I heard he didn't even spare the chickens or the watchdog, and the head of the Jiang family died after suffering agonizing torture. In the end, the Jiang family manor was reduced to ashes by a blaze that raged for 3 days and 3 nights before finally burning out. Splendid. A righteous slaughter. The crowd slammed their tables and cheered once more. An eye for an eye, blood for blood. That is how it should be. The Jiang family betrayed their trust first and wiped out the Shens. Now they have been annihilated by Shen Linfeng. It is truly poetic justice. Heaven watches what humans do. The heavens are indeed just. While everyone cheered for Shen Linfeng, Zhou Mingyu's face grew incredibly grim. As for Jiang Shurui, her lovely face was now filled with endless panic. Her limbs turned ice-cold, her hands and feet trembled, and all the strength in her body seemed to be instantly drained away. My father is dead. The Jiang family is annihilated. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. My father could not have died. Even if that stray dog Shen Linfeng broke through to the Xiantian realm, he could never be a match for my father. He is only one person. He would only be torn to pieces by my father. Unable to accept this harsh reality, Jiang Shurui flew into a violent rage. She slammed her hand on the table, leaped to her feet, and lunged toward the storytelling burly man. Shut your mouth. Jiang Shurui shrieked, her voice sharp and piercing. Her sword unsheathed with a metallic ring as she slashed downward at the burly man's head. Where did this wench come from? How dare you ambush me? The burly man was no weakling. Although Jiang Shurui had gained the upper hand by launching a sneak attack, his counterattack was not slow in the slightest. Keeping his broadsword in its scabbard, he casually thrust it forward, shoving Jiang Shurui back. Jiang Shurui only possessed the cultivation of the 7th stage of the Hotian realm. The burly man was clearly far stronger than her. Moreover, being a man, he naturally possessed greater physical strength. Jiang Shurui stumbled backward in embarrassment, her lower back crashing into a dining table and overturning the dishes, spilling wine and broth all over the floor. Her pink gown was stained with wine and grease, leaving her looking utterly disheveled. Resting his broadsword on his shoulder, the burly man pointed at Jiang Shurui and cursed, "What kind of madness has possessed you, wench? Why the hell did you try to hack me with a sword? How did I offend you?" As he spoke, he stroked his chin, sizing Jiang Shurui up from head to toe with a vulgar, wicked grin. "Which brothel's courtesan are you? Have I met you before? Or did I sleep with you once and forget to pay?" As soon as those words left his mouth, the surrounding martial artists burst into uproarious laughter. Jiang Shurui's cheeks flushed crimson with rage as she completely lost her composure, screaming like a lunatic, "Senior brother, Zhou, kill him. Kill him for me. I want to cut out his tongue and tear his mouth apart." At this moment, the frenzied Jiang Shurui no longer resembled the coquettish beauty from before. Instead, she looked more like a hysterical shrew. Zhou Mingyu stepped forward, his cold eyes locking onto the burly man as he said icily, "With a mouth full of foul language and daring to slander my Golden Blade Sect and the Jiang family, you have already courted death. Kneel down obediently now, kowtow, and break both of your arms, and I might spare your miserable life. Otherwise I will surely tear you into 10,000 pieces." The burly man cradled his saber and leaned back, tactically speaking in sheer disbelief. "The moment you open your mouth, you demand that I kneel, kowtow, and break my own arms. Where on earth did a brainless fool like you come from? Such arrogant words, yet they stink worse than my feet. A toad yawning. Aren't you afraid of spraining your own tongue?" As he spoke, the burly man sized Zhou Mingyu up and down, then glanced at the 4 junior brothers behind him. He suddenly broke into a sinister smile. "I recognize your robes. This is the attire of the Jindao sect." A man and a woman from the Jindao sect flying into a frenzy the moment they hear of the Jiang family's annihilation. "Hee, I know exactly who you are now." Grinning widely, the burly man pointed at Zhou Mingyu and said, "You must be Zhou Mingyu, the legacy disciple of the Jindao sect, the hypocrite who stole another man's fiancée and slaughtered his entire family. As for you, you must be Jiang Shurui, the unfaithful wench who colluded with her lover and brought ruin upon her own family. Tisk tisk tsk. A hypocrite and a wench. You truly are a match made in heaven." Upon learning that the man before them was Zhou Mingyu of the Jindao sect, the surrounding martial artists quickly backed away, no longer daring to laugh. A few of the more cowardly ones even slipped away quietly. After all, the Jindao sect held immense sway in Zhufeng Prefecture. Yet the burly man showed not a shred of fear. Instead, he pushed his advantage, continuing his relentless mockery. He repeatedly spat out terms like hypocrite and wench, dragging Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui's names through the mud. "Fine, very well. Knowing that I am Zhou Mingyu, you still dare to be so insolent. To offend this young master and tarnish the reputation of the Jindao sect. You are finished. No one in heaven or on earth can save you now." When had Zhou Mingyu ever suffered such humiliation? At this moment, killing intent boiled within him, and he wished nothing more than to hack the burly man to pieces. Clang! His scimitar unsheathed, Zhou Mingyu lunged forward, executing a furious slash aimed directly between the burly man's brows. True chi surged along the blade, fully revealing his strength at the 2nd stage of the Xiantian realm. The burly man chuckled, choosing not to clash with Zhou Mingyu head-on. He kicked a wine table, sending it flying toward Zhou Mingyu. Meanwhile, he pushed off the ground using the momentum to leap toward the window, shooting out like a flying fish. Zhou Mingyu sliced the wine table in half with a single strike, but when his gaze swept around, the burly man had already leapt out of the window. Despite his massive build, his lightness skill was exceptionally swift. Do not run. Leave your life behind. Zhou Mingyu roared, rushing in pursuit to deliver the killing blow. However, the burly man flicked his wrist, sending several flying daggers shooting backward. Zhou Mingyu hastily swung his blade to parry, knocking down the daggers one by one, but the momentum forced him back into the hall. By the time he sought to pursue again, it was already too late. From afar, the burly man's mocking voice echoed back. Let me gift you another piece of good news. After Shen Linfeng slaughtered the entire Jiang family, he didn't stop there. He even dug up the Jiang family's ancestral graves. Over 100 graves of the Jiang family were excavated, and their bones were ground to dust and scattered to the winds. Ha ha. The laughter drifted further away, quickly fading into silence. Standing by the window of the tavern, Zhou Mingyu shattered the wooden railing with a furious slap. The 4 junior brothers stepped forward and hastily asked, Senior brother, Zhou, should we pursue him? Zhou Mingyu shook his head in frustration. It is useless. We cannot catch him. That man is also a Xiantian expert, and his lightness skill is superb, even surpassing my own. One of the disciples expressed his surprise. How could we just run into a Xiantian expert so easily? And judging by his attitude, he seems highly hostile toward our Jingdao sect. Could he be an enemy of our sect? Zhou Mingyu shook his head. I do not know yet, but anyone who offends my Jingdao sect shall not get away with it. I have committed his face to memory. Once I sketch it and send it back to the sect, an elder will surely issue a death warrant. Hearing this, the 4 disciples nodded in agreement. Since that burly man was a Xiantian expert, they as Hotian martial artists had no desire to court death. After the commotion caused by the burly man, the martial artists in the tavern had all fled. Zhou Mingyu had originally planned to kill a few people to assert his dominance, but now that opportunity was gone. He looked toward Jiang Shurui only to see her pale face as she sat disheveled on the floor, her eyes hollow and lifeless, as though she had lost her soul. My father is dead, the Jiang family is destroyed, and even our ancestral graves have been desecrated. Jiang Shurui repeatedly muttered these words, her heart filled with immense grief, anger, and despair. Tears welled up in her eyes and streamed down her cheeks. Heartbroken by the sight, Zhou Mingyu quickly stepped forward to pull Jiang Shurui into his embrace, gently comforting her. Junior sister, Jiang, do not weep. The dead cannot be brought back to life. What we must do now is kill that little beast Shen Linfeng and avenge your Jiang family. At these words, a ruthless gleam suddenly flashed in Jiang Shurui's eyes. Yes, we must kill Shen Linfeng. That damnable beast, why couldn't he just die quietly? Since we wanted to kill him, he should have offered his neck to the blade. Why did he have to resist? To dare slaughter my entire family, such a ruthless villain is no different from the demons of the heretical cults. Senior brother Zhou, I can only rely on you now. You must avenge me. Adopting a sorrowful and fragile guise, Jiang Shurui threw herself into Zhou Mingyu's arms, weeping bitterly. As he held her soft body, a faint sweet fragrance wafted into his nose. Coupled with her full bosom pressing against his chest, Zhou Mingyu's breathing grew ragged, and his body flushed with heat. His passion instantly flared. Were it not for the inappropriate setting, he would have loved to carry Jiang Shurui back to his room immediately and thoroughly teach her the arts of dual cultivation. Zhou Mingyu said softly, Do not worry, junior sister. I will surely avenge you. I will drag that little beast Shen Linfeng before you and let you torture him to your heart's content. Jiang Shurui spat with hatred. I want to gouge out his eyes, cut out his tongue, sever his limbs, and finally burn him alive. I must not let him off easily. Zhou Mingyu nodded. Very well, everything shall be as you wish, junior sister. You may do as you please. We shall head to the nearby Jimei Manor immediately. Manor Master Chun is on excellent terms with our Jingdao sect, and is also a dear friend of my father. With Manor Master Chen's assistance, we will surely capture Shen Linfeng. Good, let us do that. The party of 6, including Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui, departed Jitsang City and rushed toward Jimei Manor at their fastest speed. On the other side, the burly man who had escaped Zhou Mingyu's pursuit landed in a quiet alleyway. Stripping off his outer garments, he wiped his hand across his face, and a series of crackling pops echoed throughout his body. In an instant, he transformed from a burly, rugged man into a slender, gracefully handsome young master. No matter who looked, they would never suspect that this elegant youth and the previous burly man were the same person. I'd say I fanned those flames rather well. It's been a while since I've insulted anyone like that, yet my tongue remains as sharp as ever with none of my past skill lost. Smiling complacently, the young master pulled out a peach blossom fan from who knows where. Lightly swaying it, he strolled out of the alley and blended into the crowd. Several young girls and middle-aged women on the street, captivated by his handsome features, could not help but steal glances at him. The young master flashed a gentle smile at the girls who immediately turned their heads away in bashful embarrassment. Gadap, gadap. Along the broad official road Shen Linfeng urged his steed into a furious gallop. The whip cracked, the horse neighed, and hooves shattered dust as clouds of yellow earth billowed in their wake. Screech! An eagle's cry suddenly echoed through the sky. Shen Linfeng yanked the reins. His mount reared upon its hind legs before crashing back down with a thunderous impact. Looking up, he spotted a falcon circling high above. It dove in a sweeping arc and landed gracefully upon his arm. A messenger bird bred by the Jinwu Bureau, capable of carrying urgent dispatches over 2,000 li in a single day. Before departing Guangping City, he had requested Zhao Chuanwu to investigate the whereabouts of Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui. Surely answers had arrived by now. He removed a scroll from the bird's talons and unfurled it, revealing 4 bold characters. Jimei Manor. The name immediately conjured images in his mind. Established 17 years prior, the estate was led by Chun Zhongyuan, known as the Plum-Plucking Hand, a martial artist who had reached the 5th level of the innate realm. Chun Zhongyuan's past was anything but ordinary, marked by twists that bordered on legendary. Years ago, he had been nothing more than a scholar repeatedly defeated by the imperial examinations. His family had fallen on hard times, reduced to humble circumstances. His parents had placed all their aspirations upon him, hoping he would pass the exam, secure official rank, and restore the Chun family's former glory. Yet he failed time and again. Decades of examinations yielded only the modest title of Shotsai, never even reaching the status of Jiren. His parents' final breaths were laced with regret, and Chun Zhongyuan, crushed by their sorrow, lost all motivation to pursue his studies. Most assumed he would languish in obscurity for the rest of his days. Instead, he abandoned scholarship entirely and turned to martial arts. A choice that seemed absurd, for such cultivation demands the body be trained from youth before the bones and meridians set rigidly in place. Without elixirs capable of refining the sinews and marrow, reaching great heights in martial cultivation was nearly impossible. Yet Chen Zhongyuan defied these odds. He began training at the age of 24, and within a decade shattered through to the innate realm. After years of wandering the martial world, he founded Jimei Manor. Over time, the estate rose to prominence across Zhufeng Commandery. Shen Zhongyuan proved generous with his wealth, frequently distributing porridge to starving refugees and earning deep respect from both martial artists and common folk alike. All revered him, from fellow martial practitioners to ordinary villagers. Yet Shen Linfeng harbored ill will toward him simply because Chun Zhongyuan had offered aid to Zhou Mingyu. That alone made them adversaries. Filthy man, cheap woman. I'm coming for you both. Shen Linfeng wrenched the reins. Gadap. His horse galloped like the wind toward Jimei Manor. 2 days later, he arrived at Jitsong City, 1 day's journey from his destination. His rations were gone, so he resolved to eat first, restock his provisions, and then continue onward. Leading his horse through the city gates at midday, the very hour for meals, he walked the main street, where the air hung thick with the aroma of wine and food. Scents of steamed lamb, braised fish, roasted duck, and savory pork knuckle drifted from nearby kitchens. His mouth watered. He chose a nearby and called Tongfu, and stepped inside. Welcome, honored guest. The innkeeper greeted him warmly, his years of serving customers having sharpened his eye for wealth. A single glance was enough to gauge a patron's purse. Shen Linfeng's robes were woven from fine cloud-patterned brocade, each bolt worth 300 taels of silver. His belt, boots, and hairpin were all fine pieces, as well, making his entire outfit worth at least 800 taels. For a wealthy young hero like this, a few casual tips would far exceed the waiter's yearly wages. Shen Linfeng tossed the reins to the attendant. See, my horse is well fed, with the finest grain. The innkeeper nodded eagerly. Rest assured, sir, we'll provide only the best quality fodder. What would you care to order? We slaughtered 10 sheep fresh today. The shoulder and ribs are excellent. And our perch just came from the river this morning. Shall I prepare one for you? Shen Linfeng nodded. I'll take both the lamb ribs and the fish. Also bring me 2 caddies of beef, a roast duck, and a pot of the flower-drunk wine. Very good, sir, right away with your feast. He settled into a window seat on the 2nd floor, where 15 of 18 tables were already occupied. The inn's business must be thriving. Half the diners were martial artists. Even while eating and drinking, one hand rested upon their weapons, their eyes perpetually scanning the room. 7 parts focus on their meal, 3 parts vigilance. Should any disturbance arise, they could react without hesitation. Constant alertness had become second nature to warriors who had spent years roaming the martial world. Soon the food arrived. Shen Linfeng produced a silver needle and tested every dish meticulously before beginning to eat. This needle had been a gift from Zhao Chuanwu, a special instrument forged by the Jinwu Bureau capable of detecting over 90% of poisons and narcotics known throughout the land. The perch was tender and succulent, and the lamb ribs were equally fine. He poured himself a cup of flower-drunk wine and drained it in one gulp. A pleasant heat spread through his throat, not overly strong but pure and undiluted. As he ate and drank, Shen Linfeng listened intently to the conversations of martial artists around him. In taverns and inns such as this where all strata of society converged, information flowed freely. Have you heard? Master Chun of Jimei Manor announced 2 days ago that he is hunting a demonic cultivator to rid the world of evil. I've heard. His name is reportedly Shen Linfeng, eldest son of the Shen family in Guangping City. Master Chun has offered 10,000 taels of silver for his capture, or at minimum 100 taels for information leading to his whereabouts. 10,000 taels. Could it be true? Is that young master even worth so much? At the mention of such a massive bounty, the martial artists present grew visibly greedy, their eyes shining with avarice. Demons must be purged by all. Is that not why we cultivate? To serve justice and destroy evil. This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Indeed, I stand against sin with no tolerance. The martial artists declared their righteous fervor, their words ringing with apparent righteousness. I've heard of the Shen family. They don't seem to have any connection to the demonic cult, do they? Besides, wasn't the Shen family exterminated not long ago? And shortly after the Jiang family of Guangping City met the same fate. That is precisely the crux of the matter. The man said the Shen family was wiped out because they were discovered colluding with heretics of the demonic cult. The Jiang family was originally set to be allied with the Shen family through marriage. Upon discovering the Shen's collusion with the demonic heretics, they decisively severed all ties. Ultimately placing justice above personal bonds, they joined forces with Zhou Mingyu, a legacy disciple of the Jingdao sect, to annihilate the Shen family. So that's how it is. In that case, the Shen family truly got what they deserved. Only Shen Linfeng managed to escape from the Shen family. Not only did he survive, but his strength inexplicably surged. He returned to ruthlessly slaughter the entire Jiang family, murdering countless innocent souls. This is undeniably the work of the demonic path. Isn't Shen Linfeng just a youth? Where did he get such power? Naturally it is because he cultivated demonic arts. Otherwise, how could an 18-year-old youth experience such a massive surge in strength within a mere few days? Yes, that must be it. That Shen Linfeng must have cultivated demonic arts. He truly deserves to die. At that moment, a martial artist wearing a headband in the corner spoke up. But I heard that Jiang Shurui, the eldest daughter of the Jiang family, was unfaithful and hooked up with Zhou Mingyu. Fearing her reputation would be ruined, they wiped out the Shen family. The Shens had absolutely nothing to do with the demonic cult. Nonsense. A man nearby shouted, the Jingdao sect enjoys an illustrious reputation, and their legacy disciples are the elite among men. How could they possibly do such a thing? Exactly. Besides, we have the word of Hero Chun. His chivalrous reputation is renowned far and wide. If even he claims Shen Linfeng is a demonic heretic, how could it possibly be wrong? The headband-wearing man fell silent. Public clamor could melt gold. Everyone unanimously agreed that Shen Linfeng had colluded with the demonic heretics. Though a few sensed that the matter was not so simple, no one would believe them even if they spoke up. Compared to a wet behind-the-ears boy like Shen Linfeng, they were obviously far more willing to trust the Jingdao sect and Jumei Villa. Such is the weight of reputation and prestige. Sitting to the side, Shen Linfeng heard their conversation crystal clear. A trace of disdain curled at the corner of his lips. If you want to kill me, just make your move. Why must you insist on framing me for colluding with demonic heretics? These self-proclaimed heroes are all so sanctimonious. They want to play the whore, yet still erect a monument to their chastity. By now his state of mind had grown exceptionally steady. Even when splashed with dirty water by Chun Zhongyuan and Zhou Mingyu, he felt no anger. He knew that arguing with these people was utterly pointless. No matter what he said, outsiders would only perceive it as a pathetic excuse. To break through this predicament, the only thing he could rely on was the blade in his hand. As long as he was strong enough, there would naturally be scholars to rationalize his actions. At this point, someone asked, does anyone know what Shen Linfeng looks like? Indeed. If we want to find him, we must at least know his appearance. Otherwise, how can we search for him in this vast sea of people? I have his portrait here, put up by Jumei Villa. A middle-aged martial artist spoke as he produced a portrait. Unrolling it, he displayed it before the crowd. The portrait depicted a handsome youth. Though his face appeared tender, his gaze was incredibly sharp. Shen Linfeng also glanced at the portrait. He had to admit that the artist was highly skilled. It was at least a 90% likeness. I seem to have seen this person somewhere before. A tall, thin martial artist remarked, rubbing his chin. Really? Where? I think I've seen him too just a moment ago. Yes, I also find him familiar. As more and more martial artists claimed to have seen Shen Linfeng, suddenly everyone's gaze shifted simultaneously toward where Shen Linfeng sat. It's him. He is Shen Linfeng. The tall, thin martial artist pointed at Shen Linfeng and bellowed. The middle-aged martial artist holding the portrait compared Shen Linfeng to the drawing. They were an exact match. Everyone was utterly stunned. None of them had expected that Shen Linfeng had been sitting right beside them all along. A martial artist with a heavy beard kicked over his stool pointing at Shen Linfeng and shouting abuse. You demonic heretic. What audacious gall. How dare you show your face in broad daylight. You truly have a death wish. Seize him. Hand him over to Hero Chun for judgment. Demonic heretics deserve to be executed by all. A crowd of martial artists swarmed forward, each wearing a ferocious expression, sealing off all of Shen Linfeng's paths of retreat. This was a bounty of 10,000 taels of silver, a literal windfall from the heavens. Even when surrounded by so many, Shen Linfeng remained expressionless, calmly sipping his wine. Drinking down a cup of Zabai, he said flatly, "Let me make this clear beforehand. Anyone who raises a hand against me dies. How you dare to boast when death is at your doorstep?" The middle-aged martial artist holding the portrait sneered contemptuously. "I'd like to see just how you intend to make us die." Swoosh. Before his voice could fade, everyone felt a flash of white light before their eyes. Then came a loud thud as the middle-aged martial artist was sent flying backward. A wine cup had embedded itself deep into the bone between his eyebrows, shattering his skull and sending fresh blood splattering everywhere. The middle-aged martial artist slammed heavily onto the ground. His eyes bulged with sheer terror, unable to utter a single word. With a tilt of his head, he breathed his last. Hiss. Numerous martial artists gasped in shock, retreating 3 or 4 steps in unison to distance themselves from Shen Linfeng. Many only realized the danger afterward, breaking into a cold sweat. Shen Linfeng's strike just now was simply too terrifying. To shatter a man's skull with a mere wine cup, what kind of monstrous strength was that? Moreover, his speed was blindingly fast, and none of them had seen how Shen Linfeng made his move. If such a technique were aimed at them, who among them could survive? The crowd looked at one another, and many immediately felt the urge to retreat. The corpse on the ground was proof that Shen Linfeng was ruthless and decisive in slaughter, a thorough fiend who was not to be provoked. Yet there were still stubborn fools who refused to believe in the danger. The heavily bearded man drew his saber and roared, "No need to fear, everyone. There are so many of us, can we not even kill a single demonic heretic? This person draws blood and kills at the slightest provocation. His methods are cruel and vicious, proving that Hero Chen's words are indeed true. If we do not eradicate him early, he will surely become a major plague upon the martial world in the future. Let's charge together. No need to play by the rules of the martial world with him." With that, the heavily bearded man gripped his saber and charged forward with fearless valor. Wang Dama roared in his heart, "Upholding justice and slaying demons, today is the day I, Wang Dama, make a name for myself. My legend begins here." However, what he did not expect was, while he charged forward heroically, the others turned on their heels and fled without a word, some even leaping straight out of the windows to escape. At a glance, Shen Linfeng was clearly a master of the Xiantian realm. They were merely a group of Hotian martial artists. Even if they swarmed him, they stood no chance. The only reason they hadn't run earlier was because no one had distracted Shen Linfeng. Whoever ran first would likely be targeted and die first. Now that an idiot was willingly seeking death to buy them time to escape, they naturally seized the opportunity. Shen Linfeng struck the table, causing the chopsticks in the container to leap into the air. With a sweep of his hand, the chopsticks shot out like arrows. The heavily bearded man, being the closest, was the first to have a chopstick pierce right through his brow. The immense force carried him flying backward. The burly man crashed to the ground dead. Before he died, the corner of his eye caught the retreating figures of the fleeing martial artists, and he roared with bitter resentment in his heart. Why won't you charge alongside me? Didn't you all just declare that Shen Linfeng is a demonic cultist, someone to be slain by all? Why have you suddenly grown so timid? Fleeing in the face of battle, where is your spine?" The bearded giant lay dead with his eyes unshut, unable to find rest. And at the very moment his breath escaped, the launched chopsticks pierced through the backs and skulls of numerous martial artists. Accompanied by a series of agonized screams, more than a dozen corpses littered the main hall's floor. The atmosphere grew heavy and oppressive, the air thick with suffocating silence. Those martial artists who had not joined the assault against Shen Linfeng stood frozen in sheer terror. Their Adam's apples bobbed continuously as they swallowed hard. Terrifying, utterly terrifying. With nothing more than a single palm's flick, he had slaughtered so many. In that instant, they understood Shen Linfeng was no ordinary innate martial artist. He stood at least at the mid-stage of innate, perhaps beyond the 4th realm. Not a single one of them dared to move, too fearful even to draw breath. They dreaded that Shen Linfeng in his bloodlust might turn and slaughter them as well. Yet Shen Linfeng was not a mindless killer. Since they had not struck against him, he naturally had no intention of taking their lives either. He coolly produced the final pair of chopsticks, calmly finished his meal and wine, then rose and departed. The inn waiter hiding at the stairwell turned ashen with terror, his legs quaking uncontrollably. Seeing Shen Linfeng stride toward him, the waiter nearly lost control. Inside, he marveled at the ruthlessness of this young hero. During nothing more than a meal, he had taken so many lives. After cutting down so many, he still sat and ate with composure, his appetite entirely undisturbed by the corpses strewn about. For soiling your floor, take this as payment for cleaning. Also wrap up 2 roasted chickens and a jug of wine for me. No need to return the change. As Shen Linfeng passed the inn waiter, he tossed down a silver note worth 100 taels. Thank you, honorable guest. Thank you, honored customer. The inn waiter bowed repeatedly, his heart swelling with gratitude. What a generous young hero. He had even offered so much for floor cleaning. He lamented that too few martial artists had come to the inn today. If more had perished, the young hero's cleaning compensation would have been even greater. Leaving Tongfu, and Shen Linfeng noticed numerous individuals lurking in the shadows, covertly watching him. He paid them no mind, vaulted onto his horse, and rode off at speed. Deep in the darkness, someone exhaled in relief and murmured, "This Shen Linfeng is truly a harbinger of doom." Shen Linfeng urged his horse out of the city, heading straight for Zaimai Manor. At the same moment, several messenger pigeons soared from Jitsang City, their flight paths unmistakably aimed toward Zaimai Manor as well. Zaimai Manor rested upon a mountainside halfway up the hill, built into the slope and surrounded by thousands of plum blossom trees. It was the height of the March blooming season, and the plum blossoms erupted in full splendor, pink as rosy clouds stretching into an endless sea. A gentle breeze swept through, causing the branches to tremble as petals drifted and swirled downward in a fragrant cascade. The intoxicating fragrance of plum blossoms carried upon the wind could be sensed several miles away. A messenger pigeon beat its wings through the pink floral sea, soaring into Zaimai Manor and alighting upon a middle-aged man's outstretched hand. The middle-aged man removed the message scroll, unrolled it, and his pupils contracted sharply as a faint curve touched his lips. Having released the pigeon, he immediately hurried toward the plum blossom forest. Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui were seated within a pavilion in the plum blossom grove, sharing wine and admiring the flowers with an elderly gentleman whose hair and beard were streaked with both black and white. 4 musicians sat nearby, one plucking a chin, another playing the shao flute, a third caressing the zither, and the fourth blowing the dizzy, performing a harmonious rendition of Lanling Meng Hui for the 3 to savor. The elderly gentleman was none other than Chen Zhongyuan, master of Zaimai Manor and wielder of the renowned plum blossom hand. With half-closed eyes and a swaying head, he listened to the melody with evident delight and remarked with a broad smile, "My dear nephew are not my musicians most skilled." Zhou Mingyu raised his hands in salute and replied, "The musicians under your care, Uncle Chen, are indeed exceptional. I have never before heard Lanling Meng Hui performed with such brilliance." Ha ha ha. Shen Zhongyuan stroked his beard and chuckled proudly. "Though my martial prowess may not match your father's when it comes to refinement and elegance, your father has far to learn from me." Listening to Lanling Meng Hui savoring the Fengyue Luying wine while gazing upon this expanse of floral sea. Such a scene and sentiment. Let alone within Zhufeng Commandery, even throughout all of Yinzhou province, there surely exists not a second place to match it. Zhou Mingyu raised his cup in a distant toast and agreed, "You speak truly, Uncle Chen." Jiang Shurui sat upright and composed, never daring to interject across the entire gathering. The surrounding sea of blooming flowers so entranced the young maiden that she became utterly consumed. Before she knew it, even some of her hatred toward Shen Linfeng had begun to fade. Just then the middle-aged man arrived in haste and handed the message scroll to Chen Zhongyuan. After reading it, Chen Zhongyuan smiled and addressed Zhou Mingyu, "My dear nephew, the person you seek has arrived." Both Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui's bodies immediately tensed. "Is it Shen Linfeng?" "Indeed." Chen Zhongyuan stroked his beard and said, "News has come from Jitsang City." Shen Linfeng appeared there at midday, then departed the city, heading directly in the direction of Zaimai Manor. He smiled mischievously. "It seems that not only are you searching for him, but he is also searching for you. Knowing full well that you reside within my estate, he still dares to come alone, unafraid." Zhou Mingyu growled with resentment. "That man colludes with the demonic cult. He is despicable and lowly, yet audaciously brazen, bold enough to show no respect even for Uncle Chen. Truly detestable." Rising to his feet, he bowed deeply before Chen Zhongyuan. "I implore you, Uncle Chen, to lend your hand and help your nephew capture this wretch, rid the martial world of Yinzhou of this vermin." Jiang Shurui also offered a respectful bow from beside him. Chen Zhongyuan, seasoned and shrewd, could plainly detect the goading and provocation in Zhou Mingyu's words. Yet he chose not to expose it. After all, Zhou Mingyu was the son of an old friend. Since Zhou Mingyu sought his aid, and it lay within Chen Zhongyuan's power to assist, he naturally obliged. Besides, it was merely dealing with a cheeky youngster. Chen Zhongyuan waved his hand. "Chen Xian, take a group and apprehend that Shen Linfeng. Capture him alive if you can, if not, kill him outright." The middle-aged man standing nearby bowed respectfully. "Yes, master." Chen Zhongyuan turned his gaze toward Zhou Mingyu and smiled. Shen Xian is the adopted son I hold in highest esteem and the second most formidable fighter within Zimai Manor. With him leading the strike, personally Shen Linfeng has nowhere to flee. Hearing this, Zhou Mingyu's face lit with elation. Excellent. I am most grateful, Uncle Chun. I humbly request your permission to join as well. Shen Zhongyuan smiled nonchalantly. Go ahead if you wish. This old man was once young as well and understands how martial artists burn with righteous fury, eager to settle scores with their own hands. Chen Xian led Zhou Mingyu and Jiang Shurui away while Shen Zhongyuan remained seated within the plum blossom grove leisurely indulging in his wine. He chuckled softly. Heh, the demonic cult. Just then one of the Qin players struck a wrong note producing a harsh grating clang. The four musicians instantly dropped to their knees trembling violently as they pleaded desperately for mercy. Spare our lives, master. Spare us. Shen Zhongyuan drained his cup, then shook his head with evident regret. Truly unfortunate. A fine piece, such as Lanling Ming Hui, has been ruined. With a casual wave of his hand, he spoke indifferently, drag them away, and bury them. The musicians grew even more frantic, continuously kowtowing and crying out, Spare us, master. Spare our lives, master. For martial artists, expressionless clad in black garments embroidered with plum blossoms upon their chests, approached. Ignoring the pleas, they dragged the musicians away. Several piercing screams rang out before the desperate cries fell silent. Soon after, 4 fresh mounds appeared within the plum blossom grove, each crowned with a young plum blossom sapling. After leaving Jitsang City, Shen Linfeng whipped his horse and galloped toward Jimei Villa. Once night fell, he took shelter in a mountain deity temple. Long abandoned, the mountain deity temple lay in ruins with broken windows, cracked walls, and a gaping hole in the roof. The deity's severed statue head rested on the side and thick dust blanketed the floor. Clearing a small clean space, Shen Linfeng lit a campfire, pulled out his packed roast chicken and a jar of Suiwabai wine, and began to enjoy his meal. Tearing off a chicken leg, he devoured it in a few bites, leaving only the bone. Suddenly he spoke aloud. You have been trailing me all this way. Are you still not going to show yourself? His voice faded into the quiet, met with absolute silence. As Shen Linfeng bit into the second chicken leg, his voice grew cold. If you refuse to come out, I shall have to drag you out myself. By then do not expect any mercy. During the day, Shen Linfeng had spoken of showing no mercy, and in the blink of an eye, he had slaughtered over a dozen martial artists. Unwilling to test his patience, the hidden figure stepped out of the shadows. Approaching the temple in trance with a hint of trepidation, he cupped his fists towards Shen Linfeng. Greetings, young hero Shen. I am Feng Wuji. The newcomer wore a headband, sported a short beard, and had a weathered face, holding a long sword in his hand. Although much older than Shen Linfeng, his demeanor was exceedingly respectful. Shen Linfeng recognized him at a glance as the man who had spoken up for him at the Tongfu Inn earlier that day. Yet Shen Linfeng did not lower his guard. Cutting straight to the chase, he demanded, You have followed me all the way from the inn. What is your purpose? Instead of answering, Feng Wuji countered with a question, May I ask, young hero Shen, if you are bound for Jimei Villa? Shen Linfeng nodded in affirmation. I too am heading to Jimei Villa, Feng Wuji said. Clearly catching the fleeting flash of murderous intent in the man's eyes, Shen Linfeng remarked calmly, Are you seeking vengeance? Indeed, Feng Wuji replied. Feng Wuji spat out each word with heavy emphasis, the vengeance of a slaughtered clan. Another survivor of a massacred family. Could they be considered companions in misfortune? Feng Wuji quickly explained the history. 7 years ago, our Feng family fort was a prominent Xintian-level power outside Jitsang City. But on that fateful night, a frenzied Chen Zhongyuan stormed into Feng family fort, slaughtering everyone in sight. My father, my mother, my uncles, along with my younger siblings, my wife, my child, and over 200 lives of Feng family fort. All perished brutally under his fangs. Wait, Shen Linfeng interrupted Feng Wuji. You said they died under Chen Zhongyuan's fangs. Fangs? Feng Wuji nodded. Indeed, they were fangs. I witnessed it with my own eyes. He seemed to fall into a deep, painful memory. That night, Chen Zhongyuan was like an entirely different person. His hair and beard turned blood red, his eyes glared with monstrous fury, bloodshot and distorted, and 4 sharp fangs protruded from his mouth, making him look like a malevolent demon. Not only that, but his fingernails were as hard as iron, and as sharp as blades capable of tearing through iron swords. He bit everyone he saw, and those who fell victim to him had their blood sucked completely dry, turning into withered corpses in an instant. Only under the desperate protection of my father and uncle did I manage to escape Feng family fort with great difficulty. Shen Linfeng furrowed his brows as he listened. In Feng Wuji's description, Chen Zhongyuan sounded exactly like a zombie. Is it an evil art? He immediately deduced this possibility. In this world, there were no demons or ghosts, only exotic beasts that differed from ordinary wild animals. The most formidable of these exotic beasts possessed strength comparable to martial artists of the true Yuan or true Gang realm. Yet exotic beasts were ultimately just beasts, not demonic beasts, and could never assume human form. Similarly, there were no vengeful spirits or zombies. Once a person died, they were truly gone, unable to be resurrected. The only thing that could transform Chen Zhongyuan into the monster Feng Wuji described was some demonic cultivation or evil art. Feng Wuji continued, after fleeing Feng family fort, I concealed my identity, practicing my martial arts relentlessly in secret while biding my time for revenge. I once thought of exposing Chen Zhongyuan's true nature to the world and calling upon the righteous Orthodox sects to crusade against him, but alas, I had no proof. After Feng family fort was wiped out, a raging fire burned the place to ashes, leaving absolutely nothing behind. Shen Linfeng asked, did you not report this to the Jinwu Division? The Jinwu Division suppresses the martial world and investigates major cases. If Chen Zhongyuan was indeed practicing demonic arts, he must have ties to the demonic path, and the Jinwu Division would never let him go. Feng Wuji let out a self-deprecating laugh. I did report it to the Centurion of the Jitsang City Jinwu Division. But while that Centurion paid lip service to a thorough investigation, he turned around and accused me of slandering Hero Chen, claiming that I was the demonic cultist instead. Not only did he refuse to arrest Chen Zhongyuan, but he even tried to silence me by murder. I only narrowly escaped with my life after a desperate struggle. From that moment on, I realized that Chen Zhongyuan's influence was far too vast. The Jinwu Division in Jitsang City could not be trusted. They must have long colluded with him. Shen Linfeng asked, what else have you uncovered? Feng Wuji replied, I also discovered that over these years Chen Zhongyuan has been secretly engaging in the trafficking of children and human smuggling. Under the guise of distributing porridge and performing acts of charity to aid refugees and the destitute, he offered them employment. Yet of those deceived souls who entered Jimei Villa, not a single one ever walked out alive. Many perished within Jimei Villa, while others were taken away by the organization backing Chen Zhongyuan. Everyone praises the plum blossoms of Jimei Villa as incomparably beautiful, a peerless sight in Zhufeng County. But they do not know that the plum blossom trees covering the mountains are nourished entirely by human corpses. The flesh of thousands and the blood of tens of thousands are what truly feed that magnificent spectacle of plum blossoms. At this point, Feng Wuji clenched his fists tightly, his voice raspy and low, dripping with boundless hatred. Do you know which organization is backing Chen Zhongyuan? I do not know, but it is highly likely one of the demonic sects. He growled in frustration. I have practiced bitterly for 7 years, but my talent is ultimately limited. Despite pushing myself to the brink day and night, I have only reached the 3rd stage of Xiantian. Even if I train for another 10 or 20 years, I will be no match for Chen Zhongyuan. What is more, he is backed by a demonic sect. Shen Linfeng scrutinized Feng Wuji. So you wish to borrow my strength to seek your revenge? Precisely. Feng Wuji admitted candidly. Shen Linfeng asked, why should I help you? Feng Wuji replied, as long as young hero Shen is willing to aid me, I will gladly pay any price. I am willing to serve as your slave and servant to hold your horse's reins and stirrups from this day forward. Feng Wuji knelt directly on the ground and swore a solemn oath. Shen Linfeng looked down at him, remaining silent. Anxiety filled Feng Wuji's heart, fearing that even this would fail to move Shen Linfeng. For the sake of revenge, he had waited 7 long years completely devoid of opportunity. Shen Linfeng was his greatest hope. Shen Linfeng picked up the wine flask, tilted his head back to take a sip of the suiwabai, and said calmly, there is no need for you to become a slave or servant. You only need to hand over the Feng family's internal cultivation techniques and martial skills to me. Very well. Feng Wuji agreed without the slightest hesitation. It was merely some internal cultivation and martial skills. As long as he could obtain vengeance, surely his parents in the afterlife would not blame him. I do not possess the physical manuals, but if young hero Shen trusts me, I can recite them from memory, and I can also demonstrate the swordplay before you. That will do. Shen Linfeng nodded. Subsequently, Feng Wuji first recited the Feng family's internal cultivation manual, the Fengshi formula, several times. Once Shen Linfeng had committed it to memory, Feng Wuji demonstrated the Feng family's ancestral sword art, the Swift Gale swordplay, several more times. Shen Linfeng memorized them with utmost diligence and focus, committing all the internal cultivation methods and sword techniques to memory. Before long, the system responded. Ding. Detected internal cultivation method, wind breath art, and martial skill, Gale Swift sword. Do you wish to cultivate? Cultivate. Merge the internal cultivation into the blazing sun art, and merge the sword techniques as well. Ding. The host is cultivating the wind breath art. Allocating points. The wind breath art has broken through the 1st tier, 2nd tier, 3rd tier, all the way to the complete 8th tier. Ding. The host is cultivating the Gale Swift sword. Allocating points. The Gale Swift sword has broken through from novice to proficient mastery and finally grand completion. Merging cultivation methods. Upgrading the blazing sun art. Upgrade successful. Merging sword techniques. Upgrading. Upgrade successful. Please name the new sword technique host. A surge of pure true qi emerged, circulating through his meridians before flowing into his dantian. The true qi within Shen Linfeng's body jolted as his cultivation realm broke through to the 5th level of the innate realm. With this, he was far more confident in dealing with Qin Zhongyuan. Drawing his blade from its sheath, his figure flashed forward. Using his blade as a sword, he began to practice the sword techniques. As he executed the gale swift sword light whistled and shadows of the blade overlapped, incomparably stronger than Feng Wuji's display. Watching from the side, Feng Wuji was left utterly dumbfounded. He had practiced the gale swift sword for over 20 years, yet had only reached the mastery level. Now Shen Linfeng had merely watched him perform it a few times, yet his very first attempt was already at the level of grand completion. What kind of monstrous comprehension was this? What kind of freakish talent? Is this what a peerless genius of the martial world is truly like? At this moment, Feng Wuji finally understood the meaning of a true genius. So the gap between a genius and an ordinary person was this vast. Sometimes the difference between one person and another was greater than the difference between a human and a dog. He sighed inwardly. No wonder Shen Linfeng at the mere age of 18 could slaughter the entire Jiang family to avenge his own. He even dared to charge into Jimei Villa alone to clash with Qin Zhongyuan. Swish, swish, swish. Sword light crisscrossed, tearing through the air. Gradually Shen Linfeng's movements changed. The gale swift sword and the flowing cloud sword merged seamlessly, his strikes becoming as untraceable as a ghost, shifting unpredictably, coming and going without a trace. Merging the two sword techniques, keeping the essence and discarding the dregs, resulted in a power far exceeding either of them individually. Let's call it the gale flowing cloud sword, Shen Linfeng thought to himself. Whether it was the flowing cloud sword or the gale swift sword, the core essence of both lay in a single word: speed. Name: Shen Linfeng. Realm: 5th level of the innate realm. Cultivation skills: Blazing Sun, Art, Incomplete 5th tier, Grand Completion, 7 Army Breaking Styles, Grand Completion, Void Stepping Steps, Grand Completion, Gale, Flowing Cloud Sword, Grand Completion, Eagle Claw Hand, Grand Completion, Stone Shattering Palm, Grand Completion. Points 1 quadrillion. Congratulations, young hero Shen, on achieving grand completion in your swordplay. Feng Wuji said respectfully from the side. Sheathing his blade, Shen Linfeng replied indifferently, since you have paid the price, I will naturally help you seek revenge. Feng Wuji was overjoyed. Thank you, young hero Shen. Shen Linfeng waved his hand. It is too early to thank me. You can thank me after we collect some interest. Interest? Feng Wuji froze for a moment, utterly confused. Shen Linfeng's gaze pierced straight out of the mountain god temple. Outside it was pitch black, so dark that one could not see their own hand in front of their face. Seeing this, Feng Wuji also peered outside, placing his hand on his sword hilt, his expression tense and alert. Suddenly Shen Linfeng barked coldly, "They're here." Before his voice could fade, flickers of torchlight pierced through the dark night outside the temple, accompanied by the rapid approach of galloping hooves. It's the people from Jimei Villa. Seeing Shen Linfeng so guarded, Feng Wuji immediately guessed that the people from Jimei Villa had come to ambush them halfway. Yeah. The sound of hooves drew closer and closer until finally a group of mounted figures emerged. These men were all dressed in black, wearing bamboo hats with longbows slung over their backs and sharp swords hanging from their waists. There were 22 of them in total. Leading them were a middle-aged man and a youth. The group halted about 30 meters outside the mountain god temple. Upon seeing the middle-aged man, Feng Wuji immediately whispered, "Be careful, young hero Shen. That man is Qin Zhongyuan's most highly regarded foster son. He is at the 4th level of the innate realm." "I know." Shen Linfeng nodded, but his attention remained fixed on the youth. It was none other than Zhou Mingyu. "You filthy dog, you certainly made me search for you." Shen Linfeng's killing intent boiled. When Zhou Mingyu saw Shen Linfeng, murder flared in his eyes as well. He shouted, "Shen Linfeng, you stray dog. Your life is indeed tenacious for you to have escaped, even under those circumstances. The Jiang family truly are a bunch of useless trash, good for nothing, but ruining things." Shen Linfeng's voice was ice cold as he asked indifferently, "Are you alone? Did that wench Jiang Shurui not come?" Zhou Mingyu snorted coldly. "She doesn't need to be here. I will capture you and bring you back, so junior sister Jiang can torture you to her heart's content. This time let's see how you escape. A lowly ant like you daring to oppose this young master is destined to die without a grave." Having said that, he turned to Qin Xian and cupped his fists. "I'll have to trouble you, brother Chen." Qin Xian chuckled softly. "It's no trouble at all, just a wet behind the ears brat." With that he waved his hand. "Fire!" As soon as the words left his mouth, the 20 black-clad men behind him quickly dismounted and assembled in front of him, forming 2 rows of 10. They grabbed the longbows from their backs, drew their arrows, and shot at Shen Linfeng. 20 arrows pierced through the air, carrying sharp, rushing sounds of wind. Every single one was a chi-breaking armor-piercing arrow specifically designed to penetrate the protective true chi of the innate realm. Not good. Feng Wuji's pupils contracted, and he instantly wanted to retreat into the temple to hide behind its walls. However, a howling wind rushed past his ears as Shen Linfeng took a step forward, his body surging with majestic true chi as he charged directly toward the oncoming arrows. With exquisite footwork, he flickered and crossed 10 meters in an instant, leaping into the air, clouds vanishing over 1,000 peaks. Drawing his blade, he slashed downward. Though he held a blade, he executed a sword technique, specifically the clouds vanishing over 1,000 peak stance of the gale-flowing cloud sword. While swordplay usually favored agility, clouds vanishing over 1,000 peaks was a ferocious lethal strike designed to suppress opponents with sheer force. The momentum of the strike was heavy and profound, like clouds sweeping over mountains. The sword chi erupted through the air, vast and mighty, blasting a wave of air that deflected all 20 incoming arrows. Fire again! Chun Xian roared. The 20 black-clad men immediately drew their bows, and a second rain of arrows descended. Back to you. As Shen Linfeng charged forward, he swept his blade toward the black-clad men. A surge of powerful true chi erupted. The sword momentum was like a whirlwind sweeping through snow, and the sword chi swept up the arrows, launching them backward with double the speed and power. Flowing wind, returning snow. The black-clad men were tightly packed in formation and had no time to disperse and dodge. They were instantly struck by the rain of arrows. Swish, 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 ah! Amidst a chorus of agonizing screams, the formation of the 20 black-clad men shattered. They were thrown into complete disarray, knocked off their feet and horses. Half of the 20 men had their chests pierced by the arrows, dying on the spot, while the survivors were left bruised and battered. Zhou Mingyu went pale with shock. How can he be so strong? Chen Xian's face turned grim. We miscalculated. A boy they had expected to capture easily had suddenly turned into a formidable foe. Seeing Shen Linfeng rapidly closing in, Chen Xian kicked off, leaping from his saddle. Stepping off his horse's head, he lunged forward to strike at Shen Linfeng. You little beast, dare not be so arrogant. Chen Xian flew in midair, his palms surging with true energy as his hands danced up and down, delivering a palm strike toward Shen Linfeng. This was the plum-breaking hand Shen Zhongyuan's signature technique, combining palm strikes and grappling methods. The palm technique's force was so immense it could shatter a person's internal organs without leaving a single external wound. The grappling aspect targeted the body's major acupoints with bone-crushing and tendon-ripping ferocity. Shen Linfeng faced Chen Xian head-on, his solar true energy circulating within, while his blade sang through the air as he unleashed the 1,000 rivers reflect the moon technique. Ryup! A glimmer of cold light tore through the dark night, striking Chen Xian's palm directly. Upon impact, the ring of metal on metal echoed, sending sparks flying. Shen Linfeng observed that Chen Xian's palm was sheathed in a layer of blood-colored true energy, his 5 nails sharp as blades. It was precisely this that enabled him to withstand a weapon with bare hands. Not iron shirt practice, yet remarkably similar. Shen Linfeng immediately recalled what Feng Wuji had once told him. 7 years prior, when Qin Zhongyuan massacred the Feng family fort, the man had moved like a demon with fangs bared and nails capable of shredding iron swords. Chen Xian was Qin Zhongyuan's adopted son, and had naturally learned the same martial arts as his master. Die! Chen Xian roared, pressing his fingers together so his nails clashed against the blade, attempting to snap Shen Linfeng's wide sword. Shen Linfeng swung his blade upward, releasing a wave of sword chi that sent Chen Xian flying. In one fluid motion, he flipped his body and delivered a kick to Chen Xian's chest, sending him tumbling through the air. Chen Xian grunted in pain as he flew backward over 10 meters, crashing into a massive tree and splitting it clean in two. Upon landing, he spat a mouthful of fresh blood, and his breathing grew erratic. Before Chen Xian could rise, Shen Linfeng was already upon him. With the utmost Lingshu step fully unleashed, Shen Linfeng bounded forward several zhang in a single leap and closed the distance in merely 2 strides. The wide sword slashed down from the sky, aiming straight for Chen Xian's glabella, a fatal vital point. Chen Xian kicked off the ground and slid away with surprising agility, evading the strike like a nimble fish. The blade flash split a giant tree thick enough to require 2 people embracing cleanly in half. From behind, Chen Xian launched a surprise attack. His entire body convulsed with violent energy as a crimson aura engulfed him, his long hair whipping wildly before turning blood red in an instant. With a hoarse growl, his eyeballs bulged with blood, for sharp fangs emerged from his mouth, and his fingernails elongated into cruel points. His 5 fingers splayed wide as he struck toward Shen Linfeng's back. Shen Linfeng's figure flickered, slipping past the wind-shredding palm strike with mere inches to spare. With a thunderous boom, a tree several meters away exploded into splinters that rained across the clearing. Truly a demonic art, an evil technique. Gazing at Chen Xian's grotesque, half-human, half-demon appearance, Shen Linfeng's conviction only deepened. No wonder Qin Zhongyuan began practicing martial arts at the age of 24, yet progressed at such a terrifying rate, breaking through to the innate realm within a decade. No orthodox technique could ever accomplish that. Since you've discovered it, I cannot let you live. Die. Chun Xian channeled his blood-colored true energy, condensing it into a sphere within his palm before driving it toward Shen Linfeng. The palm wind howled, carrying a nauseating stench of blood to Shen Linfeng's nostrils. Such a trivial skill dares show off before an expert. Wind fastens iron clothing. Shen Linfeng slashed downward from midair, the strike so blindingly fast the eye could hardly follow. The blade's impossible speed ignited the surrounding air, birthing a ring of flame that roared along the blade's edge. Swish! The blade flash split Chun Xian's crimson sphere in two, the shattered energy detonating with deafening force. Boom, boom, boom. Twin trails of flame carved gouges into the earth on both sides of Shen Linfeng. Whoosh! His body became lightning itself, appearing before Chun Xian in the blink of an eye as he brought his blade down. Chun Xian had no time to react, only a flash of cold light flickering within his pupils. Shen Linfeng returned his blade to its scabbard and turned with effortless grace. Behind him, Chun Xian stood frozen, his eyes vacant and lifeless. In the next instant, a long bloody fissure split open at Chun Xian's glabella, streaming downward, past his nose, his lips, his chin, his throat, his chest, all the way to his waist. Blood gushed forth as Chun Xian's corpse split into two halves and fell to the ground. Though the description feels drawn out, Shen Linfeng had killed Chun Xian in merely 3 moves. The first move had wounded him. The second had been dodged. The third had cleaved him in twain. In the space of a single blink, he was dead. Seeing Chun Xian bisected, Zhou Mingyu's heart hammered with dread, and a wave of panic washed over him. He knew all too well that Chun Xian had reached the 4th realm of the innate stage, yet Shen Linfeng had dispatched him so effortlessly. With Chun Xian dead, what chance did he himself have? At this moment, Zhou Mingyu regretted everything. He regretted coming along with Chun Xian to kill Shen Linfeng. If he had stayed behind, even if Chun Xian had failed and perished, he himself would have survived unscathed. Loose arrows. Shoot that bastard to death. Zhou Mingyu bellowed his command as the battered group of black-clad figures rallied once more, drawing their bows and aiming at Shen Linfeng. Even if they could not kill Shen Linfeng, they could at least slow him down. Meanwhile, Zhou Mingyu yanked the reins, turned his horse around, and fled for his life. Despicable cur, you shall not escape. Feng Wuji charged in from the distance. Brandishing his sword, he slashed at the black-clad assassins, his sword chi howling forth and bisecting 2 of them in a single stroke. Another horizontal sweep claimed 2 more heads. Between sweeping arcs of sword light, the black-clad archers were slaughtered without mercy. Though he could not match either Qin Zhongyuan or Chun Xian, Feng Wuji had already reached the 3rd realm of the innate stage, making these postnatal 9th realm archers utterly trivial opponents. Zhou Mingyu found his path blocked and fumed with rage, shouting at Feng Wuji, "Move aside, or I'll destroy your entire clan." Feng Wuji sneered. "My entire clan was already wiped out long ago. If you could manage to destroy it once more, I would actually hold you in higher regard." Zhou Mingyu was left speechless. He realized then why this man dared to block his path. His entire family was already dead. Such a rootless, desperate man was truly impossible to threaten. Even if your whole clan is dead, do you care about your own life? Zhou Mingyu continued his threats. "Do you know I am a direct disciple of the Golden Blade Sect? Offend me, and I'll ensure you have nowhere to flee, to neither heaven nor earth." Before he could finish his curses, Zhou Mingyu yanked the reins again and turned his horse to flee. He had no time to tangle with Feng Wuji, with Shen Linfeng hot on his heels. Feng Wuji pursued, using Qinggong, shouting loudly, still acting like a spoiled young master even at death's door. "Get off that horse." A sword flash streaked outward, heading straight for Zhou Mingyu's back. Terror filled Zhou Mingyu's face as he kicked off the saddle and leapt clear just in time. But while he could dodge, his horse could not. With a piercing neigh, the fine steed was split in 2, its flesh and entrails spilling across the ground. "Damn you." Zhou Mingyu's chest heaved with barely contained fury. So Shen Linfeng opposed him. That was to be expected, but now even some unknown nobody dared interfere. When had Zhou Mingyu ever been so easily bullied? Should everyone be able to trample upon him? Yet for all his anger, he had no intention of engaging Feng Wuji in a death match. Upon landing, he turned and fled. This time Feng Wuji did not pursue further, for a spinning wide blade was faster than him. Swish, swish, swish. The wide sword cut through the air, carving a silver-white arc through the forest as it sped toward Zhou Mingyu's left knee. Zhou Mingyu continued running forward, but his body went limp and he collapsed. Everything below his left knee remained behind. "Ow, ow, ow." Zhou Mingyu clutched the severed stump of his left knee, letting out a heart-wrenching, agonizing shriek. Blood gushed out in torrents, staining the grassy ground crimson. After severing Zhou Mingyu's left foot, the broadsword continued its spinning trajectory, before finally flying back into Shen Linfeng's hand. With a deft flick of his wrist, he spun the blade and sheathed it. My leg, my leg." Shen Linfeng, how dare you sever my leg? You will die a horrible death. Zhou Mingyu shrieked in agony, while roaring Shen Linfeng's name, his voice dripping with boundless malice and hatred. Shen Linfeng stood in the distant darkness of the night, the moonlight illuminating only half of his face, his gaze cold and indifferent. Discerning the situation instantly, Feng Wuji stepped forward and shattered Zhou Mingyu's dantian with a single palm strike, destroying his martial arts before grabbing him and tossing him at Shen Linfeng's feet. With his left foot severed and his dantian shattered, Zhou Mingyu was reduced to a complete cripple. Yet he still did not want to die. He desperately clung to life, his survival instinct refusing to fade. Zhou Mingyu dragged his severed leg, crawling along the ground and leaving a trail of blood in his wake. Suddenly a pair of feet appeared before him. Looking up, his eyes met Shen Linfeng's icy stare. A violent shiver ran down his spine, as if a bucket of freezing water had been poured over his head. What do you want? My father is Zhou Shurui, an elder of the Jindao sect. If you dare kill me, the Jindao sect will never let you get away with it. Though utterly terrified, Zhou Mingyu still invoked the names of his father and the Jindao sect to threaten Shen Linfeng. Though his words sounded defiant, his voice lacked conviction, betraying his deep-seated cowardice. As Shen Linfeng stared at Zhou Mingyu, the horrific scene of the Shen family's massacre flashed across his mind, and a surge of murderous fury instantly erupted from his chest. His blood surged rapidly, causing the veins on his neck to bulge like writhing earthworms. Zhou Mingyu, when you slaughtered my entire Shen family, did you ever imagine that you would one day fall into my hands? Shen Linfeng's voice was ice cold. He drew his blade in a flash, severing a finger from Zhou Mingyu's left hand. Zhou Mingyu shrieked in agony, weeping and begging for mercy. It wasn't me. It was Jiang Shurui. She did all of this. If you want revenge, go find that wretched woman. She is the true culprit. She seduced me with her loose ways. I didn't want to kill you, but she egged me on. Before he could finish, Shen Linfeng swung his blade again, severing another finger. Do you know how your two junior brothers, as well as Jiang Zhonghai and Jiang Zhongwei of the Jiang family, died? What do you mean? Zhou Mingyu's voice trembled. Excessive blood loss and excruciating pain caused his body to shake uncontrollably. Shen Linfeng said word by word. Your two junior brothers and Jiang Zhonghai had their limbs severed by me and were turned into human swine. Clang. A third finger was severed. Each of them was tortured to their absolute limit before I finally decapitated them. Swish. The fourth finger fell. In the end, their corpses were fed to the wolves, devoured until nothing remained. Splat. The fifth finger, along with his entire left palm, was hacked off. Zhou Mingyu wailed incessantly, his body convulsing as he soiled himself in sheer terror. No, you can't do this to me. Mercy, please spare me. I will give you silver. So much silver. I can even give you the secret manuals of the Jindao sect. Shen Linfeng ignored him entirely, continuing to chop off Zhou Mingyu's right fingers as he spoke. With every sentence spoken, Zhou Mingyu lost another finger. Jiang Zhongwei's death was much the same, though before I killed him, I turned his son into a human swine right before his very eyes. Zhou Mingyu's eyes widened in sheer horror, staring at Shen Linfeng as if looking at a demon from hell. Beside them, Feng Wuji also felt a chilling shiver run from his heels to his crown, making the hair on his back stand on end. It had to be said that Shen Linfeng's methods of killing were cruel to the absolute extreme. Even though he was not the target of this vengeance, Feng Wuji felt a genuine pang of dread rising from the depths of his heart. Shen Linfeng continued. In the end, I forced Jiang Zhongwei's son to kill him with his own hands, decapitating him and soaking his head in a cesspool. As he finished speaking, all 10 of Zhou Mingyu's fingers had been severed. His bladder was completely empty. No matter how terrified he was, he had no more urine to pass. The Jiang family has paid their price. How do you think you should die? Zhou Mingyu's consciousness began to blur from the severe blood loss, a tangled mess of terror and despair. Kill me. Kill me. I will return Jiang Shurui to you. I only beg for a quick death. He no longer harbored any hope of survival. His only wish was a swift end. You want to return a ruined second-hand woman to me? Murderous intent gleamed like ice in Shen Linfeng's eyes. What use do I have for that wretched whore? With a brutal swing of his blade, Zhou Mingyu's right foot went flying. I won't return her. I won't. Zhou Mingyu wailed miserably. Then I won't return Jiang Shurui. Return her. I'll return your mother's grave. You want a quick and painless death. I will never grant you that satisfaction. Shen Linfeng tapped a finger against Zhou Mingyu's chest, channeling true qi straight into his heart meridian to stimulate his remaining life force, instantly snapping him back into absolute clarity. No. Please. Shen Linfeng, you are a demon. A demon straight from hell. The agonizing screams echoed through the night sky, sending chills down anyone's spine. Unable to bear the sight, Feng Wuji turned away and hid to the side. Finally, having unleashed the fury pent up in his heart, Shen Linfeng severed Zhou Mingyu's head with a single decisive strike. After slaying Zhou Mingyu, a sense of profound relief washed over him. Taking a deep breath, Shen Linfeng gradually suppressed his murderous aura. He walked over to Feng Wuji and said calmly, "Let's go." To Zhumei Villa. At this moment, he was highly stimulated and unable to sleep, wanting nothing more than to reach Zhumei Villa as quickly as possible to slaughter that wretched woman Jiang Shurui. Feng Wuji's throat bobbed as he swallowed hard. He cast a glance back. Zhou Mingyu's severed head was pinned to a tree, a curved scimitar impaling his mouth. His eyes were wide open, filled with endless dread and despair, refusing to close even in death. As for Zhou Mingyu's body, it was completely gone. Minced into a pulp by Shen Linfeng, his bones ground to dust and scattered to the wind. The two of them mounted their horses and galloped away, quickly vanishing into the dark of the night. Meanwhile, at Zhumei Villa, Jiang Shurui was still waiting for Zhou Mingyu to capture Shen Linfeng and bring him back. She was grooming herself before a mirror, her otherwise beautiful face twisted into a hideous scowl. With every stroke of her brush, she cursed Shen Linfeng. "Shen Linfeng, you wretched beast, why couldn't you just die quietly? Why did you have to return for revenge? Why did you have to kill my father? So what if I wiped out your entire family? Putting the facts aside, are you telling me you did absolutely nothing wrong? If you hadn't ignored me and treated me with such cold indifference, would I have ever resorted to seducing Zhou Mingyu? Every other man loses his mind at the mere sight of me, so why were you able to remain so indifferent? Why didn't you fawn over me? If you don't like me, plenty of others do. I wanted to prove to you that I, Jiang Shurui, am the most beautiful woman in the world. This is all your fault. You are the true culprit. Shen Linfeng, you deserve to die." Just as Jiang Shurui was gnashing her teeth and cursing Shen Linfeng, a dark shadow drifted in through the window. The shadow slithered like a venomous serpent, appearing behind Jiang Shurui. It slowly rose, transforming into an old man with a wrinkled, hideous, and deathly pale face. "Jia Jia Jia. My little beauty, which wretched man are you cursing?" A raspy, hoarse voice escaped from the old man's mouth. "Oh!" Jiang Shurui shrieked in terror as she stared at her reflection in the mirror. Who? Who are you?" She turned to face the old man, her voice trembling. The old man grinned. "Jia Jia Jia. Who this old man is does not matter. What matters is that on this long, endless night, you must be dreadfully lonely, my little beauty. Just now I heard you murmuring about someone not liking you." He cackled. "Jia Jia Jia. Do not be sad, little beauty. A rare, exquisite beauty like you. If others do not cherish you, this old man certainly will. Come, let this old man ease your loneliness." With that, the old man reached out to stroke Jiang Shurui's face. Paralyzed with fear, Jiang Shurui screamed for help. "Help! Someone please help!" With a resounding crash, the door was kicked open and Zhou Mingyu's 4 junior brothers rushed into the room. Witnessing Jiang Shurui being violated by an old man, the 4 of them instantly flew into a rage. "You wretched old geezer. Even we haven't touched junior sister Zhou's face, yet you dare lay your hands on her first. This is an absolute outrage. Let me. Oh no. Release your filthy paws at once. Do not fear, junior sister Zhou. We are here to rescue you. Old man, who do you think you are? How dare you molest our junior sister? Do you have a death wish? I surrender without a fight." The 4 disciples of the Golden Saber Sect bellowed in unison. The old man cast a contemptuous glance at them. "Where did these worthless fools come from? You dare speak so arrogantly before me? You court death." He made a grasping motion with his hand, and a majestic surge of true chi erupted from his palm, pulling the 4 of them toward him. The 4 Golden Saber Sect disciples were scared out of their wits. "Oh no. He is a Xiantian expert, even stronger than senior brother Zhou. Mercy, senior. We wouldn't dare do it again. Junior sister Zhou is yours. Do with her as you please, we won't interfere." Yes. We saw nothing." The old man let out a sinister laugh. "Begging for mercy now? Too late." Boom. Striking out with both palms, he slammed them onto the heads of 2 Golden Saber Sect disciples. Enwrapped in blood-red true chi, the 2 let out agonizing shrieks. In the blink of an eye, their flesh and blood withered away, leaving behind shriveled mummies. The remaining 2 disciples and Jiang Shurui watched in sheer horror, completely speechless with fright. The old man repeated the process, draining the remaining 2 Golden Saber Sect disciples into dried corpses as well. Staring at the 4 mummified bodies on the ground, Jiang Shurui fell into absolute despair. Who exactly are you? They were disciples of the Golden Saber Sect, yet you dared to murder them. This is Hero Chen's estate. How dare you commit murder here?" The old man sneered disdainfully. "What does the Golden Saber Sect amount to? And who does Qin Zhongyuan think he is? Even if he were given 10 times the courage, he wouldn't dare meddle in this old man's business. My little beauty, a night of spring breeze, is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. Let us not waste any more time. This old man is burning with desire tonight." With a wave of his hand, a surge of true chi caused the doors and windows to slam shut on their own. Grabbing Jiang Shurui, he threw her onto the bed and lunged forward. "Don't come near me. Get away." "No." Tears of despair streamed down Jiang Shurui's face. Such a massive disturbance could not possibly escape the notice of the sentries both open and hidden of Jimei Villa, let alone a Xiantian expert like Chen Zhongyuan. Yet from beginning to end only the 4 Golden Saber Sect disciples had come to her rescue, not a single other soul appeared. Clearly everyone chose to turn a blind eye to this scene, having long grown accustomed to it. Chen Zhongyuan sat alone in his room, sipping wine. He swayed his head to the rhythm of a new tune played by a newly hired musician. "Sigh, my dear nephew, it is not that your uncle refuses to help you, but rather that I am utterly powerless." An hour later the old man pushed the door open and walked in, licking his lips with a satisfied and refreshed expression. Seeing this, Chen Zhongyuan waved his hand. The musicians bowed respectfully and withdrew from the room with their heads bowed. Sitting across from Chen Zhongyuan, the old man bypassed the teacups entirely, grabbing the teapot to guzzle directly from it. After gulping down half the pot in one breath, he laughed heartily. "Old Chen, I've been drinking tea at your place for so many years, and it was always bitter as death. Only this time it tastes wonderfully sweet." Chen Zhongyuan cursed silently. "My tea leaves are the finest ZU tea, costing 300 taels of silver per ounce. It is only because you are an ignorant brute who cannot appreciate it that my exquisite tea is wasted on you." Yet he dared not utter those words aloud. Stroking his beard, he smiled and said, "I suspect it is not the tea that Hall Master Chow finds sweet, but rather something else entirely." Hall Master Chow grinned triumphantly. "You're not wrong. That little beauty, just now. Exquisite is the only word to describe her. Whose daughter is she? How is it that I have never seen her during my previous visits to your villa?" Chen Zhongyuan grumbled inwardly. "You only think to ask who she is after you've had your way with her." He replied calmly, "She is the woman of Zhou Mingyu, a legacy disciple of the Golden Saber Sect." "Zhou Mingyu? Who is that? Never heard of him." Chen Zhongyuan explained. "He is the son of Zhou Shurui of the Golden Saber Sect." "Oh, so it's his son." Realization dawned upon Hall Master Chow, and he shrugged indifferently. "Then it's no concern. Let alone a wet behind-the-ears brat. Even if I wanted to bed Zhou Shurui's own woman, that old bastard would have to obediently deliver his wife to my bed. Anyway, let's get down to business." Hall Master Chow's expression turned serious as he asked, "How is the refining of this month's blood pills coming along?" Chen Zhongyuan replied, "They have long been prepared." He slid a brocade box toward Hall Master Chow. Upon opening it, Hall Master Chow found 10 jade vials inside. He took one out and uncorked it, and a pungent metallic scent of blood instantly wafted into the air. Inside the jade vial were pills as crimson as blood. Hall Master Chow poured one out, popped it into his mouth, and chewed a few times before nodding in satisfaction. 99% purity. High grade. Old Chen, for all these years the blood pills refined at your place have always been of the finest quality. No wonder the Lord Guardian holds you in such high regard." At the mention of the Lord Guardian, Chen Zhongyuan immediately straightened his back and said respectfully, "It is Chen Zhongyuan's utmost honor to serve the sacred sect and the Lord Guardian." Hall Master Chow snorted, appearing somewhat disdainful. "Enough. The Lord Guardian is not here, so there is no need to put on a show in front of me. After all these years, you still haven't cured yourself of that foul scholarly habit, always acting with the hypocrisy of a literate man. You're nothing but a failed scholar. Aren't you tired of putting on this act for so many years? And this Jimei Villa of yours. You always speak of elegance, yet the ground beneath those plum blossom trees is buried with corpses. Have you ever seen any world-renowned great scholar showcase elegance using plum trees nourished by human blood?" Chen Zhongyuan chuckled softly, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. "Well, now that I have the goods, it is time for this old man to depart." Hall Master Chow stood up, then paused suddenly, and said, "I almost forgot. The Lord Guardian asked me to pass a message to you. The quota of blood pills to be handed over next month is to be doubled." Chen Zhongyuan's expression shifted slightly. "Why, oi?" Hall Master Chow replied coldly, "Great chaos is imminent. Naturally, the quantity of blood pills required by the sacred sect has multiplied. This is not just for your place, it is the same everywhere else." Chen Zhongyuan fell silent for a moment, then nodded. "Please inform the Lord Guardian that Chen Zhongyuan will certainly not disappoint him." Hall Master Chow did not reply. He turned and left, his voice echoing from afar. "I shall be taking that little beauty with me as well. Such an exquisite treat is best enjoyed a few more times." Chen Zhongyuan did not attempt to stop him. She was but an insignificant woman. Were it not for Zhou Mingyu, he would not have spared her a second thought. As for how he might account to Zhou Mingyu regarding Jiang Shurui's removal, Chen Zhongyuan could not have cared less. Did he owe any explanation to Zhou Mingyu? Shen Linfeng and Feng Wuji, who had traveled through the night, finally arrived at the territory of Zhimai Manor. The two men reined in their horses atop a small hill, gazing toward the horizon. Warm sunlight bathed the land. The sky was a clear washed blue, and the mountains and rivers stood radiant. Before them rose a towering mountain, its mid-slopes blanketed in a sea of pink blossoms. A gentle breeze drifted by, carrying the faint fragrance of plum flowers. Shen Linfeng had never seen such a breathtaking plum blossom forest. He had to admit the scenery was truly unsurpassed in Zhufeng Commandery and perhaps all of Yanzhou. It was a pity that such magnificence had been cultivated with the lives of thousands. Beneath the vibrant surface lay endless death and corruption. Shen Linfeng felt the plum blossom forest would make an excellent burial ground. Letting Jiang Shurui be laid to rest here among the thousands of wronged souls would be her most fitting end. Unable to wait another moment, he urged his horse forward and charged into the forest. Feng Wuji followed closely behind. The two soon reached the edge of the plum blossom forest. Who goes there? How dare you trespass in Jemai Manor? No sooner had Shen Linfeng arrived at the forest than over a dozen figures darted out from among the trees, blocking their path. They were uniformly dressed in black combat attire, each with a plum blossom embroidered upon the chest, their expressions blank and stiff. The leader was a warrior of the innate realm, the others were all at the 9th level of the postnatal realm. It's you, Shen Linfeng. You are somehow still alive. The innate warrior recognized Shen Linfeng, his expression shifting to shock. He knew Chen Xian had led a contingent the previous night to ambush him. With Chen Xian nowhere in sight, and Shen Linfeng now appearing at the gates, the conclusion was clear. Chen Xian was dead. Quickly go and die. Before the man could finish his sentence, Shen Linfeng struck, without hesitation. He leapt from his saddle, soaring above the innate warrior's head. His wide blade flashed from its scabbard as he brought it down in a vertical cleave. Behind him the blazing sun cast its light upon the blade, true energy surging like raging flames. A miniature sun descending from the heavens. Long river-setting sun. The innate warrior's pupils contracted sharply as he reached for his sword. Yet his strength was insufficient and his movements too slow. Before his hand had even gripped the hilt, the blade fell. A wet sound echoed as the warrior's body split cleanly in two, each half spiraling away in opposite directions. Shen Linfeng landed gracefully and flicked his blade. Droplets of blood splashed onto the plum blossom branches, driving crimson petals to the ground. Meanwhile, Feng Wuji charged into the fray. His eyes burned crimson, his aura brimming with murderous intent. Every strike poured with his fullest effort and held no restraint. Swordlight flashed, heads flying skyward as he quickly cut down over a dozen warriors. Shen Linfeng cast him a glance and said calmly, "Seeking revenge is commendable, but if you exhaust your true qi prematurely, you will lack the strength to face Qin Zhongyuan." Feng Wuji drew several deep breaths and shook his head. "I cannot calm myself. I have waited a full 7 years for this day. The longer hatred is suppressed, the more devastating its explosion." Seeing this, Shen Linfeng said nothing further and strode into the plum blossom forest with Feng Wuji following close behind. At first he remained wary, wondering whether such an expansive plum blossom forest might conceal some formation, as with Peach Blossom Island. Should they fail to break through it, they would be trapped and perish within. In truth, his fears proved unfounded. There was no formation here at all. Beyond a few traps, hidden weapons, and sporadic warriors emerging to block their path, breaching Jemai Manor required far less effort than he had anticipated. After slaughtering over 100 along the way, they finally breached Jemai Manor itself. Inside the manor's study, Qin Zhongyuan was practicing calligraphy, meticulously copying a master's hand. He held his brush with precision, each stroke falling like iron and silver, taking several breaths to complete a single character. Of the 4 characters forming Tian Daoqin Shou, he was now writing the final stroke of the last character. Deep in concentration, a panicked shout shattered his focus from nearby. "Master, something terrible has happened." The distraction sent his brush wild. A vertical stroke elongated uncontrollably, ruining the entire copy. Qin Zhongyuan's expression darkened instantly. Just then another voice echoed from outside. "Shen Linfeng has breached the manor." Clatter. Qin Zhongyuan stepped out of his study, casting a cold glance at the messenger. "So Shen Linfeng has come. What of it? He disrupts my practice with his reckless attacks. He deserves death." The warrior immediately bowed his head. "Master, spare my life, sir." Thud. Qin Zhongyuan's palm crashed down upon the warrior's skull, crushing it. "Useless trash. Keeping you only wastes grain. Ow, ow." At that moment several screams echoed through the air. One by one, figures in black armor smashed through the perimeter wall into the courtyard, one of them crushing a plum blossom tree beneath his weight. Petals rained down, fluttering to the ground. Shen Linfeng and Feng Wuji entered the inner courtyard, coming face to face with Qin Zhongyuan. "You must be Shen Linfeng." Qin Zhongyuan regarded him without a flicker of emotion. "That you have reached this place tells me my adopted son and nephew have both perished at your hands." Alas, he was my adopted son, raised from childhood. Though he was incompetent, not just anyone could have killed him. He shook his head in sigh. "And Mingyu was the son of an old friend of mine. That you killed him leaves me no choice but to act. Now I can only use your life to honor their memory." These final words were spoken in a low, menacing tone saturated with killing intent. Shen Linfeng ignored Qin Zhongyuan's empty threats and went straight to the point. "Where is that whore Jiang Shurui?" He had searched his way through the manor, but found no sign of her, wondering whether that wretched woman had caught wind of his arrival and fled. Shen Zhongyuan folded his hands behind his back and smiled calmly. Why should one who is already dead know such things? His gaze dripped with contempt, as though Shen Linfeng were nothing more than an ant he could crush at will. Shen Linfeng's face remained expressionless. When I have severed your limbs and fashioned you into a human swine, I fear you will speak freely. Wait, young Master Shen. Feng Wuji stepped in front of him, his voice low. I beg you, grant me this one chance. Only this old dog shall die by my hand. Without waiting for a reply, he lunged forward toward Shen Zhongyuan, roaring, Old dog, give me your life. Whether he could prevail or not, his family's annihilator stood before him. If he lacked the courage to draw his sword in this moment, how could he face his parents and kin after death? He had asked Shen Linfeng to help him exact revenge, but that did not mean he could remain a passive spectator content to reap benefits without effort. Some battles he had to fight himself. Even if he failed, he had to try. Ting! Sword light flashed across the air, its chi energy splitting instantaneously into 3 strikes aimed at Shen Zhongyuan's left and right chest and the vital point of his throat. Shen Zhongyuan stood his ground, neither dodging nor retreating. Crimson true energy gathered in his right palm, shaping it into a claw. Ding ding ding. 3 sharp clicks resonated as he deflected all 3 strikes away. The gale fast sword style. I did not expect any remnants of the Feng clan to still survive. Shen Zhongyuan's lips curled into a mocking smile. Old dog, today I shall avenge the 200 lives of my Feng family. With eyes bloodshot and crimson, Feng Wuji fell into a frenzy. He lunged at Shen Zhongyuan, unleashing the gale's swift sword technique. Every strike was fierce and razor-sharp, aiming straight at Shen Zhongyuan's vital points. Facing the net-like web of sword light, Shen Zhongyuan remained completely unfazed. Keeping his left hand behind his back, he engaged the enemy with only his right hand. Employing the Jime hand, he combined palm strikes with grappling techniques, flicking, gripping, and pushing, effortlessly neutralizing Feng Wuji's sword strikes one by one. The moves of the gale's swift sword were soon exhausted, and Feng Wuji reached the end of his wits. Shen Zhongyuan brushed aside the sword blade and struck Feng Wuji squarely in the chest with his palm, sending him flying backward. Feng Wuji coughed up blood repeatedly in midair before crashing violently into a plum blossom tree, snapping it in half. After rolling onto the ground, he struggled to stand, but his arms buckled, and he collapsed once more, completely stripped of his combat capability. Old dog, you deserve to die. Severely wounded Feng Wuji glared at Shen Zhongyuan with bitter resentment, his eyes burning with absolute hatred. He wished nothing more than to skin Shen Zhongyuan alive, feast on his flesh, and sleep on his hide. Shen Zhongyuan cast a cold glance at Feng Wuji and smiled derisively. Young man, when you are weak, you should not dream of vengeance. The Fengjiao fort barely had a single survivor escape, yet you insist on throwing your life away. Why bother? Wouldn't it be better to just crawl and survive? Feng Wuji gasped heavily for air. Old dog, why did you annihilate my Fengjiao fort back then? My Fengjiao fort never offended you. Why on earth did you do it? Without knowing the truth behind his clan's massacre, Feng Wuji could never rest in peace, even in death. Shen Zhongyuan sighed softly. If you must blame something, blame the poor luck of your Fengjiao fort. 7 years ago, a mishap occurred during my cultivation of a divine art, nearly causing me to deviate into madness. Only the essence blood of martial artists could aid my recovery. At that time, the closest place to my Jime villa was Fengjiao fort, so naturally, that was where I had to go. Never in his wildest dreams did Feng Wuji imagine that his entire clan of over 200 people had been slaughtered for such a reason. Instantly losing his composure, he cried out, You destroyed my Fengjiao fort just to cultivate a demonic art. You truly are an evil heretic of the demonic sect. Huh? Demonic art? That is a divine art. Shen Zhongyuan laughed uproariously. The world always talks about the incompatibility of orthodox and heresy, but in my eyes it is utter nonsense. As long as it makes me stronger, a divine art or a demonic art is all the same. In the end, they are both tools for killing. The 200 lives of your Fengjiao fort helped me master my divine art and advance my cultivation. You could say they died for a worthy cause. Old dog, I will kill you. Feng Wuji roared and bellowed, the veins on his neck bulging as his eyes turned blood red. Even though his sternum was shattered and his internal organs were severely damaged, he forced himself to crawl back up, pointing his sword directly at Shen Zhongyuan. What a stubborn bone. Shen Zhongyuan praised. For Fengjiao fort to have a survivor like you, it does not lose its reputation. Unfortunately, after today, the Feng family line will be completely extinguished. With that, Shen Zhongyuan took a step forward and thrust his palm toward Feng Wuji. Feng Wuji was already gravely injured, having exhausted all his strength just to stand. He was utterly incapable of dodging this strike. At the critical moment, Shen Linfeng made his move. Executing the Lingshu steps, his figure moved like lightning as he charged from the flank. Leaping high into the air, the saber in his hand gleamed with a cold light. Using his saber as a sword, he unleashed a furious slash, the cloud-passing thousand peaks technique. Facing Shen Linfeng's lethal strike, Chen Zhongyuan dared not be as arrogant as he was against Feng Wuji. He quickly retracted his move and redirected his palm strike towards Shen Linfeng. Clang! The saber chi clashed with the palm force, and their powerful true chi exploded with a boom. Shen Linfeng landed steadily, but Chen Zhongyuan was forced back 11 steps, shattering the bluestone floor tiles with every step and completely exploding the stairs on his final step. What immense true chi! What formidable sword chi! Chen Zhongyuan was secretly astonished, desperately suppressing the surging blood in his chest. With just a single strike, Shen Linfeng had actually sent his internal vital energy into a tumultuous churn. I misjudged him. This brat's cultivation is not the slightest bit inferior to mine. Zhou Mingyu said that when the Shun family was destroyed, Shen Linfeng was merely at the 9th layer of the Hotian realm. In just half a month, how could he have mastered such a divine art and reached such a realm? What kind of manual is he cultivating? At this thought, an incredibly greedy and cold light flashed in Shen Zhongyuan's eyes. If he could obtain the technique Shen Linfeng cultivated, would his own power not also increase exponentially? Noticing the greed in Shen Zhongyuan's eyes, Shen Linfeng let out a cold snort. With death staring you in the face, you are still greedy for things that aren't yours. Old dog, you are truly incorrigible. Crushing the floor tile under his foot, he shot forward like an arrow released from a bowstring, arriving in front of Chen Zhongyuan in an instant. With the wind striking iron armor, he slashed through the dust, aiming directly for his head. Zhimei hand. Shen Zhongyuan's palms were enveloped in blood-red true chi. His fingernails grew rapidly, becoming as hard as iron and as sharp as blades as he struck toward the incoming blade. With a metallic clang, Shen Linfeng overwhelmed him with sheer force, sending Chen Zhongyuan flying. Chen Zhongyuan let out a muffled groan. The fingernails on his right hand were shattered, and a deep bone-revealing wound tore open across his palm, nearly severing half of his hand. Accursed little beast, you seek death. Corpse demon possession. With a furious roar, Chen Zhongyuan's aura shifted drastically, unleashing a torrent of blood-red true chi. In an instant, his half-black, half-white hair and beard turned blood-red. His face became twisted and hideous, and 4 sharp fangs sprouted from his mouth. The blood-red true chi condensed into scales, covering his entire body. The wound on his palm healed rapidly, and his shattered fingernails grew back once more. In the blink of an eye, Chen Zhongyuan seemed to have transformed into a zombie. Blood corpse claw. Chen Zhongyuan's voice was low and raspy as he let out a savage roar. Condensing his blood-red true chi, he lunged and clawed at Shen Linfeng. The claw shadows tore through the air, overturning layers of bluestone tiles in their path as they surged straight towards Shen Linfeng's face. How dare you show off such petty tricks before a master? 10,000 galloping horses. Shen Linfeng stopped using the gale-flowing cloud sword and instead unleashed his family's heirloom technique, the 7 styles of the army breaker. Leaping and flipping mid-air as he charged forward, he spun his body and brought his saber down in a mighty slash. The saber chi was majestic and powerful, howling forth like 10,000 galloping horses. It clashed against the blood-red claw shadows, instantly shattering them. With its residual force undiminished, it surged onward toward Chen Zhongyuan. Impossible. Chen Zhongyuan paled in shock and hastily circulated his internal true chi to defend against the incoming saber chi. With a sharp splat, blood splattered everywhere. Chen Zhongyuan's chest was struck by the blade. His blood-red scales, once as hard as iron, were now torn open as easily as thin paper. Coughing up a mouthful of blood, Chen Zhongyuan was sent flying backward, crashing through the study doors and slamming heavily inside. Coughing violently, Chen Zhongyuan lay prone on the ground, spitting up large mouthfuls of blood. Clutching his chest, he stared at the massive gash where his internal organs and white bones were faintly visible. Old dog, is this the extent of your strengths? Pressing his advantage, Shen Linfeng executed the Lingshu steps and lunged toward Chen Zhongyuan to finish him off. Damn it, this little beast's strength is even greater than I imagined. I cannot fight him to the death. Chen Zhongyuan's soul shook with terror, his hair standing on end, and the desire to retreat immediately took root in his mind. He struck out a blast of true chi with his palm, hitting the mechanism on the bookshelf. The wall behind him split open, revealing a secret door. With a hard kick of his foot, Chen Zhongyuan propelled himself into the hidden passage. Old dog, don't you dare run. Reacting swiftly, Shen Linfeng immediately gave chase upon seeing Chen Zhongyuan flee. He lunged inside just a split second before the secret door slammed shut. Beyond the secret door lay a passage paved with granite. Oil lamps hung along the stone walls on both sides, illuminating the path as bright as day. Clutching his chest, Chen Zhongyuan fled in sheer desperation, leaving behind a trail of blood on the floor and bloody handprints all over the walls. Shen Linfeng pursued him relentlessly. Upon exiting the passage, he arrived at an underground city. Instantly, a pungent metallic stench of blood rushed to meet him. He gazed ahead and saw that in the center of the underground city was a massive blood pool surrounded by row upon row of cages, each housing emaciated skeletal prisoners. Many more were being led to kneel beside the blood pool, their bodies bound in chains, their eyes dull and expressionless. After their blood was fully drained, their corpses were callously discarded into the corners. Presumably someone would collect the corpses and transport them out of the underground city, after which another plum blossom tree would appear in the grove beyond. What a sinister underground lair. Shen Linfeng's gaze turned cold. At that moment Chen Zhongyuan reappeared, though he wasn't alone. Numerous subordinates trailed behind him. All of them wore expressions of complete blankness, devoid of any human vitality, like puppets manipulated by invisible strings. Among them were 13 individuals with bizarre crimson patterns etched across their faces, each one a primordial realm martial artist. Shen Linfeng, your audacity is truly remarkable. You dare to pursue me here. I must admit, I find some admiration for your courage. Chen Zhongyuan stood beside the blood pool, his eyes radiating the predatory fury of a wild beast brimming with murderous intent. Shen Linfeng surveyed his surroundings and spoke coldly, "Old dog, you've got considerable gall yourself, daring to practice such heretical arts." The prisoners in the cages watched Shen Linfeng's rampage with the same empty, dead-eyed expressions. Their gazes were dim, devoid of any hope for survival. They had long since been broken, their will to live completely shattered. These people were nothing more than living corpses at this point. Ha ha ha, since you've discovered the blood pool, there's no point in hiding it anymore. Chen Zhongyuan sneered, "That's right. I am a disciple of the Corpse Blood Sect, one of the 4 demonic clans. In the martial world, there are many demonic cults. The 5 Poison School, White Lotus Sect, Xianming Sect, and others. All those who engage in malicious deeds qualify as demonic sects. Yet these are merely minor factions held in little regard by the orthodox cultivators. Only the 4 demonic clans have remained the greatest threat to both the dynasty and the righteous sects. All 4 sects have histories spanning over 1,000 years, with masters at the heavenly transformation realm presiding over each. Their ranks are filled with formidable experts, and their influence extends throughout the entire Dian dynasty. The Corpse Blood Sect stands among the 4 demonic clans, specializing in absorbing human essence blood for cultivation and commanding puppet corpses to terrorize the martial world." Shen Linfeng's knowledge of the Corpse Blood Sect was limited, but he understood it was an exceedingly sinister organization. Now witnessing the blood pool firsthand confirmed that the rumors were indeed true. Shen Linfeng, I calculated everything, yet never anticipated that someone so young could possess such profound power. I nearly fell at your hands. But here with the blood pool's advantage, you stand no chance against me. Chen Zhongyuan roared, "Surrender the cultivation technique you've mastered, and I might spare just enough of your consciousness to preserve you as a puppet corpse. Otherwise this day next year will mark your funeral." Enough chattering, die. Shen Linfeng channeled his blazing sun true chi, pushed off with his toe, and launched forward like a gleaming arrow. Chen Zhongyuan let out a thunderous roar, "So be it. Kill him." At his command, his entire retinue charged toward Shen Linfeng in unison. These were all puppet corpses, neither truly dead nor alive, existing somewhere between humanity and death. They knew only to obey commands, feeling no pain and harboring no fear of death. They wouldn't cease their assault unless Chen Zhongyuan explicitly ordered it, fighting until every last one perished. Shen Linfeng employed the Lingshu step, pushing his movement technique to its absolute limit as he charged into the horde of puppet corpses. Swish! Blade light flashed through the air as severed heads flew skyward. Blood sprayed outward while dismembered limbs scattered across the battlefield. Battlefield review. With a single strike blade, Qi swept across 4 puppet corpses' necks, decapitating them in one motion. Beacon towers in flames. One horizontal slash sent blade light, carving a circle through the air, bisecting 6 charging puppet corpses at the waist. The upper bodies hit the ground, but only a trickle of black blood oozed from the wounds, carrying a putrid stench. Shen Linfeng ignored Chen Zhongyuan's madness. Glancing back out of the corner of his eye, he threw his Hungdao saber with a backhand flick. Whoosh! The Hungdao sliced through the air, carving a circular arc. Wherever it passed, the Hotian puppet corpses were completely annihilated. The 4 Xiantian puppet corpses were no exception. As the cold gleam of the blade swept past, their heads soared into the sky, and the Hungdao automatically flew back into his hand. He looked at Chen Zhongyuan and said coldly, "Old dog, what other tricks do you have? Bring them all out. Arrogant little beast, do not think you can win against this old man. My true trump card has yet to be used." Finishing his words, Chen Zhongyuan plunged headfirst into the blood pool. The blood pool bubbled and gurgled, quickly swallowing him whole. Sinking to the bottom of the pool, Chen Zhongyuan circulated the blood fiend corpse demon art frantically, drawing the bloody water into his body. Seeing this, Shen Linfeng immediately leaped onto the platform of the blood pool and peered down. However, the bloody water was viscous and crimson, making it utterly impossible to discern what was happening at the bottom. Without the slightest hesitation, he swung his saber and slashed down at the blood pool. The blade chi tore through the air, carving a massive fissure into the pool. Splat! Blood surged out like a bursting dam. A pungent foul stench of blood erupted enough to make one retch. Right at that moment, a majestic surge of true chi exploded from the depths of the pool. The bloody water shot into the sky, splashing violently against the ceiling of the underground city and scattering in all directions. Tapping his toes, Shen Linfeng retreated rapidly, putting over 10 meters of distance between himself and the blood pool. Chen Zhongyuan leaped out from beneath the blood pool, his hair disheveled as he roared towards the heavens. As he swung his arms and torso, sheets of filthy blood flew off him. Compared to before he jumped into the pool, Chen Zhongyuan now seemed like an entirely different person. His stature had grown by about 2 feet, his limbs thick and brawny, and his face even more hideous and distorted. As he opened his mouth to roar, he revealed 4 razor-sharp fangs, exhaling a scorching high-temperature bloody mist. At this very moment, Chen Zhongyuan could no longer be called human. He was nothing short of a malevolent ghost. Shen Linfeng, do you see this? This is the true power of the blood fiend corpse demon art. To die under the supreme divine art of my corpse blood sect is your ultimate honor. Chen Zhongyuan looked up, staring at Shen Linfeng with cold crimson eyes. Sinking his knees, he kicked off the ground with explosive force, shattering the bluestone floor tiles beneath him into pieces as he hurtled forward like a city-shattering ballista bolt. Swift as lightning, Shen Linfeng dodged just in time. Chen Zhongyuan crashed headfirst into the wall of the underground city, which exploded with a thunderous boom, leaving a gaping hole where he had plowed through. With his head and shoulders buried inside the wall, only his back and lower body remained exposed. What immense strength! Shen Linfeng thought, his guard fully raised. Had he been hit by that strike, just now his bones would have surely been shattered. Seizing the opportunity, he swung his saber, sending a wave of blade chi crashing into Chen Zhongyuan's back. With a sharp tear, a wound ripped open on his back and blood gushed out, splattering onto the ground. As the blood dripped, it actually corroded the bluestone tiles, leaving honeycomb-like pits in its wake. At this point, even Chen Zhongyuan's blood was highly toxic. Pressing his hands against the wall, he pulled himself out of the large hole. Shaking the debris from his hair, he flashed a hideous grin at Shen Linfeng. Blood was still pouring from his back, but he did not care in the slightest, as if he could feel no pain at all. Blood corpse claw. Chen Zhongyuan shattered the tiles underfoot and lunged forward, sweeping a claw toward Shen Linfeng. Shen Linfeng sidestepped to evade the sharp claws, then delivered a backhand slash to Chen Zhongyuan's arm. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions. The scales formed by the condensed blood-colored true chi blocked the strike. Little beast, you will never be able to harm this old man again. Chen Zhongyuan threw a punch toward his head, the wind from his fist tearing through the air like sharp blades. Shen Linfeng bent backward to dodge the fist. Simultaneously, he spun his body and delivered a side kick that landed squarely on Chen Zhongyuan's face, sending him flying backward. Flipping in midair, Chen Zhongyuan landed on all fours and crawled toward Shen Linfeng like a ferocious tiger. Boom, boom, boom. Wherever Chen Zhongyuan went, he clawed at the ground with his hands and feet, leaving deep pits and gouging out claw marks. Shen Linfeng leaped into the air, holding his Hung Dao before him, as his blazing sun true chi surged violently, focusing entirely onto the edge of his blade. Whoosh! A red light flashed in his eyes as Shen Linfeng dove downward, his body spinning rapidly as his saber tore through the air. Gate-breaking heavenly meteor. This was the final and most powerful style of the 7 styles of the Army Breaker. As the blade fell, it was like a meteor descending from the heavens, capable of shattering gates and destroying cities. The crimson blade chi tore through the void, slashing heavily onto Chen Zhongyuan. Chen Zhongyuan crossed his arms in a block, desperately resisting the invasion of the blade chi. The scales formed from blood-colored true chi clashed against the blade chi, sending sparks flying everywhere. Little beast, it is impossible for you to break through my corpse demon armor. Chen Zhongyuan roared hoarsely. Yet before his voice could even fade, the scales on his arms exploded. With a sharp tear, a flash of blade light left a crescent moon arc in the void that lingered for a long moment. 2 bloody arms soared into the sky as Chen Zhongyuan was sent flying by the slash, his body hurtling backward to crash heavily against the wall. With a thunderous crash, a human-shaped crater appeared on the wall and shattered stones drifted down like dust. Embedded deep within the wall, Chen Zhongyuan could no longer move. A massive gash ran across his chest, his sternum was shattered and his internal organs were ruptured. Puff! A mouthful of black blood sprayed from Chen Zhongyuan's mouth, splattering onto the ground and emitting a foul stench. Impossible. Chen Zhongyuan growled low as he spat blood, still unable to believe he had been defeated by Shen Linfeng. With his arms severed, the flesh on his chest torn open, and his sternum and organs shattered, an ordinary person would have died 100 times over from such severe injuries. Yet Chen Zhongyuan was not only alive, but he had not even uttered a single groan. Seeing this, Shen Linfeng's suspicion was confirmed. When Shen Zhongyuan unleashed the so-called blood fiend corpse demon art, he indeed felt no pain. Even severed limbs and fatal wounds could not make him frown. This supreme divine art of the corpse blood sect was indeed incredibly bizarre. Shen Linfeng walked up to Shen Zhongyuan and demanded coldly, "Where is that wretched woman Jiang Shurui?" Shen Zhongyuan weakly raised his head, looked at Shen Linfeng, and sneered, "Little beast, do not think that killing this old man is the end of it. This is only just the beginning. You have offended the sacred sect. Though the world is vast, there is no longer any place for you to hide. Before long you will pay the price for your actions today." Shen Linfeng severed Shen Zhongyuan's legs with a single slash, and said coldly, "I asked you where Jiang Shurui is. I did not ask for your nonsense. Sacred sect. Corpse blood sect. If this old bastard hadn't tried to help Zhou Mingyu deal with him, he wouldn't have bothered with them. Jiang Shurui was taken away last night by a hall master of the sacred sect, who took a liking to her." Shen Zhongyuan said haltingly, "This old man must admit that woman is indeed a femme fatale. Because of her your Shen family was wiped out, and the Jiang family was also annihilated. Zhou Mingyu is dead, and now even my Jimei villa has been destroyed by your hands." He laughed mockingly at himself. Who would have thought that I, Shen Zhongyuan, who dominated the martial world for decades, would ultimately meet my end because of a woman, and one with whom I barely had any connection? A joke, or an absolute joke. Puff, another mouthful of blood sprayed out. Laugh my ass. If you hadn't poked your nose into others' business, you wouldn't have met this end today. Shen Linfeng's tone was indifferent. Who is the hall master who took Jiang Shurui away? Shen Zhongyuan spoke, emphasizing each word. His name is Chao Kuan. He is the hall master of the blood refining hall established by the Shurui sect in Zhufeng County. Their stronghold is deep within the Luoyan Mountains. If you truly possess the ability, track him down and kill him." Shen Linfeng cast a deep, penetrating look at Shen Zhongyuan, his voice dripping with disdain. "Scheming against me even on the brink of death. No matter, it is of no consequence. Jiang Shurui's fate is sealed. I will slay her, and that so-called hall master of yours cannot protect her." With those final words, Shen Linfeng swept his blade in a swift horizontal arc, decapitating Shen Zhongyuan. Flicking off the foul blood, Shen Linfeng glanced at his single-edged blade, his brow furrowing slightly. Several small nicks marred the edge, corroded by Shen Zhongyuan's toxic blood. The blade had lost its mirror-like luster. The blade was essentially ruined. In the martial world, weapons were categorized into distinct grades ranging from lowest to highest: mortal, sharp, treasure, spiritual, and divine. Mortal weapons were unremarkable. A two-tail silver blade forged by an ordinary blacksmith and a 100-tail blade crafted by a master blacksmith both fell under this category. Shen Linfeng's blade had been forged by the finest blacksmith in Guangping City, costing 300 taels of silver, yet it was still nothing more than a mortal weapon. Above mortal weapons were sharp weapons which could better channel Xiantian True Qi and Xiantian True Essence, with prices starting at no less than 1,000 taels of silver. It is indeed time to upgrade to a better weapon, and I should purchase a sword as well. Sheathing his blade, Shen Linfeng left the underground city, retracing his steps. He made no attempt to rescue the captives locked in the cages. Even witnessing Chen Zhiyuan's demise had failed to elicit any reaction from them. Even if Shen Linfeng were to unlock the iron bars, they likely would not emerge. It was evident that their catatonic state was the result of not only relentless torture, but also special drugs administered by Chen Zhongyuan. Passing through the corridor, locating the mechanism, and opening the hidden door, Shen Linfeng returned to Chen Zhongyuan's study. "Young hero Shen," a voice called out in pleasant surprise, and Feng Wuji emerged from the shadows limping. Though his injuries were severe, he had stabilized after consuming some medicinal pills he carried, and his life was no longer in immediate danger. "Where is Chen Zhongyuan?" Feng Wuji asked urgently. Shen Linfeng replied deliberately, "He is dead. His corpse lies in the underground city. If you still harbor resentment, you may go down and desecrate his remains." Shen Linfeng briefly explained the situation in the underground city to Feng Wuji. Feng Wuji fell silent for a moment upon hearing this, then shook his head. "When a man dies, his flame goes out. Since that old dog is dead, the enmity between us is concluded." Not everyone was as extreme as Shen Linfeng, who deemed merely killing his enemies insufficient and sought to desecrate their corpses or even exhume their ancestral graves. Feng Wuji fell to his knees at Shen Linfeng's feet, kowtowing 3 times with utmost reverence. "Thank you, young hero Shen, for helping me avenge this blood feud. This kindness is akin to giving me a second life. Feng Wuji is eternally grateful. If young hero Shen does not spurn me from this day forward, I am willing to follow you, serving as your loyal servant and slave without a single complaint. Should I violate this oath, may heaven and earth abandon me." Shen Linfeng turned to leave, utterly indifferent. "There is no need. I have no use for servants, and besides, your strength is far too weak. Keeping you around would only make you a liability." But Feng Wuji was dumbfounded. He quickly hurried after him and pleaded, "Young hero Shen, please reconsider. I can still be of great use." Whenever you travel, I can handle tasks like washing clothes, leading the horse, and settling bills. Furthermore, if you encounter blind thugs or ruffians, surely you shouldn't have to deign to strike them yourself. It is always proper to have a servant by your side. Shen Linfeng looked at Feng Wuji and countered, "You provided the reward, and I delivered your vengeance. We are even. Now that your great vengeance is fulfilled, you should focus on marrying a dozen beautiful wives, indulging in nightly revelry, fathering 20 or 30 children, and rebuilding the Feng family fort." Feng Wuji grew slightly embarrassed. "Well, isn't a dozen wives a bit too many? I am not greedy. 3 or 4 would suffice." "It is not too many, not in the slightest," Shen Linfeng said earnestly. "If you wish to rebuild your clan, producing offspring is the swiftest shortcut. And to produce many offspring, you naturally must marry many wives. If you truly wish to repay me, go to Guangping City, take a wife, raise children, and guard my parents' graves while you are at it. You know that for the sake of revenge, I exhumed the Jiang family's ancestral graves. Now that this precedent has been set, I fear my future enemies might follow suit and dig up my parents' graves as well." Feng Wuji's lips twitched. He thought to himself, and here I believed young hero Shen feared nothing under heaven, yet even he realizes his actions were excessively extreme. Yet it made sense. Before Shen Linfeng, vengeance merely required taking lives. But after Shen Linfeng, vengeance meant not only killing but also desecrating tombs, exhuming graves, and scattering the ashes. Such ruthless methods would strike terror even into the hearts of the demonic sects. The two of them left the study and made their way to Chen Zhongyuan's bedroom, where they discovered his hidden treasury. The secret chamber was spacious and elegantly decorated. Its style resembled that of a scholar rather than a martial artist. Adorning the walls were paintings of flowers, birds, fish, insects, alongside ink-wash landscapes. Flower pots were arranged in the corners containing Sushin orchids that exuded a faint, delicate fragrance. A desk crafted from Wang Wali wood sat on the southern side, bearing brushes, ink, paper, and an inkstone. On the wall behind the desk hung a calligraphy scroll written in what appeared to be Chen Zhongyuan's own hand. The 4 characters reading, "A gentleman is like jade," drew sneers of contempt from both Shen Linfeng and Feng Wuji. Sushin orchids symbolized noble scholars of pure character, detached and unyielding. Yet this Chen Zhongyuan, who committed every conceivable evil, had the audacity to style himself a gentleman. Bah! Unable to restrain himself, Feng Wuji spat upon the scroll. Infused with his true qi, the spit shattered the calligraphy scroll to pieces. Shen Linfeng picked up a copy of the Book of Odes from the desk and flipped through it, laughing mockingly. In his youth, Chen Zhongyuan was a failed scholar. His parents spent their entire lives hoping he would pass the imperial examinations, only to die with deep regret. Undoubtedly, this remained Chen Zhongyuan's lifelong regret, from which all these habits and affectations stemmed. Feng Wuji snorted coldly with disdain. If all the scholars in the world were as insidious and cruel as Chen Zhongyuan, then the common people would truly have no way to survive. Shen Linfeng laughed inwardly. "You have yet to witness truly insidious and ruthless scholars. Compared to the poisonous strategists who plunged the world into chaos, what does a mere Chen Zhongyuan amount to us? If power were measured by the number of lives taken, those sinister minds are 100 times more formidable than Chen Zhongyuan. That is true, bloodless slaughter, where a single word seals the fate of millions of souls." Rummaging through the secret chamber, they quickly uncovered the wealth Chen Zhongyuan had accumulated. There were silver banknotes worth 256,500 taels and gold banknotes worth 9,000 taels. 1 tael of gold banknote could be exchanged for 10 taels of silver banknotes. Combined with various jewelry, antiques, calligraphy, paintings, and gold and silver ingots, the total value exceeded 400,000 taels of silver. Splitting the spoils, Shen Linfeng took 360,000 taels, while Feng Wuji received 40,000 taels, a perfect 90-10 split. Initially, Feng Wuji was reluctant to accept anything, as avenging his family's slaughter was more than enough, and he dared not ask for more. But Shen Linfeng pointed out that if he intended to marry a dozen wives and father 20 or 30 children, he could never afford to support them without wealth. Thus Feng Wuji had no choice but to accept. Aside from the wealth, there were also the medicinal pills, cultivation methods, and martial techniques left behind by Chen Zhongyuan. Shen Linfeng opened a jade vial and poured out a blood-red elixir. Instantly, a pungent metallic stench of blood rushed into his nostrils. Upon seeing this, Feng Wuji's expression shifted drastically. This is a blood elixir, also known as the Great Human Blood Elixir. It is refined by fusing human essence and blood with medicinal herbs. I once heard my father mention that many heretic cultists consume blood elixirs to bolster their cultivation. In the black market, a single ordinary blood elixir is worth 20 taels of silver. Shen Linfeng's expression remained indifferent. Chen Zhongyuan is a disciple of the Shurui sect, so it is hardly surprising for him to possess blood elixirs. His rapid breakthrough in cultivation was likely due in no small part to these very pills. Feng Wuji burned with silent hatred. The Shurui sect slaughters the innocent to extract their blood for alchemy. They are worse than beasts. This evil sect has endured for 1,000 years. Who knows how many innocent souls have perished at their hands? There were 5 vials of blood elixirs in total, each containing 30 pills, summing up to 150. Shen Linfeng did not know how much essence and blood were required to refine a single blood elixir, but the essence of ordinary mortals was surely far inferior to that of martial artists. Making a grim estimation that one ordinary person's life was sacrificed for each pill, this horde represented no fewer than 150 human lives. That old dog Chen Zhongyuan. Dying like that was far too easy on him. Later I will head down to the dungeon, mince his corpse into dregs, and scatter his ashes to the wind. Feng Wuji spoke with burning resentment, then turned to Shen Linfeng with a bitter smile. Young hero Shen Yu indeed possessed the foresight. For an evil cultist like Chen Zhongyuan, even in death, he must not be allowed to rest in peace. A beast like him deserves to have his bones ground to dust and his ashes scattered. As the saying goes, one takes the color of one's company. Having spent barely a day with Shen Linfeng, Feng Wuji's mindset had already been subtly influenced. Shen Linfeng channeled internal energy into his palm, shattering the 5 vials of blood elixirs into fine powder. Neither he nor Feng Wuji would ever stoop to consuming human blood to advance their cultivation. Having disposed of the blood elixirs, the two began to inspect the martial arts manuals. First was the plum-snapping hand, Chen Zhongyuan's signature technique. Fusing palm strikes with grappling, it was a Xiantian-level martial art of respectable power. Once Shen Linfeng finished reading it, the system automatically recorded the technique. He left the manual to Feng Wuji. What remained was the Shurui sect's supreme defining technique, the Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art. The Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art was cultivated by devouring the essence and blood of living humans to temper the physical body, ultimately forging a semi-corpse state. When activated, it granted immense superhuman strength, invulnerability to blades and spears, rapid wound regeneration, and complete immunity to pain. Legend had it that reaching the pinnacle of this art allowed for the regeneration of severed limbs. What a bizarre and sinister technique. Upon seeing the manual of the Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art, Feng Wuji read only the preface before immediately averting his gaze, not daring to look further. He feared being tempted by the sinister art and falling into the demonic path. The allure of a supreme martial manual to any martial artist was peerless. The Jianghu was rife with tales of world-renowned righteous heroes who fell from grace and turned demonic after practicing heretic arts. In the beginning, it was not their intention to commit evil, but rather their inability to withstand the temptation of the demonic technique. Once the cultivation commenced, there was no turning back. Young hero Shun, this Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art is far too sinister. We must not practice it. Did his best to destroy it. Feng Wuji advised from the side. Shen Linfeng was his benefactor, and he deeply feared that the young man might be tempted by the art's immense power, ultimately ruining his own life. Shen Linfeng smiled faintly. You are right. Such an atrocious heretic path is useless to keep. As he spoke, he tossed the manual into the air, and with a casual palm strike reduced it to fine dust. Feng Wuji let out a sigh of relief at the sight, entirely unaware that the Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art had already been recorded by the system. The system had indicated that fusing the Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art into the Blazing Sun Art would purge all side effects, retaining only its profound essence. As the foundation art of the Shurui sect with a 1,000-year heritage, the Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art was a heavenman-level technique of boundless power, possessing its own unique and profound mysteries. Although what he obtained from Chen Zhongyuan was merely a remnant fragment, it was still of immense benefit to him. System allocate points. With his command, the system was activated. Ding. The host is cultivating the plum-snapping hand. Allocating points. The plum-snapping hand has broken through to novice, proficient mastery, and grand mastery stages. The plum-snapping hand has fused with the eagle claw hand, deriving the eagle claw plum-snapping hand, breaking through to novice, proficient mastery, and grand mastery stages. Ding. The host is cultivating the Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art remnant. Allocating points. The Blood Fiend Corpse Demon Art has broken through the first, second, third, up to the 6th stage. Fusing techniques. Upgrading the Blazing Sun Art. Upgrade successful. The Blazing Sun Art has derived its 6th stage. Ding. System is allocating points. The Blazing Sun Art has broken through to the 6th stage of Grand Mastery. Boom. A majestic surge of true qi circulated wildly within Shen Linfeng's body. The power of his Blazing Sun true qi multiplied exponentially, gathering in his Dantian qi ocean as his cultivation realm continuously broke through. 6th stage of Xiantian, 7th stage, 8th stage, 9th stage. In the blink of an eye, he had transformed into a martial artist of the 9th stage of Xiantian. His true qi surged violently, as if about to burst forth from his body, but Shen Linfeng quickly reined it in. Within a single breath, everything returned to tranquility. Feng Wuji seemed to sense something, feeling that young hero Shen's aura had grown somewhat sharper. Yet when he tried to sense it again, he could perceive nothing at all. Name: Shen Linfeng. Realm 9th stage of Xiantian. Techniques: Blazing Sun, Art Remnant 6th stage. Grandmastery: 7 Army Breaking Styles. Grandmastery: Void Treading Steps. Grandmastery: Gale, Flowing Cloud Sword. Grandmastery: Eagle Claw, Plum Snapping Hand. Grandmastery: Boulder Crushing Palm. Grandmastery. Points 1 quadrillion. After multiple fusions, the Blazing Sun art had already derived its 6th stage. If it derived the 7th stage, the Blazing Sun art would transform into a true essence-grade internal cultivation method. Taking all items of value with them, Shen Linfeng and Feng Wuji walked out of Jimei Villa. Suddenly a flurry of hurried footsteps echoed. A large band of martial artists clad in uniform robes with narrow sleeves, long sabers hanging from their waists, and solemn expressions rushed out from the peach blossom forest. They positioned themselves in a semicircle, forming a tight encirclement around Shen Linfeng and Feng Wuji. At a single glance, the two recognized them as the martial suppressing guards. They do not come with good intentions. Shen Linfeng muttered, his eyes narrowing slightly. Not every martial suppressing guard was a righteous soul. With a great chaos looming, the martial suppressing guards had long been enticed and corrupted by various factions. The martial suppressing guards parted to make way, and a tall, broad-shouldered man with a somber, sinister expression strode forward. Upon seeing this man, Feng Wuji's face fell instantly. He lowered his voice to warn, "Young hero Shen, be careful. This man is Qin Lei, the centurion of the Jitsong City Martial Suppressing Guards. He was also the one who pursued me years ago. He has long been in league with Chen Zhongyuan. I fear he will not let us off easily this time." Shen Linfeng's expression remained detached. "We will deal with whatever comes our way. If he seeks death, it will merely mean a few more corpses to serve as fertilizer for the plum blossom forest." Qin Lei stepped forward, sweeping a cold gaze over Shen Linfeng and Feng Wuji, and barked sharply, "Did you two slaughter the people of Jimei Villa? Do you not know that Jimei Villa has provided disaster relief and performed countless acts of benevolence? Hero Chen of the Plum Snapping Hand was a man of unparalleled righteousness, a true gentleman of the orthodox path. For you to commit such a heinous atrocity, you must be heretic cultists. Surrender without a fight now." Qin Lei instantly branded them as villains, and with a wave of his hand, the surrounding martial suppressing guards drew their sabers in unison. Feng Wuji's face flushed crimson with rage as he roared at Qin Lei. "Chen Zhongyuan is the true demonic heretic. If you do not believe me, dig up any of the plum blossom trees nearby. Beneath them lie the corpses of innocent victims. Beneath Jimei Mountain Villa lies an underground city where many victims are imprisoned. They can all bear witness. Shen Zhongyuan is a disciple of the Shurui sect. He slaughters people to extract their blood for refining blood elixirs. He is a monster whom everyone has a right to execute." Feng Wuji had originally thought that even if Qin Lei ignored his words, the other Jinwu guards would care at least a little. To his dismay, once he finished speaking, the surrounding Jinwu guards remained completely indifferent. Their expressions were cold and detached, their eyes filled with murderous intent as they stared at Shen Linfeng and Feng Wuji. Qin Lei let out a sinister sneer. "With death at your doorstep, you still dare to slander Hero Chen. The two of you are truly obstinate beyond cure. You..." Rage surged in Feng Wuji's chest, aggravating his internal injuries and causing him to cough up a mouthful of fresh blood. At this very moment, no matter how foolish he was, he finally understood. The Jinwu guards Qin Lei had brought were all his trusted confidants. No amount of explanation would make a difference. It was not just Qin Lei who was in league with Chen Zhongyuan. His trusted subordinates had undoubtedly shared in the spoils as well. The Jinwu guards are the emperor's personal troops. How could they produce a pack of beasts like you, worse than pigs and dogs, conspiring with demonic heretics? Damn you. Qin Lei's face darkened. A demonic heretic daring to slander a court official. Your guilt is compounded. Men seize them, dead or alive. Qin Lei took a step forward, thrusting out his hands, which were clad in gauntlets. His arms were thick and powerful, and his hands were half again as large as an ordinary man's, indicating he clearly specialized in hand-to-hand martial arts. Seeing Qin Lei charge forward, murderous intent also flared in Shen Linfeng's eyes. As expected, wasting breath like Feng Wuji was useless. When push came to shove, the blade in his hand was the only way to resolve the matter. Just as he was about to strike, a voice suddenly boomed. "Centurion Qin, what a grand official air you have. Labeling people as demonic heretics over a mere disagreement, without investigation or questioning, and directly resorting to murder. In all my years, this is the first time I have seen such an arrogant Jinwu guard centurion. Today has truly been an eye-opener." The voice, imbued with immense true chi, resonated from all directions, echoing grandly through the plum blossom forest. Wherever the sound waves reached, the branches of the plum trees trembled continuously, sending petals fluttering down in a gentle flurry that lasted for several breaths before subsiding. What profound true chi! Shen Linfeng scanned his surroundings, his expression guarded. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, leaving him unable to pinpoint the speaker's location. Judging by this roar alone, he could determine that the newcomer's strength was by no means inferior to his own, and was highly likely a martial artist of the true essence realm. Who is there? Who goes there? Qin Lei's expression turned frantic as he looked around, wildly searching for the speaker. His trusted subordinates also cast anxious glances in all directions, their faces filled with panic. In the next instant, another large contingent of Zhenwu guards surged out from the plum blossom forest. This time their numbers were substantial, totaling over 100. They quickly surrounded Qin Lei and his confidants. This group of Zhenwu guards was led by 4 centurions. When Shen Linfeng saw one of them, his expression turned slightly peculiar. That person was none other than Zhao Chuanwu. Zhao Chuanwu also spotted Shen Linfeng and offered him a brief smile in greeting. Qin Lei did not recognize the other 3 centurions, but he knew Zhao Chuanwu. With a darkened face, he demanded, "Zhao Chuanwu, what is the meaning of this? I am currently apprehending demonic heretics. By interfering like this, are you trying to shield them? Could it be that you are in league with the demonic sect?" Zhao Chuanwu let out a mocking sneer at those words. "Lord Qin, your skill at framing others is truly masterclass. In the brief moment of our meeting, you have already branded me a demonic heretic as well. Regrettably, my head is too small to fit such a grand hat. You had best keep it for yourself." Zhao Chuanwu's expression shifted, turning solemn. "I am here today acting under orders." "Acting under orders? Whose orders?" "Mine." A cold voice rang out right beside Qin Lei's ear, instantly causing his entire body to stiffen. An elegant middle-aged man materialized out of thin air behind Qin Lei. Out of the more than 100 pairs of eyes present, not a single person, including Shen Linfeng, had seen how or when he appeared. Sensing a formidable foe, Shen Linfeng instinctively executed the secret technique of his Lingshu steps, the 9 spiral shadows. As 9 afterimages flickered, he retreated 30 meters away. Furthermore, his blazing sun true chi was channeled into the meridians of his feet, leaving him ready to flee at any moment. He was now absolutely certain that the man before him was a master of the true essence realm, and by no means a weak one among them. Feng Wuji was slow to react, only realizing his companion was gone when he snapped back to his senses. "Huh, what's going on? Young hero Shen, you fled without even warning me. That is way too unfair." He hurriedly ran to Shen Linfeng's side. Seeing Shen Linfeng's hypervigilant stance, the elegant middle-aged man could not help but let out a playful chuckle. "Kid, there is no need to be so guarded. If I wanted to kill you, your head would already have left your shoulders. Then should I thank you for your mercy?" Shen Linfeng grumbled inwardly, while remaining silent, though he felt slightly relieved. For now it seemed this man harbored no ill intent toward him. Qin Lei's body remained stiff as he slowly turned around. The moment he laid eyes on the middle-aged man, a cold sweat broke out all over him. Without a second thought, he bowed deeply. "Qin Lei, centurion of Jizang City, pays respects to Commander Shen." Shen Linfeng silently thought to himself that his suspicion was indeed correct. Commanders of the Zhenwu Bureau were all chosen from true essence realm martial artists, and even the weakest among them possessed a cultivation of the 3rd tier of the true essence realm. Given the speed this man had just displayed, his cultivation was definitely far beyond the mere 3rd tier of the true essence realm. Moreover, this man actually shared the surname Shen, perhaps they belonged to the same family 500 years ago. Holding a folding fan, Commander Shen fanned himself gently as he looked down coldly at Qin Lei. Centurion Qin had such a grand official air just now. Even I could not help but feel a tremor of fear upon witnessing it. Qin Lei bent his waist even lower, not daring to stand straight. In a trembling voice he stammered, "See, Commander, you must be joking. This subordinate would never dare." "Never dare?" The middle-aged man let out a cold snort. "From what I see, you dare to do quite a lot. You even dare to conspire with demonic heretics. Is there anything you, Lord Qin, would not dare to do?" "This is a misunderstanding, Commander. This lower official has absolutely never done such a thing." Terrified Qin Lei fell to his knees, shaking like a leaf. He pointed from afar at Shen Linfeng and Feng Wuji, crying out, "They are the ones conspiring with the demonic heretics. I came here precisely to apprehend the 2 of them." "Is that so? Yet my investigation shows that Shun Zhongyuan, the master of Zhimei Mountain Villa, is the thoroughbred demonic heretic." Commander Shen stared expressionlessly at Qin Lei. "As far as I know, you have been in close contact with Shun Zhongyuan, and he has offered you no small amount of tribute in private. Just moments ago, you even called him a righteous hero and a gentleman of honor. What? Have you forgotten your own words so quickly?" Commander Shen's voice suddenly rose sharp with interrogation. "Th this. Th this." Drenched in sweat, Qin Lei stammered, unable to utter a single coherent word. Commander Shen barked coldly. "That young man just said the ground beneath the plum trees is filled with corpses, and that a simple excavation would bring the truth to light. Yet you refuse to listen, focusing only on silencing them. And you still claim you are not in league with him." His roar was like thunder carrying powerful true essence. Being so close, Qin Lei was struck by the force of the true essence. His internal organs convulsed in agonizing pain, and he immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. As a martial artist of only the 5th level of the Xiantian realm, he could not even withstand a single roar from Commander Shen and was already gravely injured. At this moment, Zhao Chuanwu had already led his men to dig up a plum blossom tree beneath, which indeed lay a skeleton. As the other Zhenwu guards dug up, more plum blossom tree skeletons were unearthed under each one. Chiliarch Shen looked at Qin Lei with utter indifference and said, "Colluding with heretics of the demonic cult and harming innocent civilians is a heinous crime. You are truly a disgrace to our Zhenwu division." Zhao Chuanwu. According to the laws of the Great Yin, what punishment does Qin Lei deserve for his actions? Zhao Chuanwu cast a cold glance at Qin Lei, cupped his fists, and replied, "For colluding with demonic heretics and slaughtering civilians, he should be publicly decapitated and his entire clan executed. Furthermore, as a centurion of the Zhenwu division, Qin Lei knowingly violated the law, compounding his guilt. He should be subjected to death by 1,000 cuts and his 3 clans exterminated. Many colluded with the demonic cult, and by the rules of the Jianghu, sometimes only the ringleader needed to be executed. Although the imperial laws were strict, if they did not escalate the matter to its extreme, only Qin Lei's immediate family would have to die. Yet everything changes when someone decides to be thorough. If Qin Lei's crimes were investigated to the fullest, it would ignite a catastrophic storm that could not be contained." Terrified, Qin Lei hastily kowtowed and begged for mercy. "Spare my life, Chiliarch." This lower official truly did not know that Chen Zhongyuan was a heretic of the demonic cult. "Had I known, I would never have dared to associate with him. I beg you to investigate thoroughly, Chiliarch. Please look into this." Qin Lei wailed in despair, his forehead soon bruised and bleeding from the repeated kowtowing. In truth, he was not lying. He genuinely did not know that Chen Zhongyuan was a disciple of the Golden Blade Sect. He only knew that Chen Zhongyuan was secretly involved in child abduction and human trafficking. He also knew that Chen Zhongyuan would kill people at the slightest provocation and bury their corpses beneath the plum blossom trees as fertilizer. Whenever Chen Zhongyuan paid him, he would cover it up and turn a blind eye. Qin Lei had never imagined that Chen Zhongyuan was actually a member of the notorious Golden Blade Sect. The number of innocent lives taken was not just a mere dozens or hundreds, but thousands upon thousands. Now that the truth had come to light, even if he were to plunge into the depths of the Biming Sea, he could never wash away his sins. Apprehend him. Chiliarch Shen remained entirely unmoved by Qin Lei's desperate pleading, showing no intention of mercy. He had seen far too many people of this sort. They did not regret their actions, they only feared their impending death, and thus deserved no sympathy. Zhao Chuanwu stepped forward, holding specialized shackles intending to pierce through Qin Lei's collarbones. But Qin Lei suddenly lunged up, roaring, "Get away from me." His face contorted with rage as he unleashed a powerful palm strike that forced Zhao Chuanwu back. Instantly, wind gathered beneath his feet as he executed his movement technique, fleeing into the distance. A wretched life was still better than death. Even though he knew his chances of escape were less than 1 in 10,000, Qin Lei was determined to stake everything on this gamble. Chiliarch Shen's gaze turned icy cold. "Facing death, and yet you still dare to resist." He extended his right hand and made a grasping motion toward Qin Lei's retreating figure. A surge of majestic true essence erupted through the air, binding Qin Lei like chains and dragging him back. "No, please. Chiliarch, spare my life." Qin Lei screamed in sheer terror. With a swift pull and push of Chiliarch Shen's palm force, a resounding bang echoed as Qin Lei's body exploded, disintegrating into a mist of blood. This, truly formidable. Feng Wuji felt a sense of gratification at the sight, yet he could not help but gasp in awe, murmuring in admiration, "The Chiliarchs of the Zhenwu division are indeed peerless masters, 1 in 10,000. Shen Linfeng, possessing a calm and composed temperament, did not lose his composure. Nevertheless, truth be told, this man was exceptionally powerful. To him, slaying a Xiantian martial artist was indeed as effortless as slaughtering chickens or dogs. Seeing their leader slain, Qin Lei's trusted subordinates were utterly petrified, kneeling on the ground with expressions of absolute despair. Though none of them had known about Qin Lei's collusion with the demonic heretics, they were already tainted by association, and there was no way to cleanse themselves. Only one fate awaited them: death. After instructing the Zhenwu guards to rescue the people in the underground city, Chiliarch Shen lightly waved his folding fan and walked over to Shen Linfeng. With a smile on his face and eyes full of admiration, he said, "Young friend, your cultivation is remarkable. To slay Chen Zhongyuan at such a young age, you are indeed a genius. Would you be willing to join our Zhenwu division and serve the empire?" Shen Linfeng cupped his fists and replied, "Thank you for your high regard, Chiliarch Shen. However, I am accustomed to a life of freedom and cannot bear restriction. I must disappoint you. Nonetheless, I am already an external bounty hunter for the Zhenwu division, which can also be considered serving the country." Chiliarch Shen nodded upon hearing this. "In that case, I will not force you. Slaying Chen Zhongyuan and wiping out the demonic den of Zhumei Villa is a great contribution. Is there anything you desire as a reward? Shen Linfeng's eyes lit up. I currently lack a cultivation technique of the true essence realm. If possible, I would like to ask you to bestow one upon me. The hand Chiliarch Shen used to fan himself paused, and his eyes widened in sheer shock. A true essence realm technique. You certainly have some nerve to ask for that. Standing nearby, Feng Wuji and Zhao Chuanwu could not help but cover their faces. Even a bold demand should have its limits. Chiliarch Shen shook his head. A true essence realm technique is extraordinarily precious. Although your contribution this time is significant, it is still not enough to exchange for one. After a moment of thought, he retrieved a manual from his robes and tossed it to Shen Linfeng. Take this instead. I see that you are quite alert and adept at survival, but your movement technique is somewhat lacking. If you can master this movement technique of mine, even ordinary true essence realm masters may not be able to catch you. Shen Linfeng looked down at the manual. The cover read, Yutian Steps. Although it was not an internal cultivation manual, obtaining a high-grade movement technique was still a great boon. He cupped his fists and said, my deepest thanks, Chiliarch. Indeed. Chiliarch Shen nodded and cautioned, I bestow this technique upon you to enhance your survival capabilities, but you must never grow arrogant and underestimate the rest of the world. While ordinary true essence realm experts cannot catch you once you master the Yutian steps, you still won't escape if you encounter top-tier true essence realm masters or those who specialize in movement techniques. At this point, he placed his hands behind his back, tilted his chin upward at a 45-degree angle toward the sky, and exuded a trace of pride. For instance, against a master like myself, even if you master the Yutian steps, killing you would still be as easy as lifting a finger. Ha! With a hearty laugh, he waved his folding fan and departed with an air of effortless grace. Shen Linfeng stared at his retreating figure, feeling that the man was somewhat narcissistic. He clearly did not need to say that last sentence, let alone strike that pose. Linfeng, you have struck gold this time. The Chiliarch rarely holds anyone in such high regard. Zhao Chuanwu patted Shen Linfeng on the shoulder and said, to think that in just a few days of not seeing you, your cultivation has progressed by leaps and bounds to such a degree. If your father knew, he would surely be deeply gratified. Shen Linfeng shook his head. Regrettably, he will never know. Moreover, I failed to kill that wretched woman, Jiang Shurui, on this trip. Her luck is frustratingly good. By some bizarre twist of fate, she caught the eye of a hall master from the Corpse Blood Sect and was taken away. A hall master of the Corpse Blood Sect. Zhao Chuanwu's expression turned solemn upon hearing this. How do you know of this? Shen Linfeng replied. Chen Zhongyuan revealed it before he died. He wanted to use that hall master's hands to kill me and mentioned that their branch is located deep within Luoyan Mountain. This intelligence is of utmost importance. I must inform Chiliarch Shen immediately. Wiping out a branch of the Corpse Blood Sect would indeed be another monumental achievement. Zhao Chuanwu patted Shen Linfeng's shoulder with a smile. Linfeng, you have achieved great merit once again. Shen Linfeng paid no heed to this, merely asking Zhao Chuanwu, what is this Chiliarch Shen's full name? Zhao Chuanwu gave him a peculiar look. Why do you ask? Shen Linfeng replied calmly, it is nothing. He is simply the first true essence realm expert I have ever encountered, so naturally I wish to know more about him. Sensing nothing amiss, Zhao Chuanwu enunciated clearly, his name is Shun Tianming. Tianming, as in dawn when the rooster crows. Zhao Chuanwu almost stumbled, rolling his eyes in exasperation. No, it is the Ming, as in astounding everyone with a single cry. Looking at Shun Tianming's retreating figure, Shen Linfeng remarked, his name is so similar to my father's, differing by only a single character.